Silverstone, the home of British motor racing, is the venue for the second race in this year's Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup. And with over 50 cars on track, it promises to be quite a spectacle. It was too at Monza, and it began with a bang as Guy Smith went for a gap from the second row of the grid. There was contact with the front row starting Lamborghini, and drama ensued. It left a number of damaged cars trackside and a race stop to make sure that everybody was okay and to clear the circuit of debris as well as damaged cars. The race, though, when it restarted, would turn out to be a battle between Lamborghini and Ferrari. Up front, the Grasser Racing Team number 63 car led the way. Other Lamborghinis from the AM Cup, such as Ben Ardelhe's car, not so lucky. Robert Renard was going rapidly in the Herberth Motorsport Porsche, and the Fisichella Giocchi Collado Ferrari was another one, creeping its way up the order, battling with the surviving Bentley number 8. Others were showing signs of damage from earlier on, the ACA ASP Mercedes having been involved in the battles, and so too was the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari, as it battled on. In Pro-Am, meantime, Ahmad Al-Harthi was going strongly with the Aston Martin. The main opposition, the Kessel Racing Ferrari of Michael Broniszewski. The Herberth Motorsport Porsche was soldiering on in class as the SMP Racing Ferrari started to show its hand for overall honours. Great battles raged across all the classes. An 84 Mercedes from the HTP Motorsport team was another one making its way into contention. But so too was the Giocchi Collado Fisichella Ferrari, and that would be there or thereabouts come flagpole. Bentley number 8 busy working its way up the order, getting ahead of the orange Team Lazarus Lamborghini as it ran wide going into the first chicane. Ahmad Al-Harthi's Aston Martin still looking well placed in Pro-Am, but there was no stopping the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini up front as Matt Parry became very defensive in his Nissan. And when Johnny Adam took over the TF Sport Oman Racing Team Aston Martin, he had one task in mind: to win the class. The ISR Audi had run well all weekend and was still in the mix, but gradually the Davide Rigon Ferrari started to drop back, and in a big hurry was now number 15 Ferrari. Alessandro Pierguidi installed in it as Johnny Adam dived up the inside of the Kessel Racing Ferrari to take over the lead of Pro-Am. But up front there was just no stopping the leading Lamborghini, and it would come through to secure a win. Christian Engelhardt, Andrea Caldarelli and Mirko Bortolotti, an Italian car winning at an Italian circuit. And 3 delighted drivers on the podium. So now to the UK, and Bentley keen for a home win. Andy Soucek, one of the drivers aboard number 8.
We didn't really have a very easy start of the year. Our hopes are obviously to have both cars right at the top and finally be able to fight for the podium with both of them. As you said, it's weather depending, and you never know what Silverstone can do, but if it's dry, I'm sure we will be competitive.
Another British brand on the grid is Jaguar, the Emil Frey Racing Jaguars. 2 cars, and one of them driven by the rapid Spaniard Albert Costa.
It's great. We never showed the real potential because we've been very unlucky with some different issues of just bad luck. As in Monza, that we had a problem in the engine, and I had to stop when I was driving and already on top 10. So hopefully this weekend we change the bad luck in a good luck and we can finish in a good result finally.
A winner a week ago in the DTM, Jamie Green is here as a GT racer this weekend, having to adapt to a very different sort of race car.
I'm not underestimating how tough this championship is. It's very close, there's a lot of cars on track, and it's very different into, having 60 cars, there's going to be traffic. So I've still got a lot to learn as a GT driver and as an endurance driver. So I'm not underestimating that challenge. But Stuart finished second last weekend with Robin Frins, and Jake's quick. So I think we've got a strong team, and we can challenge for the podium.
Silverstone tends to be a fairly kind circuit as far as Nissan is concerned. There's always the possibility of a victory here outright for Alex Buncombe, and he's eager to do well on home soil after a very frustrating start to the season at Monza.
Well, we're looking to come back strong in car 23 here at Silverstone this weekend. We had a very poor weekend in Monza for the first round, and it all just stemmed from our qualifying really. We just couldn't get the pace out of the car, which is really strange because historically we've always been extremely fast in Monza. Last year we were P2 on the grid, and this year we were P30.
Lamborghini enjoying an excellent start to the season, not only in terms of sprint race wins but in the Endurance Cup as well. And Mirko Bortolotti comes to Silverstone with hopes high.
It's obviously our goal to keep the lead in the championship. Thanks to 2 very good weekends in Brands Hatch and Monza, we managed to get in the the points lead. So obviously that's our main goal is to continue on that way, even though it's still a very long season to go. We are still only at let's say the initial part of the season. So every point counts for us. That's clear. We want to be on top of the standings at the end of the year. But obviously we are not complaining to be leading the championship at this stage.
Spanish driver Daniel Juncadella has made the move away from the DTM to GT racing, still for Mercedes, and has found a very happy home.
Every championship I join, I want to do the best I can, and that's of course winning. We are racing in a pro car. I'm racing with two strong drivers, racing for Mercedes-Benz, and which is a strong car in the field, I have to say. And I want to be at least a contender of both Blancpain GT Series championships.
Johnny Adam was one of the stars of Monza. His excellent final stint giving him the fastest lap of the race and a Pro-Am win. So, what are the chances of another here at Silverstone?
I think obviously having a bit of circuit knowledge around here does help, especially when the weather's mixed. Lines in the wet, offline, places like that really make a difference. But this is our home circuit for Aston Martin at Silverstone, and it's a circuit that the car normally goes well at. Last year we had our first podium in Blancpain with this car, so normally the circuit does suit the strengths of the Aston really well, and it's just nice to race in front of the home crowd here at Silverstone.
There's an extra car to look for this weekend in the AM Cup. This McLaren doing the Silverstone race by way of a test programme for the Spa 24 Hours. It should go well here, it should go well there. And one of the drivers behind the wheel is motoring journalist Chris Harris.
The objective feeling of driving the car is that it's a great racing car. It feels agile, it's light, it's responsive, it's everything I'd expect it to be. It's got loads of downforce at high speed, but it's very good in low speed corners, doesn't feel like it's got too tight a differential, all that stuff. But most importantly, I'm sitting here and I've got McLaren on the jumper and I'm driving a proper McLaren racing car. I never thought that would happen, so I'm a bit kind of pinch myself, is this happening?
Opposition to the McLaren in the AM Cup comes inevitably from Ferrari. And this car has behind the wheel of it David Perel, and Ferrari hard to beat last time out at Monza.
I love driving, but what I love more than driving is competing and knowing that I'm competing against the best GT drivers in the world. That sort of measurement for me is one of the best things ever.
And so the scene is set as we get ready for the second Endurance Cup race of the season here at Silverstone. It's the full Grand Prix circuit that we're using. It's the old pit lane, if you like, the heritage pit, so the conventional start and finish area. The sun is doing its best to shine. There are still a few clouds. We had a little bit of rain this morning, lots of rain on Friday, but as far as the teams are concerned, they've had dry running all weekend, and now we get set for what promises to be another enthralling race, because we've had some great racing thus far in both endurance and sprint, and with 55 cars set to take the start, anything can happen. We've got this great battle between the brands. Bentley is a previous winner at Silverstone, and both numbers 7 and 8, the Continental GT3s, hoping for better fortune here. McLaren, of course, looking to go well, so too Aston Martin, as the M Sport team push the car through to the front of the grid. And at the very front is the pole-sitting Mercedes. Daniel Juncadella did the time. Let's hear from him, along with John Watson.
Daniel Juncadella, stunning pole position, but Daniel, at what cost?
Well, I mean, all out.
Daniel, what I mean is, did you use 2 sets of tyres, new tyres, or 1?
Yeah, we did use 2 sets of tyres, and you know, it's Silverstone, you have to go all out. I think we had a good car, strong car for qualifying, and we don't have such a strong car on the straight line to overtake, so I think getting the max out of qualifying was a good decision, and we'll see if it pays out.
Well, starting in pole position can't get any better, but Tristan Vautier, you're going to be in 2nd or 3rd?
3rd. I'm last, so hopefully...
Hey, has he left you any new tyres, or are you going to have to be the best of the rest?
Maybe I will have new tyres. I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully these guys have a big lead when they give me the car and I have it easy and I can just bring it home. We'll see. Maybe it will not be that easy, but no, it's good. The car's been strong. Danny had a mega lap, very clean, fast, strong lap. So we'll see. Really looking forward to the fights.
We look forward to it too. Many thanks.
So the two ACA ASP Mercedes drivers get ready then, with Felix Sarales being the start driver in that car. Chris Harris making sure that his McLaren and all the other Straka racing cars are in good order. Very casual at the moment, still in civvies, ready for his stint, so stint 2, or perhaps more likely stint 3. Chris Harris, no mean driver. as the national anthem is played in the background here at Silverstone for the sole British Endurance round. Of course, the Sprint Cup was at Brands Hatch a week ago, and this a very different form of race, but it could still be a Lamborghini win like at Brands Hatch. Let's catch up with the GRT team and Watty.
Mirko,
but first row is still good for us. Obviously I would have liked to be on pole. Catched a little bit of traffic in the last sector. I think I lost a little bit there.
But I had you down as my pole man. What went wrong?
If it would have been enough. But okay, it's a good starting position. We will try to go for it again.
Okay, tell me, what was the rationale in having you start as opposed to maybe doing the final stint?
Well, we have a solid, strong drivers lineup, so at the end of the day it doesn't matter who starts or who does which kind of stint. We are, in a good shape, and we just took that decision to put me in the car for the start. I've done the most Blancpain starts, like say, in the championship, so I know how it works, and try to make the best out of it.
Bet you will. Christian Engelhardt, were you in second or third? We have to find this out just.
Yeah, we have to find it out. I think.
You know where you're starting? Are you second or third in the car?
We have a plan, but of course you can always change the plan also. It's a flexible plan, and we don't want to share the plan with everybody.
You told your team at Andrea. Do you know where you're second or third in or not, Andrea?
I'm flexible like him.
Two flexible boys, front row of the grid. Sounds a good deal to me.
Yeah, to us as well.
You happy with it?
Yeah.
Andrea?
Yeah, for sure it's going to be a hard race, but with the strategy we have, I think we can do a very good result.
From the flexible Lamborghini 63, have a good result.
Thank you.
Good try, John. Well done to try and get the driver rotation out of number 63. So the only confirmed thing is that they use one set of tyres in qualifying, but we know that it's Mirko Bortolotti who will start on the outside of row 1. Third on the grid is going to be Franck Pereira in the Mercedes. We'll have a walk through the grid when it's empty of people and just completely full of cars. 55 of them stretching a long way back, and looking out of the box window on the outside of Woodcote Corner, I can't see any gaps on the grid. We've not really had anybody in the walls particularly, other than Oliver Morley, whose Mercedes AMG was in the wall yesterday but was repaired and out in qualifying this morning, so all good there. Let's have a walk down the grid a bit further and go to Pro-Am, where Jules Gounon starts on class pole position.
Jules Gounon, looks to me like you've inherited your dad's jeans.
Yeah.
And I don't mean his Levi's.
Yeah, no, I mean, if we talk about the quality, we are quite happy about what we did, and now we are just we need to do a clean race. We are running in Pro-Am, I mean, so we don't need to fight too much with the Pro, just going straight and try to do like my father. Good job.
Well, absolutely, but lead Pro-Am car, very impressive. But in reality, you still want to have a pop at the leading cars, the Pro cars, don't you?
Yeah. The sector 1 was purple, and from my lap. So, I mean, quali's done. We have nothing to do about that. So, just now ahead, and let's see what we can do.
Well, get in and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Inherited his father's speed and his very musical way of talking as well. And Jules Gounon, son of Jean-Marc, gets ready to go in number 87. 23 is going to be started by Lucas Ordóñez, who was fastest in his qualifying session in Q1, but frustratingly for Alex Buncombe, out came the red flag when he was on a demon flying lap right at the very end, so the car unable to really progress up the order. So we'll see come the opening stint what progress Ordóñez can make through the traffic, and this is part of the problem. I know it's a 3-hour race, and therefore you could argue you don't need to be at the front, but you do want to be away from all the cars around you. Look what happened at Monza. Somebody else's moment can trigger all sorts of dramas for you, so you'd like to be as far up the grid as possible and away from any potential trouble. Number 59, McLaren. Could be another one to watch. Jasmin Jaafar starts, and he won here last year when he was a Mercedes driver. So the Malaysian will take the first driving duties. Just over his shoulder is 58, which will have Rob Bell to start. Number 8, Bentley there. Vincent Abril will go first, and just behind him is Jamie Green, starting in number 17 Audi. Now there's Bentley 8. For Bentley 7, Stephen Kane, always one of the stars. He's with John.
Stephen, they say there's a nicer class of people at the back of the field, but I'm happy seeing you up here with the 7 Bentley.
Yeah, it's obviously great being up at the front. We're starting in a pretty good position. We know that we're pretty good in the race, so hopefully we can translate it on our home race here at Silverstone.
Bentley won here, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's good memories, and to do it here in a Bentley and in BRDC is great, but we need to do it again today, and obviously Guy's the right man to be starting, and all he's going to do is first race with us, and it's going to be great.
What's it going to take to win this race? Because competition is so intense now.
Yeah, it's this championship's become really competitive. There's so many good drivers, good teams, and it's going to be a whole team effort. No mistakes, good pit stops, and good strategy, and pumping in them lap times when it's needed.
So you're going to have to pick up the bits for the last stint as usual?
Well, we're all triers, and I'll definitely be trying at the end.
I know you will. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
So Stephen Kane makes his way off into the pit lane as you look at the two Jaguars for the Emile Frey Racing squad, which will both be pretty competitive, one hopes, around here. It was at Silverstone they got their first ever podium a couple of years ago, and then come the end of that season managed to take a class win at the Nürburgring. So it's a place that has happy memories, and of course Jaguar, a British brand. There's the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari for the opening stint of Marco Chiocci. He was also the driver that was out in the first qualifying session in that car as well. There's the Pro-Am winning Aston Martin from Monza. Johnny Adam just giving last minute guidance to Ahmad Al-Hafi, the Oman driver, alongside his Bentley 7, which will have Guy Smith going first. Guy was saying to me before the race that they used 2 sets of new tyres in Q3 for Stephen Kane, so he's going to have to start on old rubber, and the tyre does seem to drop off after 4 or 5 laps, but then it's relatively progressive. So tyre management, I think, given that 31 laps can be crammed into a stint, could be quite important in this. We'll see how those that have used lots of tyres already fare. We know that the Lamborghini has an extra set at its disposal just because they were quite happy to sacrifice Q1 and Q2, and then it was in Q3 where the work was done. So we have 3 hours ahead of us, 5 minutes to go to the start of the formation lap. And let's have a look down the grid where you see Felix Morales Mercedes on pole position and Mirko Bortolotti alongside. Then it is the Font Pereira Mercedes, Victor Scheitas Ferrari on the outside, the third row, Jules Gounon in the Mercedes, Alessandro Pierguidi in the yellow Ferrari. Go back a row, there's Adrian Amstutz starting in the yellow Lamborghini with Jelmer Berman's white Mercedes AMG alongside. Eduardo Mortara's Mercedes is next, and alongside is the green Ferrari of Daniel Karlvitz. Then you'll find the Aston Martin number 97, it's Ahmad Al-Hafi who goes first, and alongside him the Bentley number 7, Guy Smith at the helm. The Kaspersky Ferrari comes next, Marco Chiocci at the wheel, and 22 is Struan Moore alongside. Then Christian Klein in number 114, and the sister car started by Stefan Ortelli, the two Jaguars, with behind them Fabien Schiller, and alongside in 89 is Daniele Perfetti. Then it is the Lamborghini rather, of the Orange Team Lazarus, Andrea Piccini alongside, ahead of Dries Vanthoor and Lucas Ordonez. Jasmine Jaffar's McLaren comes next alongside Kenneth Heyer. Then it's Frank Stippler with Rob Bell lining up alongside. Vincent Abril in the Bentley with Mark Rostand in the number 26 Audi for company. Jamie Green is next with Mike Skeen in the Mercedes AMG alongside him. Bertrand Baguette for Lamborghini is alongside Philip Eng's BMW. The sister car of Marcus Paltela has Nick Homerson alongside. He's got a server stop-go early in the race. We'll come to in a moment. Giorgio Maggia's Lamborghini and Robert Renault's Porsche are next, ahead of David Perel and Konstantin Lendoudis. Then it's Christian Metzel's BMW, Leo Machitsky in the Lamborghini, ahead of Michael Bronizeski and Stefan Richelme there in the green and silver Audi. Then it's Johnny Kane with Miguel Toril alongside in the blue repaired Mercedes AMG. Oliver Webb's McLaren and Pierre Eret's Ferrari next, ahead of Ezequiel Perez Companc and Stefano Constantini. Josh Cagill's Audi is alongside Ishikawa Motoaki. Then it's Scott Heckert in the yellow Mercedes with Alexander West's McLaren alongside him. Emmanuel Vinca is on the inside of the penultimate row with Matthias Henkeler alongside, and Bernard Delhay rounds out the grid. That is 55 cars. Now you can understand why everyone gets so excited about the Blancpain GT Series. That is a quality grid, and with 2 drivers in some, but 3 drivers in most cars, it's like a who's who of GT racing. And the grid now being cleared of the final engineers. At the very front of the pole-sitting car stands the race director, Alain Adon, with the green flag, and he will wave the cars away. Then he'll make his way up towards the gantry for the end of the warming up lap and switch the lights to green, assuming he is happy with the formation of the grid when they come out of Luffield, and then will be good to go racing. Promises to be another fascinating race this, and we're seeing the best of the Mercedes. They've been good all morning, and lots of them up at the pointy end of the grid, not just in terms of Pro but Pro-Am as well. John making the point that Jules Gounon 5th is on the Pro-Am pole, and we will see how he fares in his opening stint of the race up against the likes of Font Pereira and Felix Morales, the Puerto Rican driver who in his Formula 3 days had quite a nasty off here. Was was forced wide over the curb and did his back some injury. So Felix Ferrari hoping for better fortune now that he's in a GT car as the field works away off the grid down towards Copse Corner. So the final warming up lap, the green flag lap underway. A last chance to get some temperature into the Pirelli tyres, get the pressures up. Not the start of the race. That happens next time around. They will bunch up into the 2x2 formation as Felix Serrades goes toe-to-toe with Mirko Bortolotti on the front row of the grid. Franck Pereira and the Russian driver Victor Shahitar alongside on row 2. Then the third row is Jules Gounon and Alessandro Pierguidi, who is starting this time in number 50 Ferrari. Behind him will come Adrian Amstutz and then Jelmer Berman. And there's one car. Is that the Garage 59 McLaren that's not got away? The Alexander West car? Yes, I think it is. The grid scrolls through. We'll come back to that in a second. But number 188 McLaren, by the look of it, is going to have to be pushed off the grid. And it is 188. If it starts at all, it will have to start from the pits. So Alexander West, a pit lane starter. The rest of the field are already down at the end of Vale. Just picking back up on the grid. Fabian Schiller lining up with Nicolas Poler's Lamborghini 19th on the grid. He will be alongside Andrea Piccini. Next row is Dries Vanthoor and Lucas Ordonez. Then you've got Jasmine Jaffar and Kenneth Hyatt, Hans Heyer's son, on the next row ahead of Frank Stippler and Rob Bell, who's going to be in a big hurry to make some progress up the order. Jamie Green a little bit further back. And then we will have also another man to watch, Bertrand Baguette and Philippe Eng, in fact, alongside him. Two more guns who will be looking to make good progress early doors. Through they come out of Farm, and there you can see the pole sitting car. The number on the windscreen, just in case you've not followed an endurance Blancpain race for a while, is the Lumirac display. So it's not the car number, it is the class position number. So it's where they are in class, and the idea being, of course, as the race goes through the pit stops and there's plenty of lappery, you can look at where the car is in its class by the identification on the windscreen. It's not the overall position though, it is the class position, and different colours for different classes. Still the grid scrolls through. We've got as far as Pierre Errat, who's 46th, alongside Oliver Webb, having his Stratler Racing McLaren debut. And then Ezequiel Perez Companc next as the field worked through. Josh Cagill, former bike racer, turning his attention to international GT racing this season, is another man to watch coming up from the rear of the grid as they now accelerate their way in this 2x2 formation down towards Brooklands. So there Alexander West makes his way to the end of the pit lane. He cannot join in until everybody else has gone through the first corner, and we are about to go racing then. So we're looking at about 31 laps to a stint. He can't do more than 65 minutes unless there is a safety car, and from what we've been told by some of the drivers, the tyre does start to drop off after 4 or 5 laps. Then you've got to manage it, and it will after that drop off slowly and gradually, but there is a little bit of deterioration, so the drivers have to cope with that. The temperature's not too high, it's still a bit blustery outside as well. All of these different factors, plus inevitably traffic and the different battles with the different brands and how the BOP will affect certain cars around here. We're about to find some of the answers to those questions as to who can come out on top of round 2 of the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup at Silverstone. On pole position, Felix Serrades makes his way up towards the timing line. He almost leans on Mirko Bortolotti. We wait for the lights to go green, which they will do any moment. On his toes is Franck Pereira on the second row of the grid. They blast away now down towards Copse Corner, and the clock has not started. I don't think the race director has given it the go-ahead. He hasn't, so because of the way the cars were coming up to the line, the race director not happy. An extra formation lap.
Indeed, and there is a new curriculum in town, and the front 2 cars have been clearly advised that they must not, at any point coming up to the lights going from red to green, exceed 90 kilometers per hour. Ideally, it's between 80 and 90 kilometers per hour. The grid very, very tightly packed indeed, as you saw. The 88 Mercedes coming across in the 63 Lamborghini. Well, that wasn't in the script. There is race director Alain Adaman. As a follow-up from what we've seen in Monza and what we had in Misano, any kind of driver ill-discipline is going to be pounced upon. So everybody is on their toes, from the race director's office, the stewards, to the competitors. So all that adrenaline that was literally pouring out of every pore in their body. Watch again, look at it, see the 84 Mercedes slightly out of position, but the 88 particularly, it's a full car width towards the left, where it should have been a full car width back on the right-hand side of the track as the driver was here. There's the Aston, that's the BMW going wide, because all of a sudden it all backed up, contact with the Mercedes, Is that one of the Barwell Lamborghinis as well? Just
Yeah, so.
very, very, very light contact. Now, everybody has spread out, still in the formation lap.
And the clock has started as well. It didn't initially, but it has now started.
So the race is actually underway.
Effectively so, but this is still counted as a formation lap. I'm assuming that when they get to Wellington Straight, Felix Morales will have to slow and get Mirko Bortolotti back up alongside him. So the cars counting this lap within the 3 hours, but it's not a proper racing lap, if that makes sense. It is a lap within the race, but you can't overtake. You are meant to be still in grid order, and I would imagine, as we saw at Monza, that the plan would be for now the drivers on Wellington Straight get themselves in the 2x2 formation.
That would be the assumption, but certainly they're doing anything but that right now. They're just over halfway around the racetrack, coming up towards Aintree Corner, then onto the back straight. This is the field filtering its way. The field is probably about the best part of half a mile long.
Here they are side by side, and so the drivers make their way. They're now down towards Brooklands. The teams are being advised that the drivers must drive over their white, well, it says pit boxes, I think it means grid boxes. In other words, the markers on the track. So you've got to stay in that side-by-side formation. You can't do, as for example, Sorales was doing, moving across one way, Frank Pereira going another. You must remain in that 2x2 proper formation, not dart left or right. So that was the untidiness that prompted Alain Adom to not release them. This is a lap that has counted within the 3 hours. We'll try again. They come up to Woodcote and take 2 for round 2 of the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup at Silverstone. Felix Morales and Mirko Bortolotti on the front of the grid. The second row, Franck Pereira and Victor Scheitar. They come now then through Woodcote Corner. The back of the pack still trying to catch the front in a sense. There's a big gap about sort of 2/3 through the order. But are we going to be good for a start this time around? The lights on red, go green. It is blast off, and a good start by Bortolotti from the outside of the front row. Charging through Franck Pereira, but Bortolotti sweeps around the outside. Felix Morales slots in behind him in second place. Third is going to be Pereira, fourth is Scheitar, and this is Stephen Kane, who is on the money straight away, trying to work his way up through the traffic. The Bentley powering towards Maggots as third. On the inside there goes Victor Scheitar ahead of Franck Pereira. Next up is Alessandro Pierguidi, but Mirko Bortolotti leads the way.
Clean start, got the advantage into Copse Corner. Planned on somebody's gone off in the middle of Beckett's. Can't see whose car that is. But it is an absolute motorway traffic jam as one of the Lamborghinis jumps back on track at Chapelkirk.
It's the Barwell car. It's the
that was the car that was on the third row of the grid, fourth row of the grid.
Yeah,
so
row 4 for
disappointment.
Amstutz. Indeed so. So he's gone lawnmowing, but Amstutz is back on as the leaders work their way then now through Stowe Corner for the first time, and it is Mirko Bortolotti leading the way. Felix Morales second. In third place then, you've got Victor Scheitar in the SMP Racing Ferrari. And they hustle their way to the end of Marco Ciocci there, dropping back a little bit in the Kaspersky Ferrari. Ahmad Al-Hathi tucked up behind him as they now start to work their way through Club Corner, speed building.
So this is the exit where you can get caught out, an opportunity to get alongside another car. Taken with the Nissan, is that the 22 Nissan? 23, so that has taken the position. So they are looking at this earliest opportunity. They were disappointed. Alex Buncombe didn't get to complete his flying lap on a set of new tyres because of a red flag. So he's trying to make up ground as quickly as possible on a set of tyres that are pretty fresh. That's an advantage, certainly in the opening laps. But Mirko Bortolotti has already pulled the best part of maybe a second and a bit as we look at the 84 Mercedes trying to slide down. Yes, it does into Brooklands. Good clean pass, but the 50 Ferrari as well. Alessandro Pierguidi in the 50 Ferrari. He starts the race for the AF Corsa entry, also making it a two-way Ferrari battle.
And we've got drive-through penalties already. One of them is number 36, Matthias Henkeler. Another is for the number 16 Mercedes of Miguel Toril. That's the Oliver Morley car.
Yeah, these are penalties that were dished out after the end of qualifying, but are now being served out once the race is underway. So it's a little bit of housekeeping to ensure that the penalties are actually having a meaningful effect. It's a new regime, as I say, a new order.
And also, I touched on it on the grid, there's a drive-through penalty going, a stop-go penalty going the way of Pete Homerson for being involved being the cause of the accident that put the Oliver Morley Mercedes in the barriers yesterday. That's at the race director's discretion, so he will announce when that is to be served as the leaders come down Hanger Straight. Then at the end of lap 1, Bortolotti led Serrales by 1.2 seconds. Their third is Pereira. Pierre Guidi at the inside, can't do it. Victor Scheitar closes the door. The two Ferraris run together, both out of the AF Corsa stable, but the SMP racing car keeps the spirit of race entry at bay. 6th is Jules Gounon, 7th is Jelmer Berman. When John and I got here bright and early this morning, at about 7:30, there was a lone Jelmer Berman Dutch flag in the grandstand opposite the pit, so he's got some support here this weekend. 8th is Karlvitz, 9th is Guy Smith, and then 10th is Struan Moore.
But this is the battle of the Ferrari, and the Mercedes, and that will get a little bit feisty because they're battling. They need to get clear. The key is in these opening laps to get that clear air on board with the 333 Ferrari. Currently that is done in 8th place, Daniel Kilovitz behind the wheel.
Drive-through being given to Daniele Perfetti, and the stop go now being announced for Nick Homerson as there. Pierre Guidi ahead of Scheitar, moving up into 4th place rather. That starts to try and bring down the gap against Franck Pereira up the road. But Mirko Bortolotti, doesn't matter whether it's a twisty place like Brands Hatch or a fast open circuit like Silverstone, whether it's sprint or endurance, the Lamborghini at the moment is the go-to car, isn't it?
Absolutely, but Jules Gounon, look at him also in the 87 Mercedes, trying to dive down the inside of the Ferrari. He's got company behind him. He needs to be very careful not to leave a gap for the number 4 Mercedes to take advantage. But now that Alessandro Pierre Guidi has got clear, I would expect to see the gap between 3rd place Franck Pereira, 4th place Alessandro Pierre Guidi, currently 1.5 seconds. That has to close down because Franck Pereira, he's involved in his own little battle for that top position.
So we're on to lap number 4 then, the first lap being another formation lap, so not a proper racing lap as the cars file through. Gounon leading in Pro-Am, there look in the Mercedes with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. Daniel Karlvitz in the Ferrari next, and then 3rd in Pro-Am, where's the Aston there? Arman Al-Harfi goes through, so the Mercedes AMG GT3, to give it its full title in the hands of Jules Gounon, leading the class there is 23, which is the Nissan. Lucas Ordóñez starting 17th. You're on board with him now.
So down Hanger Straight, and he's going to hang in there as best he can. He's got Yasmin Jafar ahead of him in the McLaren. Straight line speed probably favours the Nissan. The McLaren, of course, mid-engine car, slightly different BOP. But the sister car, the 22 car, Stroll and Moore, currently in 10th place. So Nissan, they didn't get the best qualifying, misfortunes because of timing, but they're beginning. It'll be a long process. They've just got to be careful in these opening laps not to overuse the car. It's easy to overuse the rear tire, particularly by just trying to be too eager too soon. If you haven't got a clear shot, then just look after your car and look after your tires.
Race leaders lap 4, and now Alessandro Pierre Guidi doing absolute best in sectors. He is the quickest man in sector 1 now that he's got up past the SMP Racing Ferrari. But look at the lead Bortolotti has got. It was 2.2 seconds last time. This is what he did at Monza, cleared off into the distance.
I mean, it did it at Brands Hatch in the sprint event as well. I mean, whatever they're doing at Grasser Racing and whatever Lamborghini is doing, they have got a really outstanding race car on all kinds of racetracks. Monza, very high speed. Brands Hatch, high speed, but much more of a roadside. Silverstone, high speed as well.
Now in 9th place in class is Stefan Ortelli there. He's 11th overall because he's got a couple of Pro-Am entries up the road ahead of him, but he's chasing the Struan Moore driven Nissan as they work their way over the timing line. The lead gap shooting up. It's now up to 3.3 seconds as the cars work their way through Copse Corner. So Bortolotti leads, Serrales second, Perfetti is third, Pierre Guidi is fourth. There's Marco Giocci, who is in 13th place overall in the Kaspersky Ferrari, turning his way out of Copse Corner. Remember, we're looking at pit stops round about the hour mark, so the clock ticks on down, and the team is working on 31 laps within a stint here.
Still a very, very busy racetrack. Still drivers trying to use their start to gain some advantage. Others looking to consolidate because, well, that's maybe their best option. And as Jules Gounon said, we are in a race for the Pro-Am category. We're not racing the pro cars, but it is inevitable. The pace that Jules Gounon has got, he's shown it all season with the Mercedes-Benz, or the Mercedes AMG GT3s, as they are actually now correctly known as. He's got great natural pace.
And drama already for Rover Racing because Marcus Paltela has made a pit stop already. So that wasn't for a drive-through, that was for a problem. And Marcus Paltela is down now at the very foot of the times, 55th place, and he's 2 laps adrift already. So I'm not quite sure what it was that struck him early doors, but the BMWs have had a torrid time here.
Yeah, I mean, in that initial start, which was then abandoned, there was contact in the BMW. One of the BMWs I did see completely off track going through gravel. Now maybe he picked up something that led to an issue that has now required him to enter the pits and lose so much time.
You may be right, it could well have been that car, yes. Good spot, John, thank you. Right, race leaders on lap 5. Wide goes Chiocci. Gap between the top two, 3.3 seconds. Guy Smith has been warned about track limits at turn 1, which in old money is Copse. And there to the inside line comes Chiocci, having a go against the number 90, Eduardo Mortara Mercedes. That's the car just up the road ahead of him as they work their way now through Luffield. Eduardo Mortara switching not only from DTM to GT, but also, of course, from Audi to Mercedes for this season. So he comes now through Woodcote over the timing line as an ACA ASP, Jean-Luc Bobelink there in the middle, watches on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a strong car, the 90. Got 3 strong drivers, Michael Meadows, as well as Raffaele Martiello. So, again, one of those cars that right now, it's not running at the very front, it's running down in 12th place, but there's still 2 3/4 hours of this race to go. And other than what we're seeing from the 63 Lamborghini, assuming they have a trouble-free run, all the other places so easily can be made up during those driver changes, refueling, tyre wheel changes, and that's where the more structured teams usually gain an advantage. What we're not seeing, David, where's the first Audi? Looking down to see timing and scoring.
That's a good question. 19th, Frank Stippler.
I can't believe it's that far down.
I have a horrible feeling. Let's have a look. They work their way down towards
Stippler is 19th indeed.
Yeah, down towards the end of Vale.
So what I'm sort of almost speechless, because that's not what we're familiar with, to see Audis that far down. But this, of course, going back to my point, it's not what happens now, it's what happens at the end of the race.
There is Stippler, turning his way through and running behind Lucas Ordóñez, so 19th he is. The next is going to be Dries Vanthoor in 22nd place. Now the battle is taking up for second place, isn't it now? Felix Morales being caught by Franck Pereira, who's defected from Audi to Mercedes AMG for this year. He's taking Alessandro Pierguidi with him. Gap back, Victor Scheitar comes through 5th, Jules Gounon 6th, Jelmer Berman 7th. So we've got the Ferraris, which didn't really look that quick yesterday in the free practice sessions, and the Mercedes at the moment doing the chasing against the Lamborghini. But I know we keep saying how well the Lambos are going or how well GLT is doing as a team, but actually it's one lone Lamborghini up there with all of these Ferraris and Mercedes chasing after it.
That is true. In fairness, I think if you took the driver lineup, the talent that's in the 63 car, and put it into any of the other Lamborghinis, you would find a performance increase. So while the car is outstanding, I do think that partnership of Mirko Bortolotti, Christian Engelhardt and Andrea Chiocci is a very, very strong, and you think forward to our next endurance round at Paul Ricard, 6-hour race, going into darkness, new discipline, looking forward to that.
A different type of race altogether, and as you say, going into the dark, another challenge for the drivers, and it's a bit of pre-Spa 24 testing. Now, race leaders work lap 7. What have you spotted?
Just Andy Green in the 17, all the way, Andy Green, down at, sorry? Jamie Green, Andy Green, his brothers, Jamie all the way down at 30th. He doesn't even know a race he's been in with 30 cars.
Well, it's a good point there, because there aren't 30 cars in the DTM, are there? So working his way in a moment through Stoke Corner, you're on board with Lucas Ordóñez, 18. He is running 18th place. Lucas Ordóñez tucked up behind Andrea Piccini as there is a challenge. So in 888 Ferrari as they turn their way through Stoke Corner, David Perel. But why is the Mann-Filter Mercedes dropped so far back in the pack? Down they come towards the end of Vale. David Perel leading the AM Cup at the moment. A good strong effort this is. Alexander West second in class up from the pit lane. Kenneth Heyer in the Mann-Filter Mercedes turning his way now through in 28th place out of Club Corner. But to be 29th out of 55 starters in an AM Cup Ferrari as David Perel is, that's a mega job, isn't it?
It's a very strong job. I mean, there are a lot of talented amateurs out there, and I think Alexander West, who's running second in the class in the McLaren, starting from the pit, I mean, he's made really excellent progress as well. And to some extent, you have to say that Alexander West in this one-off entry for this race, Garage 59, Alexander West, Chris Harris, the journalist, now TV presenter, racing driver, Chris Goodwin, who is heavily involved in the development of the road car product from McLaren. That could be a little sleeper in that AM category.
I think you're right, actually, yeah. So as the race leaders go on to lap 8, we've got 4.7 seconds between the top two, but second, third and fourth is where the battle's going to come from, I think, now, with Serralles ahead of Font Pereira and then Alessandro Pierguidi. Now, in terms of the overall situation, is there a sleeper? For example, how is Guy Smith doing in the Bentley? He's 13 seconds back at the moment onto the Hanger Straight. Pierguidi looking a bit closer to Pereira than Pereira is to Serralles.
Yeah, I think for Guy Smith, he's in relatively clear air, and what he wants to try and do is maintain that, but he's got the 22 Nissan, literally not on more than a couple of seconds behind. He needs to be aware that, yes, the 22 Nissan, he needs to be aware the pace of the Nissan, particularly at Silverstone, has been historically very strong, so he just wants to keep that nice gap, bring the car in, hand it over, and then send it back out. Whether I think it'll be Oliver Jarvis will take that car over, then Stephen Kane, as we referred to in the grid, will be the last man into the number 7 car, as he traditionally is in endurance events.
The start is under investigation because it caused an extra formation lap. So the team's being warned that if your driver potentially was out of position, then it's going to be looked at and a penalty could come. So the race director and the stewards are going to have a look at the start.
And I tell you what, he won't need a white stick to make that decision with, will he?
And all the drivers now being told about respecting track limits at turn 1, and not respecting them is the 11 Pro-Am Ferrari from Kessel Racing, and that is Michael Bronizeski who is off the road. That's at Stowe.
How did he get off there? Maybe
with
traffic.
some speed, I think.
Well, I mean, most likely it's been a number of cars, maybe another car, trying to squeeze themselves in, and difficult to move a car, and you don't want to really push in the rear wing because it wasn't designed to be pushed forward. It's designed to have a vertical load into it, not a horizontal load. Let's look at, there we are. The Audi is at the 17. It was the 2 Audi.
Yeah.
So that was the...
That's Richelme.
Richelme, yeah. So, wow, how did that go? What a good bit of, well, reactionary driving for the Lamborghini to split the Audi and the Ferrari. The Audi gets away with it. Now that's the kind of incident that will, in this new curriculum that I've been referring to, will be looked at to see if there was simply a racing incident or whether it was an avoidable incident. So we'll probably get further information. It says now number 2 and 11 under investigation at turn 7, and that's immediate.
And number 2 is a Pro Cup car, 11 is a Pro-Am. So straight away there is a difference in the driver grading. You've got gold for Richelme, Bronizeski is only a bronze. And the feeling is that the higher graded drivers ought to be mindful of the lesser drivers.
The higher graded drivers were clearly made aware in the second driver briefing that took place that to give the margin to the AM driver rather than expecting it to be there, and if there is contact, expecting right to be on your side. So wave the safety car, yes, they've got to get a snatch vehicle to get that car. It was a localised sector yellow, but now it's going to be a safety car. So everybody can draw breath, but also draw close together.
Actually, I'm not sure they can because we don't have an SC board anywhere else. I think that was just actually affixed to the marshal's post. It's still a waved yellow flag. The safety car legend is not on the screen, and there are no safety car boards or waved yellow flags anywhere else. So I think that was purely a board affixed to a marshal's post that tricked us into that. Second, third and fourth have all bunched up, and Font Pereira is going to have a look to the inside there against Felix Serralles. Alessandro Pierguidi thinking, go on, touch, hold yourselves up, let me by. And all of this is playing into the hands of brilliant Bortolotti, who is getting away up the road. The Lamborghini comes up towards Woodcote Corner, as out of Luffield come the 2 Mercedes AMGs, and then the Ferrari 488 behind in the hands of Alessandro Pierguidi.
And the gap now coming across the line, 6 seconds between first and second. Clearly the 88 Mercedes hasn't got the pace, and in the course of not having the pace, it's drawn Frank Pereira and Alessandro Pierguidi right into the draft of the car. So Pereira having a little look. Opportunities are few and far between, but certainly there are viable ones here at Silverstone, and particularly at the end of the Wellington Straight down into Brooklands is one of the favourites. Difficult to do it down into Stowe. That's the major corner they're going to be coming to at the end of Hanger Straight, apart from which there's still a waved yellow flag, so no overtaking. And you must slow down marginally.
Absolutely right. So the drivers get the message. Felix Serralles then in the pole starting Mercedes leads them through Stowe Corner. And there is another investigation for an incident now, which is Bernard Delhay and 89 Mercedes. Who did we put in 89 at the start? Daniele Perfetti. So the stewards, as normal, are going to be kept busy with so many cars. It's inevitable that there's going to be drama somewhere. and we've had a lot going on thus far, and we've only had really 20 minutes, haven't we, as they come down towards Abbey, turn right, and then flick left through Farmers. The bump in the road, which caused 1 or 2 incidents yesterday in other races. People hit the bump and spin, and they're running in second place. Felix Morales now. The lead gap 6 seconds.
Yes, but it's this battle for second place, and really it's Alessandro Pierguidi in the Ferrari, the yellow Ferrari, the third of these 3 cars, that potentially is going to be the quickest of all 3. Frank Pereira knows he's quicker than the 88 Cirella's Mercedes. If one or these 2 cars get ahead of the 88 car, then they'll be down the road. It's a different story getting past, and just their pace is now within the control of the second place 88 Mercedes AMG.
The race leader has just put 10 laps in the book, and Mirko Bortolotti way up the road, as over the timing line for second, third and fourth will come Morales, Pereira, and then Pierguidi. Victor Scheitar still going strongly fifth, the quick Russian driver, and there is Mikhail Brozniczewski out of the gravel. He's got damage, he's got a puncture, and he's also lost about 2 laps at least, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I mean the tyre is smoking. That's against bodywork, one would presume. I don't think there was any mechanical damage to the car, but obviously when a tyre gets cut down in the contact, as we saw, then rubber flails around, catches bits of bodywork, tears bits of bodywork off, and it makes a real mess just in general around the rear suspension. The yellow flag still in situ, coming down into sector 2, so no overtaking still, while there's one of the vehicles, the snatch vehicles, that's going back to its station behind the wall. So next lap through, this should be a clear racetrack down in sector 2, down into Stowe Corner. Not a corner that I would envisage being a major overtaking opportunity, but if you get it right, and there is the 188, it's pulled over to the side of the circuit. What is going on?
That's at Luffield. He's just been tapped into a spin, Alexander West, and he's beached by the side of the road with damage. That's at Luffield. We can just see it out of our window, in fact, in the distance at the top of the circuit. So there's bits of bodywork off the car.
And there's flames coming from the exhaust as he's trying to refire the engine. So there'll be a bit of spent fuel somewhere within the system. This is a turbocharged engine. You can see it's burning within the exhaust. You open the throttle and try and fire it up is the best way to do that. But it's hard to see. He's only got 2 wheels in the gravel, the left wheels. So if he can get it fired, then he can get it rolling again. But it's a matter of whether the marshal, just look and see. This is the onboard shot. Watch for the car to be pivoted around. There it is. The whack from the rear. Oh, very nice too. Bodywork comes off the Mercedes as a consequence. So now more assistance needed. They cannot get the car. There's resets on these cars to enable them to go back to basics, reset, fire it up again, but not the case for Alexander West.
Big shame, because it's gone a lap down, and you were right saying it was a sleeper in the AM Cup, but sadly it's having a very long rest at the moment while it's in the gravel. Still, I have to say, the standout driver for me of this first stint is David Perel in the AM Cup Ferrari. 28th overall he runs. He gained a place last lap through against Kenneth Hart. Tremendous effort. So we have a yellow flag out in that last sector, and we have Bortolotti leading by 6 seconds now. Still the same order, second, third and fourth. Felix Morales doing a good job of withstanding the pressure from Pereira, isn't he? Then you've got the 2 Ferraris next up, with Pierguidi fending off Victor Scheitar, and the top 6 completed by the Pro-Am leading Jules Gounon.
The next area of thinking a driver has to carry throughout is, how am I using my tyres? The Mercedes, generally people believe, the Mercedes AMG, to get it correct, is generally considered to be slightly easier, particularly on the rear tyre, on this kind of circuit, than the mid-engine, rear-engine cars around. So we're still just coming up to half distance. We don't see any drop-off in performance from the 2 Ferrari. We don't see any drop-off performance currently, although the gap between first and second has kind of stabilised now around about 6.1 to 6.3 seconds. So Mirko Bortolotti has done the hard yards to give himself that comfort zone. What he does not want is a safety car.
But we'll have a full course yellow instead. Full course yellow is being called for, while Alexander West's McLaren can be retrieved. So 188 is off and a full course yellow, but that should not bring down the gaps.
No, the gaps that you have a delta between the car ahead of you and the car behind you, and you're not meant to gain or lose, as the 777, I thought it was, everybody's running now at the delta speed, and this is one of the better solutions that has been introduced over the last couple of years into international motorsport, rather than having to bring out a safety car for something which is, in relative terms, not a major issue. either they're going to drag it back onto the racetrack. Certainly there's the pit lane entrance, so it's not, what, maybe 150 metres, well, let's say 150 yards, I'm old-fashioned, to the pit lane entrance.
So they have to slow right down, and they hold station. Of course, you can't overtake, you can't go quicker than the delta speed that is provided, and that can be monitored. So if you do speed, if you don't slow down fast enough, soon enough, then you can be penalised accordingly.
Let's just see how much gap there is between first and second. 6.3 seconds. Yeah, that's marginal.
I think Scheiter has closed a bit on Pierre Guidi there.
So 6.2 was the last second gap as the car. So Bortolotti goes across start-finish line. The Mercedes follows. 6.2 was the gap. 5.8, so there's 0.4 of a second gain in favour of the 88 Mercedes.
So we are under a full course yellow here at Silverstone in the second Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup round of the year, and a replay of the start as the lights did go to green at the second time of asking. And the Philippe Eng BMW going one side. That was the second start, the tidier start.
Both maybe the same BMW did it on the initial start, and then again very similar, but there's the advantage that Bortolotti had. He had the wider arc. He could brake that little bit later. In fact, he may only had to breathe it. The Mercedes had to tuck in. It didn't have the space to come over to the left side of track. So advantage to Mirko Bortolotti. And again, good racing brain. Works it out, knows what he's got and what he can do, and also trust within his fellow competitor in the 88 Mercedes AMG.
So the McLaren still to be retrieved. A full course yellow works very well at not affecting gaps. But a flip side of that coin is that, of course, the cars will always be dotted around the circuit, whereas a safety car has one long line, it goes past, and there's a lot of time for marshals to work. Now, for the moment, there is clear track space over at Luffield, but not for very long, because there's another wave of cars due, so it's a little bit harder sometimes for the marshals to get to a car.
In the instance of where there's a single car,
we've gone safety car.
Okay, safety car's been deployed. Where we, and in fact, the one I can just see looking across from our commentary position, we've got one of the recovery vehicles has now been deployed onto the racetrack, and it will pull the McLaren. There we see it still, so a safety car, and that means all that early performance from the 63 Lamborghini will evaporate, because he will have the field literally tailing him around until this track goes green again, and then he's got to do it all over again. But that offers up opportunities for those three cars we've seen back. There's going to be four cars battling, because they are going to be the ones that will ultimately take the challenge to the lead Lamborghini.
So the full course yellow slows everybody down, and then that can be converted into a safety car period.
The thing that having the virtual safety car is that it's much easier for the safety car when it's deployed to pick up the lead car, which doesn't always happen. It's one of the difficulties of deploying a safety car. Sometimes you need to do it more or less instantly, and you don't always pick up the lead car. But in this instance, the 63 has been picked up by the safety car, so there's no loss at this point. I don't think anybody could say they were disadvantaged. In fact, the only one that could do would be Bortolotti in the 63.
Except the leaders are at Village, and crawling through Woodcote is another group of 8 cars, which are 2/3 of a lap behind, because they haven't caught the pack. Of course, you lose time early on, you slow for a full course yellow, but they are, I would say, 3/4 of a lap behind everybody else. And so when the race restarts, potentially you'll have cars going at racing pace. They would catch those cars that are still under yellow flag conditions.
Well, what you might do is try and get a signal, try and get some kind of message to them to allow them to close up to the end of the snake or the chain. It is when you've got such a large field, and what is in relative terms a short circuit. 3.6 miles is not a short circuit, but you think about Spa-Francorchamps, which is a much longer circuit, they used to have, they may not do this year, multiple safety cars.
Safety car is in. They're going to catch these cars. They are not yet going at a decent pace. I think they are possibly getting the message now to speed up, but those drivers are going to lose out because the leaders have been released. We are racing again. Into the pits has come the damaged McLaren. The incident that put it in the gravel is under investigation. So the majority of the field are okay, but if you're 47th and back, you're in that second group, which is a long, long way adrift, all trapped behind Konstantin Lendoudis. So we are racing again, but those cars that are, they're a long way down the order anyway, but they are about to be compromised further. So Bortolotti leads Serralles, then it's Pereira ahead of Pierre Guidi, behind him is Victor Scheiter, then Jules Gounon, Is Bortolotti going to drive away, or can anybody this time go with him?
Interesting. Two of the Mercedes AMGs using a little bit of track space to get more temperature into the tyres, even running behind in that virtual safety car, then the safety car proper. You know, the temperature pressures, they drop away. You want to get them back up as quick as possible. And further battle. Oh, what's that? I thought that was a Porsche there. It is.
That's Robert Renard trying to gain places.
Down in 27th position.
Yeah.
So he's got work to do. Got the performance. The car has got good performance, but a lot of traffic. He's stepped down the inside, so he's made up one position already. So that sees him up into 26th position.
He turns his way through, unless that's the Ferrari that's rejoined after it stopped. Just looking at the Kessel Racing car behind. Yeah. Still, you've got Nicolas Pola gaining ground as well in that Lamborghini. Race lead is currently lap 14 then after that safety car period. Half a second was the margin when they went over the timing line. Jamie Green, DTM race winner a week ago, hustles on, number 17, trying to find his way up past the McLaren ahead of him in the hands of Johnny Kane.
Well, we've got the field making its way through Woodcote. We've got the leading group coming now into and through Luffield. There is the leader. It's already opened up about a second plus on that last lap. The gap was half a second at the end of the 13th lap. It's going to be 1.5 seconds. Well, 1.3 seconds. So he's put up 0.8 of a second on the second place Mercedes, but those second, third and fourth just literally running on each other's wheel tracks.
So the lead gap up to 1.3 seconds. Bortolotti again on his toes, isn't he? He's pulling away straight away as the leaders now turn their way out of Copse Corner. There goes Robert Renard, part of this year's Dubai 24-hour winning team. Up towards Maggots he will go in a moment. Johnny Kane with Jamie Green behind him. Then there is the charging Kenneth Hyatt. And that's the second of the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis turning its way through, with Ezequiel Perez Compang at the wheel, down in 35th place. Just like at Monza, he does the starting duties, gets further this time around, and there Marco Giocci onto the tail now of Eduardo Mortara. There is a stop-and-go penalty for number 2, Stefan Richelme, for causing a collision. That was with Bronizeski, wasn't it? So yes, just what we were saying about a pro driver on a AM driver, penalty comes.
Yes. But the trouble might be for the pro driver, he might know it's an AM car or it might be a prom car. Looking inside the McLaren garage, as they were, no, yes it is, that's the McLaren garage, yeah. Alexander West's car. So the reasons why the car won't start seem to be whatever they're doing around the front of the car. That may be incidental to why Alexander West wasn't able to get the car going. There is the 55 Ferrari.
Sorry, what I didn't tell you about the stop-go for Stefan Richelme is it's 5 minutes. Oh, that is draconian, isn't it?
Wow. Talk about focusing.
Well, but you could argue the Ferrari was off for 2 laps, which is about 5 minutes.
I've always believed that if there's an incident between 2 cars and the innocent party is the victim and the perpetrator gets off scot-free, that's wrong. Yeah. And for a very long time, that often was the case. Maybe it's now going to be redressed, and eventually, the penny, or let's call it the euro, will
drop. Yeah.
I think the penny sounds better because we're more familiar with it.
But a 5-minute stop-go penalty for causing a collision. But
well, that's 2+ laps, or 2.5 laps.
Which is what the Ferrari was in the gravel for. So, yeah, actually, it does balance out, doesn't it? Now, the race leaders are on lap 16. We have seen the 188 McLaren in the gravel. It's now in the pits, and a frustrated Chris Goodwin can tell us more.
Chris, what's the damage and can you fix it?
Well, the damage is basically to our race. Unfortunately, having had the biggest talking to by the organisers before the race, no contact. A Mercedes hit Alex in the middle of Luffield. Ridiculous. Damage to the car, minimal. Punctured the right rear where the first impact was, but then the car spun round and damaged the front splitter. So the team are turning the car around. That's no problem. Alex is going to stay in the car. This is his first endurance race, so it's all going to be great experience for him. But the damage is to the race itself. We'll never catch up the lost laps. But you can see they're flat out. It won't be long, but we'll have lost a few laps. We'll keep Alex in the car, give him some more experience and see where we go.
Well, good luck, thank you. We hope to see a really good show in the car. Thanks.
Number 31 Mercedes, which was holding up that other group of cars, the team manager of that is being summoned to the race director immediately. John, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, if the penalty that might flow for the McLaren being knocked into the gravel, I mean, that's going to take the best part of maybe 15 minutes from the point. So is the perpetrator of the crime going to get a 15-minute penalty in the pit lane? If that's the policy, or is there going to be a maximum amount of time regardless?
We'll keep monitoring the situation. As you look there at number 14 Jaguar Stefano Ortelli battling with number 90 Eduardo Mortara. Right up behind them is the Nissan 22 Struan Moore. You've got Marco Ciocci and all of that as well. So Struan Moore has dropped back a couple of spots on this lap, and he's about to lose a third, I fear. Ciocci tries to get up the inside. Behind them is Fabian Schiller in the 85 HTP Mercedes as they come out of Woodcote, and then behind them Jasmine Jafar. So Ortelli up into the top 10. Katsumasu looking on from the RJN Motorsport pit bunker as the cars now work their way out of Copse Corner for the 17th time of asking. Bortolotti 1.8 seconds ahead of Serrales, but great battles as you'd anticipate going on up and down the field. Ciocci under pressure here in the Ferrari look.
Indeed, but Struan Moore, he was the one that looked like he might be vulnerable, but once he got the Nissan fired up, saw a bit of a straight line. That's the strength the Nissan has got. It really, really does have a load of squirt. And not that the Ferrari, the 488, is anywhere short of it, but that is the strength that, as we look down, there's a battle going on. What's going on? Catching up. The leaders now catching up. This is what's going on. The leaders have caught up to some of the...
That's Pierre Guidi looking for a way past Pereira. Shaitar behind him. They're in the traffic, aren't they?
Yeah, that's why. Just getting slightly confused. But third place has swapped over, and that's Max Book. Look at his face. There we go again, coming up into Abbey Corner. Loads of traffic, and this is the consequence of that safety car. Lots of cars were in the back of the field, got separated from the chain, but three abreast as they come into Farm. Ferrari squeezes through. It's got the place of the 84 Mercedes. It's looking at the 88 Mercedes AMG, and just traffic jam. Three abreast again as they come into Aintree. Somebody's got to concede, and those quicker cars are finding themselves being... Look, Ferrari on the grass, the Kilovitz car on the grass, being forced wide unintentionally, but makes the pass anyway, so gets past two Mercedes and the BMW, which is one of the cars that's being lapped. So...
traffic everywhere, isn't it?
I don't know where to start, because whatever you say, something's going to change. So the BMW is completely out of place with this group of four cars all battling for the top six positions.
On board now with Guy Smith heading up towards the timing line. The BMW up the curb there, trying to keep out of the way, which is the Henkeler car. So the leaders dive into Copse Corner. Jelmer Berman turns through in number 4 with Jules Gounon behind him. We've had a change for the lead of Pro-Am out of all of that, because Daniel Kylwitz in the green and white Ferrari 333 there is ahead of the Mercedes. So Kylwitz, you'll see in a moment as they come through the Beckett's S's, is into the lead of Pro-Am, and Guy Smith running in 9th place is the next driver to have to find a way past the BMW.
Yeah, Kylwitz made that pass coming down Wellington Straight. He was pushed wide unintentionally by, I think, Jules Gounon, and then had inside line into Brooklands Corner and just stuck there, and that's where the pass came. So and in fact, it allowed the Mercedes, the Berman Mercedes, likewise to get past Jules Gounon. There, you might say, Gounon, who's impressed me with his speed, but he can't always beat experience.
Now, what can Kylwitz do next? Former ADAC GT Masters champion. He excels in Corvettes as well as Ferraris, so he's a much underrated driver, Daniel Kylwitz. He's wide coming out of Club Corner. There's more traffic up the road as well as Victor Shaitar goes through on the inside line of the number 31 Mercedes there. That's Lendulis at the wheel. And as he tries to keep out of the way, here comes Kylwitz taking Jelmer Berman with him. But which way does the Ferrari go?
Down the inside. Has to go down the inside. Yes, he does.
And Berman will follow him.
But does the Mercedes? We didn't realise the Mercedes was following through. So he had to turn away from the corner to give
Jelmer
Berman, I beg your pardon, give him that track space. And this is where it gets really tricky for the AMs and the Pro-Ams. As we go back to, that is the 188 McLaren back out in the race. So I wonder how long in total it's taken. Must be 15 minutes minimum, maybe 18, 19.
It's lost 6 laps against the race leader. So 6 times 2 minutes and a bit.
Yeah, it's 2 and a bit, so it's going to be 15 minutes.
Yeah. So it's a forlorn hope, but as Chris Goodwin was saying, they want to give Alexander West the track time now in readiness for the Spa 24 hours. Jelmer Berman over the timing line, 7th, hunting down Daniel Kylwitz. Now, we're about 19 minutes away from the hour, and it will be around then that people are going to start thinking about pit stops, isn't it?
Yeah. In the meantime, Mirko Bortolotti has opened up the advantage at the front, 4.2 seconds. He's had to deal with traffic, but the advantage that he's had, he's not having to concern himself with what's going on either around him or directly behind him. He's had that little bit of advantage where he can be more selective in where he does choose to make his passes. So 4.2 seconds has been part of having that opportunity to get through cleanly without having to worry about other cars. There's the Bentley number 7. We saw Stephen Kane and currently Guy Smith in 9th place, and he is just under a second behind Jules Gounon. Now, well, it'll be interesting to see if Guy Smith feels brave enough to give the young Frenchman a bit of a working over to get one more position for Bentley, get it up to 8th.
Whereas the sister car of Vincent Abril is being shown as down in 45th place and a lap adrift. I think because I was watching out of the window, the car was forced wide in traffic and perhaps didn't cross the timing beam in the right place. Yes, he's been put back in the order into 24th. Now, there is a 1-minute stop-and-go penalty to Felix Serralles in 2nd place due to false start and contact. So, a 1-minute stop-go penalty to the 2nd place car due to a false start.
Well, I mean, we clearly saw he had the car out of position. There was that very, very light contact, but we're in this new regime. It's a whole brave new world. Whoever wrote that great tome, was it Aldous Huxley?
I'll go with that.
That's good enough. That'll get anybody else. Anyway, the 88's going to have to come into the pits and serve its penalty. And that will be relief for Alessandro Pierguidi in the Ferrari. That's going to give him a really good opportunity to look at having a pop at Mirko Bortolotti. He's just under 6 seconds behind, currently in 3rd place. But once the Mercedes AMG carries out its penalty, then Alessandro Pierguidi can get on with the programme.
Just to recap the point that we discussed at Monza, once a penalty is on the timing screen, you've got 2 passes of the timing line before you've got to take it.
And there is no right of appeal,
no,
which is the key that every team manager in the pit lane must be aware of.
So it is there, it is done, it is decided, and Felix Serralles will come in now. A minute stop go is going to be a minute stationary and 26 seconds or so.
Yeah, 26, 28 seconds.
For drive time. So it's getting on for, shall we say, 2/3 of a lap. It's not the end of the world. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world, is it?
You could do without it.
I agree.
You could do without it, but to be frank about it, look, 2 Nissans together, 22, 23, battling, and yeah, they are. Yeah. With the Aston Martin, I think they've disposed, the 23's disposed of the Aston, so
16,
that's up a place.
17,
Yeah, 16, 17.
I suppose my point about this stop go is you won't lose a lap, and that's key to staying in touch in the race, isn't it?
Wow, is it ever?
So there, 22 Stuart Moore, Ordonez behind him. Ahmed Al-Harfi has dropped back a little bit, but staying in touch, 3rd in Pro-Am. And that car's going to be able to do good lap times for another stint after that, whereas it'll be a different driver getting on board for Kyle Vitz and for Jules Gounon.
It's interesting when you talk to some of the team owners about the BOP. The Aston, they believe, in terms of BOP, has got a significant amount of horsepower advantage, whereas some of the more contemporary cars, the Mercedes AMG, the Lambo Huracan, the BMW, have more aero.
Yeah.
So they offset the aero on the Aston with more horsepower and offset the cars with loads of aero with more BOP.
That is Frank Stippler at the inside.
Slipped through very nicely indeed, one of the McLarens.
But that was lapping the BMW. Al-Harfi to the outside. Here is the Mercedes. Now, also on the subject of stop-go penalties, the team times it itself. That lapped BMW getting in the way a little bit as the McLarens try and dive through. Jazeman Jaffar, Rob Bell, Ahmed Al-Harfi is stuck in the traffic. He can't get across. They're all descending upon the M6 as they dive down towards Copse. Jaffar is through, Rob Bell is through. Ahmed Al-Harfi gets squeezed out. The BMW exit stage left as well.
Yeah, but there was contact with the Aston. I don't know which car. Just very, very slight, or certainly if not contact, a turn to the left to avoid contact.
They've all survived, but that was a bit touch and go. Now, has the McLaren ended up with any damage? No, there's Jazeman. No, he has got a problem. Jaffar runs wide. He was sideways in the Beckett's S's, so that brings Rob Bell into the mix yet again in number 58.
Is that a left front, or is it just he got something on the tyres, but Rob Bell looks like he might feel he's got a bit of speed. But you know, this is again a group of 8-10 cars, maybe more, some out of position, but mostly all racing for that top 10, top 20 position.
Absolutely. This battle pack is for sort of, where are we now? 19th place back, and Rob Bell is the one who loses out, because up the inside there goes Christian Kleen. The number 31, the silver Mercedes AMG, is the Lendudis car getting in the way a little bit, so Rob Bell loses out, because up the inside there goes Dries Vanthoor in the Audi. Rob Bell was on the wrong line, and it's so competitive.
I mean, this is like stock car racing. It is absolutely nuts. I mean, you've got a group of, what, 15 cars now, all fighting, some in category, some for overall position, and some haven't got a clue, frankly.
Just push, push, push. Lendudis is the driver on this lap, terrorised out of the way. Up the inside goes Vincent Abril.
I mean, he just wants to vanish. I mean, it's whatever he does, he's being passed on the outside, being passed on the inside. The only thing we haven't had is anybody go over the top yet.
That was an onboard view from Ahmed Al-Hafi's Aston Martin as he comes the right way, in other words on the tarmac, to get through the traffic. But look, they're three, almost four abreast. Now we're getting more drive-through penalties. 55, Marco Ciocci, drive-through for a jump start, and 85, Fabian Schiller, HTP Mercedes AMG, jump start.
55, Ciocci in 11th place.
Yeah.
That's the car that Giancarlo Fisichella will be in a little bit later. So it is being everything examined, discussed, and penalties, if they are applied, are being applied. So this is going to be probably for the teams themselves a very difficult race to work out quite what runs way wide coming out of Copse, and that's behind the Porsche. So that was the Aston Martin running very wide.
So Felix Morales has pitted, by the way, to serve that stop-go. The teams time the penalty, not the officials, the teams. But just in case you think, well, they could let it go early, no, they can't, because the pit-in to pit-out time is controlled by the timekeeping, and if it's under, then they will be brought back in. The speed of driving. Oh, big off for number 44 yes. McLaren. That's done the barrier a big
that's
heap
a big,
of no good.
That
was Johnny Kane at the wheel.
That is mega. Is that up at Beckett's?
That's coming out of Abbey, isn't it? Abbey to Farm.
Whatever it is, that is a massive hit on the barrier, because you can see how distorted the barrier is, and we're going to see certainly in this instance it's going to be a safety. It's in sector 1. I wonder if
Beckett's Esses. It's Beckett's.
I think it's Beckett's.
It's the first part of Beckett's. Yeah. Yes.
So that's a big impact. You can see the damage in the barrier. I mean, the car has hit that at great speed.
Johnny's okay. He's out of the car. That's the best news.
Yes, indeed.
But that's the end of that, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, and in fact, it's not just that. This car and the barrier may have to be. I doubt they can leave the barrier in that condition. That's an issue that'll also have to be considered, but that is a severe impact. I mean, I don't know what speed he's hit the barrier, but judging by this impact, it's massive.
I mean, he's punched the barrier back, hasn't he? It's an enormous hit, that.
I mean, these are FIA Grade 1 Grand Prix circuit barriers. I mean, they're not something you'd find in a little country circuit, and that is a big hit.
Struan Moore goes wide, and up the inside there goes the McLaren then, so about to gain a place is Jasmine Jaffar, winner here last year, but no, Struan Moore comes back round the outside.
And way wide. Can he keep on the... Oh, he's just got it back.
Full course yellow.
Yes, I'm not
That's why I think
surprised.
some slowed, and we've got some pitting early. So now, one or two thinking this could be quite a long period. They're trying to take advantage under a full course yellow. It might be that once everybody is slowed, we go to a safety car period anyway, but our second full course yellow is out because 44, Johnny Kane, off the road with a sizable impact at Beckett's.
Yeah, the issue will be getting the car removed, first of all, most importantly, considering the condition. Johnny, he had been rattled around. Fortunately, he's physically a small person. A big guy in a McLaren would probably suffer more, so Johnny will probably have a quick trip to the medical centre just to make sure that everything is fine and he's comfortable. But there's the barriers, and I wonder whether they will have to replace those barriers, or will they be able to maybe put a tyre bale or a number of tyre bales in front of that heavily damaged part of the barrier. It's not a part of the racetrack you would expect a car to go off on. From the perspective of that camera angle, it looks as if he didn't make the first part of Beckett's, because if it's on the left-hand side, then I don't know how we could get there.
Now, to get there, could it be either contact or a breakage?
It could be anything.
Yeah,
it's difficult to speculate at this particular point. In the meantime, the gap that Bortolotti had built up after that safety car intervention was back up to 6.7 seconds, but he had There's some cars, as you say, teams prepared.
It's like a bus stop, everybody waiting, leaning out, waiting for the bus. Of course, the danger is now that so many teams pit at once, there's no room.
That is a problem, so you have to try and work with your neighbours on the other side, or if you're a large team like AF Corsa, you've got plenty of cars.
The answer to your earlier question on the grid, and well played for trying to get the rotor out of 63, Andrea Caldarelli is going to go second. So
they were having fun with me, weren't they?
They were teasing, John.
Oh, they were having fun. There is the McLaren, and wow, that's a big impact. That's as big an impact as I've seen a GT car take, and
the good news is Johnny Kane's okay.
Yes, and Mirko Bortolotti behind the wheel of the Lamborghini again, saying all the work that he has done. Don't mention he doesn't blink.
Well, he does. I was going to say, because it's a full course yellow, he blinks.
Yes.
You see, he's not as focused. So I've seen him blink 3 times already. Normally, Mirko, when he's on it, when he's on a flying lap, the concentration is such that he doesn't blink at all. But now that he's just pootling around under a full course yellow situation, he can blink to his heart's content.
You know, he wasn't aware of that until I brought it up. Now it's a bit of a joke in the
team. So now he's Mirko Blinkalotti as he comes in the full course yellow.
So will they decide to bring him in and make a change? I can't see any advantage in staying out, because this is going to be, I think, quite a long safety car period. Yes, he's coming in. So come in, do your driver change, wheels, fuel, get back out, and essentially he might, I wonder if he can do the change. I'm just trying to think. The 3 lead cars all coming in at the same time for the same reasons fundamentally.
They have that delta time, of course, to adhere to. So you can't do it in less than or between 58 and 84 seconds. 58 to 84 is the minimum and the maximum times you have.
The key to making your pit stop will be where will you slot back in, and what damage will that do to you?
Safety car being deployed. So now that the field have slowed, but unfortunately it actually gets more confusing for the race director now, because your leader will change because of the pit stops, won't it?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. That's where it gets for the team and for the organisation. So there's a length of time you have to spend. Wheels, tyres, so you do your refueling, then your wheels and tyres. The driver, of course, there's the Bentley coming in number 7. So that was, at the time it came in, the 7 car was round about 9th position.
So this will put into the lead Daniel Kylvitz in number 333 Ferrari. So that's the car that we hope will be scooped up by the safety car. But I don't envy Alain Adon the job of having to coordinate all of this now. He's staring in race control at a bank of monitors, and that is not the lead car, clearly.
No,
but you can at least let that train of cars go.
So what was the lead car is just beginning to go down the pit lane. They are sort of midway down the pit lane. But who is the lead car? It's not the 63 Lamborghini. It gave up the lead when it came in the pit lane.
Correct. So on the track, 333 is the leading car, because that was 5th. It stayed out and therefore overtook all the others in the pit lane. So
and there it is, the 6th in line,
at the back
the 5th in line of those cars. So I suppose one might say, would it be correct to wave through those other 4 cars to enable then the safety car to pick up the lead car, the 333 Ferrari, which in itself will probably having to make a pit stop, because you're going to have to make one. You run out of fuel if you don't. It's a question of when you do it, either at the earliest opportunity or whenever your team decides, do it on 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour.
So we are under safety car conditions. It's blasting down the pit lane, number 12 there. Andrea Piccini brought that car in. And the number 19 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini now having a new set of boots put onto it. So the safety car brings the gaps down. And let's have a look at how Johnny Kane got to his resting point. Was there contact with Len Dudis?
Was there ever?
Let's have a look. Oh, wheel.
Was that a rear wheel came off?
And then, bang. He had no chance to brake there, did he?
No, I mean, the wheel, again, hate seeing wheels get up in the air. No, that was a heavy impact and very little ability for the car. Even going through the gravel trap, it sort of skipped across it, not helped by the fact that one of its wheels, rear wheels, was bouncing through the air. So poor Johnny Kane sitting there as a passenger, unfortunately in this instance. Whether you would say, did the McLaren give the Mercedes sufficient working room, or was it just so much action going around that almost that he couldn't really cope with it. It's one of those questions that no doubt will have to be reviewed again and again. So the silver Mercedes, you can see in the right of screen, the McLaren would instinctively be coming across as it is, and the Mercedes was on the curb, didn't have much to go, but how the wheel came off.
Yeah, that's very odd, isn't it?
But did the wheel come off the McLaren or off the Mercedes? We were assuming it came off the McLaren.
Yeah, because the Mercedes carried on, didn't it? And has completed a lap since. And then some of the damage is done as the wheel hits the car. It tries to go back to where it came from, and then bang.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of kinetic energy in a wheel and tyre. I mean, the thing probably weighs, tyre, wheel, the best part of 10 or maybe 12 kilograms, and at speed, squared, whatever.
Got to say, poor old Straka not having a very happy start to the endurance season, because of course there was the Nick Leventis accident in qualifying at Monza, pre-qualifying at Monza.
Yeah, and then there was the accident with Boris Hazeman's big accident, wrote the car off at Brands Hatch. And Andrew Kirkcaldy, I spoke to him at Brands Hatch. Is that a puncture in the 85? Or
yes, I think the front right's gone down, hasn't it?
Andrew Kirkcaldy was shaking his head. I can't believe we've just gone through so much material, chassis, bodywork, suspension.
Expense.
Well, obviously that's a major concern, but it's just, you can't keep up, to manufacture all the parts that are damaged, to keep up with that in itself, and make sure that your spares, there are sufficient spare parts that in the need for them, that you've got them at the point.
That was the leader, briefly. Kyle Witt's in. So now, because he's not pitted, Struan Moore takes over the race lead.
So there he goes. Oh, whoa, stop. Slightly confused, releasing the car with other cars coming down.
Now, of course, the officials will have a look at an unsafe release if they feel it merits it. That could be one that they look at.
I think that one will probably get away. It was released, but it was halted. It didn't cause an incident, so I would think that there's enough on their plate right now to worry about.
So we're under the safety car, and Struan Moore technically is the leader, with in second place now number 66 Lamborghini, which is Bertrand Baguette. But drivers looking for a safety car, and the safety car driver looking for a leading car. So it's always a problem for the race director. You throw the safety car and people pit, and the order behind starts to shuffle greatly, but you need to keep an eye to the timing screen as to who is pitting and work out the leader that way, because a manual lap chart done at the next corner after the timing line becomes more accurate, because that gives you the situation after the cars are pitted.
Wouldn't you hate to be the circuit commentator on a day like today?
Been there, done that. So, number 19 Lamborghini, that was compact, wasn't it, in the first stint?
Yes.
And who's he given way to? Raffaele Giammaria.
Yeah.
So 36
position, yeah.
Where did 63 fall to then? It is 8th.
That's pretty useful, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I would have thought that's pretty good.
Still the best of the stoppers provisionally. We'll have a look at the order at the end of the next lap, but for the moment the safety car has got cars behind it. If the race director is happy,
but
he can then change.
The lead car is again the fifth car in that chain of cars. It's Struan Moore and the Nissan. So our cars being waved through, or the cars are going into the pit lane, and what is the lead car? There, the red and white Nissan. That's the lead car now. It's making its way into the pit at the end of the 25th lap.
So there are two cars now behind the safety car and 63, which is not the leader, because the leading car now is number 90. Michael Meadows is the best of those that have made a pit stop.
Well, but in the confusion, could we have ever worked that out?
But I'm hesitating.
But
that car's not had a drive-through for anything, has it?
No, but it's made one pit stop.
Yeah, so
we don't. But not for. We're assuming it's a pit stop, but we've not. Have they had another? I can't tell.
Well, I'm thinking you're right. I'm thinking, is that stop a drive-through or a routine pit stop? I think it's a routine pit stop. So it's ahead, so it leads.
That's unless it is. So 88 had a drive-through, but didn't see the 90. We're not aware of the 90. Well, if that was an early pit stop on the part of the team, then they've done a good job. But the car leading right now is the 66, which is the Attempto Racing Lamborghini, but it is yet to stop.
Indeed, so that will peel off.
So pretty much at the top 20, the lead car is the only car in the top 20 that is yet to stop.
Yeah, so ignore that Lamborghini, ignore that Mercedes, that car is the leader. It is now Michael Meadows at the wheel. It did stop early. I've just gone back through all the race director's messages. no penalties for that. So the one pit stop it has made was a regulation, full service, fuel tiles driver pit stop, and it has come out ahead of 63 Lamborghini, which is now Andrea Caldarelli.
How sneaky can you get? And that one really slipped under the radar. We didn't catch that at all. But good work on the part of that team to get the car serviced, the AKA ASP team, to get the lead in the pit stop. There is the second place car. Now the pace that we have seen all afternoon from Mirko Bortolotti in the 63 car has been stunning. Now we see change of driver, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge because Andrea Caldarelli is going to be a different dynamic, and Michael Meadows and Caldarelli, have they ever raced together or raced against one another in the track? We'll have to wait to see how that will unfold.
Up till Blancpain this year. Now, of course, although I'm saying ignore that Lamborghini at the front, it is the race-leading car, so the safety car does have the correct car behind it, but it will peel off at the end of this lap to serve a pit stop, I'm sure. So it's a phony lead, and Michael Meadows it is then who will inherit the race lead because he is the best placed of the pit stoppers behind the safety car, if you're following all of this. So by keeping Bertrand Baguette out, what they've done is get the car into a notional lead, but as soon as he pits, he's going to drop so far down the order, and that was the Mercedes that got involved with Johnny Cage.
Yes, it is. So it was the left side of the car, but they've taken the car back into the garage to work on it, so they can use more than the mandatory 2 people that would be involved in the pit stop in the pit lane.
But that also answered the question, was there contact? Yes, because it was the left-hand side of the McLaren and the right of the Mercedes.
Yeah.
So that confirms all that, and it will tumble down the order accordingly. There's that speed car in the pit lane. Now, what we don't know is how long this safety car period is likely to be. In has just come Bertrand Baguette, and in has come the lapped Mercedes behind. So now Michael Meadows is confirmed as the leader from Caldarelli, from Passin Lathouras, who is in third place, the very quick Thai driver, silver graded driver, who's not done in relative terms as much racing as some of those, but has done very well in British GT. He's been quick in Blancpain when we've seen him race in the past in that. So Passin Lathouras is an underrated driver and goes strongly with some good co-drivers around him. He's learnt from them.
Yeah, and he's in the pound seat again. He's in the top 3. It'll be interesting. It'll be the 84 Mercedes that in effect will be in 4th place, so he's going to be under threat. So that's not going to be Jimmy Eriksson behind the wheel, so that's going to be something he'll have to focus on. There's the 88 car, and change tear off, being pulled off the windscreen. That was the car that had to serve the penalty for an infringement at the start. We did see that at the original start. The car was out of position. There was mild contact on the left side of the Mercedes AMG with the front row sitting Lamborghini. So now fuel is in, then you can start doing, and this is so well choreographed by all the teams. Two engineers allowed to do it. And they spend hours, well not hours, but maybe 15 minutes, then they're down the pub. But basically, they do. They have to rehearse. And these, they're fit. They go to the gym. They work out of the gym. Because carrying these wheels tires, you might think they're not heavy, but if you want to lift one and carry it and run around a car and not slip up and not whatever, so it's on its way. So that is Tristan Vautier.
The incident between Kane and Lendoudis is going to be looked at after the race. Why do you spin behind the safety car? Treble 7 has rotated. That's Gilles Vannelet, who is an experienced driver, but Gilles, don't drive into the pack, please.
I suspect because he got fresh rubber on, we're running at low speeds, and he just maybe ran a curb and just got caught out. But he's sort of stuck in no man's land. He's going to drive into the gravel. Is he going to? Oh, he has tarmac around that part of Club Corner, so he's out of position. And therefore he's going to have to retain the position that he's rejoined the race in, I'm assuming.
We always say you can't overtake behind the safety car, but when someone spins ahead of you, you've got no choice, have you? Number 90 leads them. Michael Meadows drives it, and Eduardo Mortara did the first stint. It's sneaked into the lead, rather, and Edo Mortara then, who did that first stint, can tell us all.
Eduardo, you just sneaked into the lead there with an early pit stop.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a question, to take the right decision at the right time. I knew we were close. We were sort of in the pit stop window, and when they told me that they were full course yellow, I decided to come in because I knew that we could gain some lap time there. We were running around P9, P10. Yeah, so hopefully next stints will be good, and we can finish on a good position.
Now, can you hold up the Lambo?
Yeah, I mean. we have, I think we have good chances because we have like good tires. Yeah, my teammates that qualified the car, at the front, so Rafael, I guess, will finish the race. At the moment it's Michael. They are both very experienced. They both showed that they were, on a good pace. So, I mean, if we can defend from the Lamborghini, this we will see. But at least, we are at the moment leading, and it's cool already.
Thank you. Good luck.
Racing again, safety car is in, green flags fly, so Michael Meadows leads, Andrea Caldarelli runs second, third is Passin Lathoris, and right on his tail now is Jimmy Eriksson in 84 Mercedes. That's suddenly come into the mix.
But the 8 Bentley likewise has come up to the mix. Suddenly we're seeing that right up at the races. So
Andy Soucek.
Yeah, Soucek behind the wheel. So suddenly that car had been running outside the top 20, has made its way up. Again, clever use of safety car and good timing in the pit lane.
So Michael Meadows leads the pack. Michael, double Carrera Cup GB champion, son of Mercedes Formula 1 team manager Ron Meadows, is there. Andy Soucek comes to the outside line and Miguel Molina down to the end of Vale, but the Ferrari fends off the Bentley. 5th and 6th they run, and there is a 1-minute stop-go penalty being applied to the number 32 Mercedes for causing a collision. That was against Alexander West, I think, up at Luffield, as we look at the race leaders going now into Abbey. Andy Soucek on the tail of the Ferrari. So this rather Iberian battle, Miguel Molina versus Andy Soucek, Ferrari versus Bentley, nose to tail now.
So Soucek trying to get the undercut as they come through farm, and he goes now up to try and get the loop. Then again trying to get alongside the Ferrari, but can't quite get the traction. As the lead Mercedes AMG and the Lamborghini, which is right, well, not literally under the rear wing, but not very far away from it, thinks to have a look down the inside into Brookland, looking to me at the minute to be the quicker of the 2 cars. So it'll be a little bit of defensive driving from Michael Meadows until he gets his eye in and gets comfortable behind the wheel.
But this is going to be a fascinating duel, this, because we know Michael is good, but in his previous Blancpain GT outings, he's kind of been swallowed up by the field because of pace of his co-driver or whatever it might be. But here we're seeing him leading a race for the first time in this championship, and it's going to be a real test of him. He's new to the Mercedes this year, but Michael, a good character, unassuming driver, and he leads the way. Caldarelli up behind him, Passin Lathoris running third.
Yes, he's holding station, running behind the Lamborghini, so doing a good job. At this restart, there is the view from the 63 Lamborghini. The engine V10 screams away, whereas the V8 in the Mercedes AMG, different kind of engine pulse. But the Ferrari is the one, actually, it looks like it's going to be, well, it's getting out of the draft of the Lamborghini, just maybe wanted to keep a little bit of cooler air.
Is Caldarelli being held up by the Mercedes? Possibly. Michael Meadows leads. Caldarelli can't find a way past him, but because he can't make progress, Passin Lathoris closing. Now, catching up is one thing. The BOP is such, of course, that the cars are quite evenly matched. Overtaking is not that easy, as Caldarelli is discovering as well.
Yes, Lamborghini looks slightly more effective through club corner, closed down marginally on the exit. Shows the nose, hasn't got enough straight line squirt just to get up alongside Michael Meadows and the Mercedes AMG into Abbey. So next opportunity is going to be round as we come into farm, but too far behind. So I mean, the place that everybody's going to look at is down at the end of Wellington Straight into Brooklands. It's a wide entry into the corner, and even if you go slightly offline on the entry, you can consolidate and principally keep the competitive car that you've been racing with. So now this is where we have to see Caldarelli, can he do anything? Straight line difference between the 2 cars, marginal bit of slipstream, and he goes down the inside but not far enough. Needs to avoid contact, because with this new regime, contact is not tolerated, let alone permitted.
Absolutely. So Caldarelli on the back of Michael Meadows, Passin Lathoris staying with them, and actually Jimmy Eriksson, 4th, has got somebody else in his mirrors, because Andy Soucek is up into 5th place. Watch the leading cars go through Woodcote. There's the Bentley in the background. So Andy Soucek's car that was, 24th, I think, before the stops, now up into 5th place. Out of Copse Corner, Michael Meadows hangs on to the lead, but Andrea Caldarelli, watched on by Mirko Bortolotti, there is 0.279 of a second back. Lathoris is 3rd, 4th is Eriksson, 5th is Soucek, 6th is Molina, 7th now is Stuart Leonard going great guns after the great result he had at Brands. 8th it is Lukas Stoltz, 9th Gustavo Jackemann, Maxime Martin's BMW out of nowhere is up into 10th.
The race will come to certain driver, car, team combinations. They didn't maybe get a successful qualification. But again, this is where experience and teamwork works. But the battle for the lead, Mercedes AMG, Lamborghini, I mean, barely, you know, what is it, less than half a second?
Yeah.
Showing 0.2 of a second when they came across start-finish line at the end of their previous lap, lap 29. This is lap 30. Now through Club Corner, let the car go out, then back, make your apex, run wide in the exit. Don't get all four wheels completely off, because that's a bit of a no-no. And then into the very quick, big commitment corner at Abbey, the bump there. Oh, and Pythoras just about checking the car from running too wide in the exit.
So Michael Meadows leads the way. It was 2 years ago here that Michael and Stuart Leonard, who is running currently in 7th place, had a class win in Pro-Am in an Aston Martin. The third driver, Paul Wilson, we very sadly lost on Friday morning. He lost his battle with cancer at the young age of 41, and our thoughts and best wishes to Paul's family. Meadows leads the way to the inside line, looks Caldarelli, can't do it. They turn their way through Brooklands, nose to tail, the top two, and passing Lathoris. Kind of holding this watching brief in 3rd place, but he too now is coming under renewed attack from Ericsson and Soucek. So the two leaders getting away a little bit while Lathoris has to defend. There he is, look, the train of cars starting to close on him in 3rd spot, but Lathoris hanging on in there, doing a good job still in that 3rd place.
Yes, he has. He's done very well at this restart. But as Mirko Bortolotti watches the progress, so Mirko focused as ever, deep. I mean, such depth of concentration.
A little blink. So Mirko Bortolotti watches on. Andrea Caldarelli slipping back ever so slightly, only a 10th, but the gap has just widened a little, hasn't it?
It's very difficult to follow very closely behind another car. Your temperatures get affected. You will lose a bit of front end grip. That can damage your tyres. And looking further back, the yellow Ferrari, Jimmy Eriksson in the 84 Mercedes. Again, Caldarelli closes up, underbrakes into Stowe, runs a little bit wider on the exit. Breaking down into Vale, it's always a possibility, but it's not an easy place to do it, and easy to defend. So really the best shot, keep repeating it, going to be down the run, Wellington Straight into Brooklands. This group of 3 cars comprising 3rd, 4th and 5th, all covered by, well, just about a second.
So on board with Caldarelli now as he turns his way through the right-hander of Abbey, then flick left at Farm. Andy Soucek inching up onto the back of Jimmy Eriksson with a good track record, Jimmy, in GP3 and GP2 before, like so many, he decided to give up on a single-seater career where you spend money to try and earn it in a GT car, and he's on the tail of Passin Lathoris. Now Passin has done a good job thus far in this stint. He's under attack. It's going to be a real test of him now, but he should be up to it because we've seen him in the past in things like British GT and Blancpain doing a good job. And look, he's not cracking under the pressure, is he? He's fending them off. Ericsson flashing the lights, trying to unsettle him. The leaders have caught traffic as well now. They've got the Zakspeed Mercedes ahead. Which way does Meadows go?
Well, this is a chance that Caldarelli's been waiting for because Meadows is being delayed. Now the Lamborghini can have a little bit more flexibility or option. So the 2 Mercedes AMGs come out through, but no quarter given. Watch for the Lamborghini. Can it split the 2 Mercedes, or is he caught in no man's land? I think he's actually caught in no man's land.
He almost touched.
Still. So Michael Meadows now, one goes one side, no, both are going to go on the right-hand side, but again, up into his danger zone, up into the beginning of the Beckett's. Watch for the Mercedes to cut across the Lamborghini. It gets, wow.
It's great news for Meadows because the lead builds, but so frustrating for Caldarelli, who cannot get past that slower car.
Well, I mean, he would say, I'm driving at the pace, but he's got to stay on racetrack. He's got to do the best he can. But frustration, you can see how much. That's the 32 Mercedes.
Beniamino Caccia at the wheel of it.
Well, and that's one of the AM Ferraris. Very, very quick car. So now Caldarelli has got through. He's got to now regroup, maybe get over the disappointment. But the 3rd, 4th and 5th place now have got to contend with the Mercedes. Now got sort of the message and maybe just wasn't aware.
Soucek goes through.
Just Soucek slides. He was watching what was going on ahead. He didn't want to get involved. He wanted to hang back a little bit and get the best option available to him. What part of the racetrack did he want to make his overtake on?
So Soucek goes by. Passin Lathoris made short work of that, and of course that brings him a little bit closer to Caldarelli. He was 2.5 seconds back. He's not 2.5 seconds back anymore. Ericsson still runs 4th. Soucek is 5th as they turn their way up towards the loop this time. We're on lap 32. We've had 2 full course yellows converted into safety car periods, and the most recent one has really shuffled the pack. So Mirko Bortolotti watching Andrea Caldarelli, who is in second place. The gap has opened up. If he were Caldarelli, where would he attack?
Mirko, now you're catching up to Michael Meadows, but where would you overtake?
Well, that's a good question, to be honest. Yeah, well, it's a shame actually that we are, as the race started, it's a shame that we are in the position that we need to try to get past. We were unlucky with the safety car procedure, because when I pitted, there was full course yellow, and then apparently it switched to safety car, and Mercedes was having a clear half a lap and gained a lot of time and managed to jump us in the pit stop. So at the moment we are second, but Andrea is doing a great job. He's putting the leading Mercedes under pressure, and I hope we can find the right spot to get past it. But I don't know where you can actually have the position to pass it, because you have to drive the car to know it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Car 85 Mercedes was given a drive-through earlier on. They served that under the safety car period, which you're not allowed to do. So they're getting another drive-through for doing their drive-through, but at the wrong time. So they contravened a regulation. There's a second drive-through going for number 85 Mercedes.
Yeah, you have to understand the rule book. Oh, cameraman's panning round, and then
there's so much to look for.
Yeah, just looking to see. I mean, he just followed the cars through still, and he was panning back, and no, we don't see that. But
can I get all excited about Lathoris? As 32, Katja is in the gravel.
That's Copse corner.
Passing Lathoris, he's still there in third place, despite all the pressure being thrown at him. He's doing a very impressive job, and that all looked rather self-induced.
Two Mercedes.
Jelmer Berman's car, Lukas Stoltz at the wheel, was in 8th place, and that was the other one going wide. But Beniamino Katja is in the gravel at Copse corner.
And will that be again a virtual safety, full course yellow, or safety car? The car difficult to move from in. Again, it's going to need a vehicle to tow it away. As this battle for third place, in fact, between the Ferrari, the Mercedes AMG, and the Bentley. Andy Soucek looking to have a little nose down the inside, and Jimmy Eriksson sort of isn't quite sure whether Eriksson's going to give him the ground or not, but now the lead battle has rejoined. Caldarelli has managed to close back up to the rear of Michael Meadows in the lead Mercedes AMG.
There, Lathoris is under attack. Here comes Jimmy Eriksson, but he's heading to a yellow flag zone. He's got to get the job done midway down the pit straight. If he goes through at Copse, then he's going to be in strife. Yellow flags are waving and the position has changed.
Well, was he ahead when he got there or not? When those, it doesn't impress a race director when that happens, when you've got 4 or 5 marshals trying to remove a car. The question was he ahead of the Ferrari at the point he came upon the yellow flag? That's a difficult one to read from our perspective, looking at it from a TV position. Now Andy Soucek looking to go the long way round the outside of Chapel.
And he's taking Molina with him.
Absolutely, and he's going to be the beneficiary, because he's going to, Soucek having to go defensive, coming down. He saw the Ferrari right under his rear wing. Lathoris is having to be very careful, because this is a tricky situation. Easy to get contact. He took the long way round and then came back.
So he's lost one spot to Soucek. Jimmy Eriksson clearly doesn't think he was in the wrong, does he? Because he's not giving the place back. He's away up the road. Soucek going after him. We'll try and get a replay of that overtake down towards Copse and have another look. But Passin Lathoris, having lost one place, then kind of caught off his stride a little bit, losing another one to Andy Soucek, but he's regrouped. He's fending off the Miguel Molina Ferrari there, number 72. Up front, Michael Meadows still leads the way. Andrea Caldarelli chasing after him, now on lap number 34. And this is the view from on board the Lamborghini.
So here we are, status quo, back to where we were a few laps ago. Michael Meadows driving very consistently, lapping in 2:03s. Best lap for this car, 2:02. The Lamborghini last lap, 0.67 of a second quicker. That's why the gap is down to just under half a second. But it's the same old story. You can catch, you can get under the rear wing. There's one part of the racetrack we've seen Caldarelli having a little look. He's never given it 100% commitment, because he himself didn't feel he was sufficiently far alongside the number 90 Mercedes AMG to be careful.
That first waved yellow is midway down the pit straight.
It definitely is.
We'll have another look in a few minutes at that overtake, but there's so much going on at the moment. Molina is ahead of Lathoris now. There is Maxime Martin running in 7th place.
Yes, suddenly he's made progress.
Yeah, he's up ahead of Stuart Leonard. down to 8th. Gustavo Jacquemin is 9th. There are the two Ferraris running together. So it is Miguel Molina up ahead of Passin Lathouras, but as long as Passin can keep the car in that leading group within 10 seconds or so, then they've still got a chance come the last stint. He's not dropping too much time at all.
No, I mean, Michele Rugolo is going to be in the car for that final stint, and if that car is anywhere inside the top 6, ideally, then it's an opportunity for, certainly for the 50 Ferrari, to look at a podium opportunity, podium position. There's Maxime Martin. Good to see him again back in Blancpain GT Endurance.
And he's lapping quicker than the next couple of cars ahead of him as the leaders come through Club Corner.
Doesn't he always? He's one of the quickest guys in
absolutely.
the GT car.
Yeah. He's not yet on the pace of the leaders, but he's had traffic to worry about. But I suppose what I'm saying is he will close up in this stint, as there, Gustavo Jacquemin in 9th place has now got Lucas Stoltz behind him. Oliver Jarvis 11th, so the other Bentley, it was better placed than 8 in the first stint, but it's not out of the equation yet. It's 17 seconds down on the race leader, Oliver Jarvis 11th, and then behind him in 12th place is the number 12 Michele Beretta on the Racing Lamborghini. Now this is Caldarelli's view once more, and it's the same view. It's still the back of a Mercedes.
Yes, it is, and it's still the same part of the racetrack where he thought he might have a little look, but again, Meadows just goes to the left to check any prospect of the Lamborghini moving down the inside. So Michael Meadows showed his hand maybe more than he's done previously by taking that more defensive entry into Brooklands, but the outcome remains the same. Still leads probably by just about that half second it's been over the last number of laps. 0.384 if you want to be accurate about it.
Now the race leaders go through Copse. Now have a look here at the overtake. Here it starts at Luffield. Jimmy Eriksson on the inside of Passin Lathouras. Now they're heading for a yellow flag zone. Remember, there's waved yellows at the corner, there's waved yellows before the corner. Is he ahead? From that angle, marginal.
I would say he was, yes, I think I would agree with you, but it's a very oblique angle to see.
But they've certainly gone past one.
But the point that I would maybe make, did any of those 3 cars go through that yellow flag zone slower than their previous best?
Good question. Didn't look like it, did it?
Not to me.
No.
I mean, that would be the issue I would have. I would bang them all to rights, all 3 of them. Send them back in the pit lane. Sit there, behave. You've been warned. I'm telling you what you're going to do.
There are Marshall's trackside.
I'm a hard man.
You are, but we wouldn't have you any other way, it says here. Now, down towards the end of Vale, Passin Lathouras. He's in 6th place now, just to make the point. The race order is Michael Meadows, Andrea Caldarelli, Jimmy Eriksson, Andy Soucek 4th, Miguel Molina 5th, Passin Lathouras 6th, Martin 7th, Leonard is 8th, Jacquemin is 9th, Stoltz is 10th. And I'll give you Oliver Jarvis 11th because he's in the Bentley. And the pole car, now with Danny Juncadella at the wheel, 28th, remember, after its earlier stop-go.
I don't know what was in the mind of Sir Ayers when he decided to do that, but to lose that pole position advantage, the potential lead of this race, and now having that penalty dropping down into 28th position, that's in progress. There is the car was driven by Anthony West. That was one of the cars that brought out a safety car. So
Chris Harris now, I think, behind the wheel. Yesterday is 50th place, and he's just lost out to Edward Sandstrom, who's taken over the much penalised 85 Mercedes.
Last time I saw an on-board of Chris Harris in a race car was at Goodwood Revival. He was driving a gorgeous little Pre-A Porsche 356, and he ragged it all round the Goodwood, and the thing loved it. The car responded. Anyway, let's get back to more contemporary things. Chris Harris, this car, Chris Goodwin and Alexander West will be driving it in Spa 24 hours. So this is an opportunity the driver lineup couldn't do, I believe, the 6 hours at Paul Ricard, because that would have given them experience of nighttime racing prior to Spa. So they had decided this is where they would come. So track is now green all the way around. Incident car 32 and turn 1 under investigation. So that, I think, were the 2 Mercedes that we saw a few moments ago. The gap first to second, well, it's still hovering around that half a second. Further back, we've got Jimmy Eriksson within 2.6 seconds of the second place. This is further down with the AMS.
Out of Stowe, got that 37 we're on. An hour and 34 minutes of the race still to run. Gustavo Jackermann with a real queue behind him. Lukas Stolz moving from a Bentley to a Mercedes this year. Oliver Jarvis next in the queue. Then there is the lapped Ferrari, number 11. Remember, that was in the gravel at Stowe early on. Andrea Rizzoli is now behind the wheel of that, but it's a long, long way down the order. It led, of course, Pro-Am until it got Adam'd late at Monza when Johnny Adam came storming by, but here it has given away, 4 laps really, by being in the gravel earlier on. So big frustration. These endurance races, really the current definition of an endurance race is a long sprint, because if you lose laps it's very hard to make them back up. Stolz makes the move. That'll work when that gives him the place.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost as if he gave the position up. So Jackermann either didn't realise how close Stolz was, but certainly the opportunity was opened up, and it wasn't really defended. Once the nose of the Mercedes AMG got to the apex, that was it. So slightly easy pass, I would have to say, in this instance. Now Andy Soucek will be thinking, well, will I get such a generous opportunity, or am I going to have to work a little bit harder again?
Through goes Jackermann. A little bit of flapping bodywork there on the left front corner. Goes over the timing line. So Lukas Stolz gains 1 spot out of all of that. That puts him 9th. What we don't have at the moment is a terribly high-running Pro-Am car. The leading Pro-Am is to be found now in 21st place. It's the Gunon Boberleague car. Second, Martin Kodrich, having taken over from Adrian Amstutz. And Ahmad Al-Hafi, who won at Monza, is about, 6th, 7th in class at the moment, quite a long way down. Now, I'll grant you, we can all shuffle around with an hour and 33 minutes to go, but it's very much dominated by Pro at the front.
Am I missing something? Are there any Audis in this race today? Because I'm looking down again, timing and scoring, and I'm struggling.
8th is Stuart Leonard.
Okay,
he's the best.
Good. That's the best one. Yeah. In 8th place.
But just on the subject of who is where, 488, which is Rino Mastronardi, leads the AM Cup. Now, I said David Perel was doing a good job when he was 28th or something earlier on, but Mastronardi is 20th, an AM Cup car, 20th out of 55. Yes, I know, safety cars,
yellow, position, whatever,
but that's not bad going.
Position. And, I mean, a great effort by an AM car. I mean, in a field of 55 cars, to actually get into the top 20, to get onto page 1 of the timing and scoring is unquestionably a great effort. 777 Lamborghini. See, that's in 43rd place. Actually, just made up a position.
As there is 333. Now, that was Daniel Karlvitz. He has given that car over to Renat Salikov, and it is 3rd in the Pro-Am contest. So 333 is 24th. We've got all the Pro-Ams behind the leading AM, would you believe, at the moment. It's quite a turn-up, this. There's Adrian Amstutz's car, now with Martin Kodrich at the wheel. 89 goes through behind, which is the Daniele Perfetti Mercedes. Number 2 Audi through, a long way down. Of course, that car had to serve a very lengthy stop-go earlier on, didn't it? So 48th it is. There is 488, 20th overall. That's your leading AM, Rino Mastronardi. They led at Monza, remember, until an engine problem badly delayed the car. So hoping for better fortune here, and he's on the back
of the 19.
Gianmaria, yeah. So this is a great effort.
The sister car to the winningest car, the 63 Lamborghini. So Rino Mastronardi in the Ferrari.
A Rinaldi racing car through Copse.
So Rinaldi do a really good job with these customer 458s and 488s.
Do indeed.
And for some reason they just love that lovely fresh green colour chasing the 19 Lamborghini. It's interesting to compare the performances of the 2 Grasser Racing Lamborghinis, the 19 and the 63.
And just in case you were wondering, because it's an Italian car and it's Rinaldi Racing, it's actually a German team, but elected to use the name of Rinaldi Racing. So it sounds all very Italian, but it's a German team.
You're going to tell me Kessel Racing is an Italian team.
So Mastronardi hustles out of Stowe, working his way down through Vale. We're almost at the halfway point here, as there up the inside goes number 14, and under attack because he just gained and then lost the place back again. So through goes now Raffaele Gianmaria, moving himself 18th ahead of Lawrence Frey, and Mastronardi tries to squeeze up the inside as well.
Yeah, he didn't have the momentum or the track position. The Jaguar was always going to come back, swing across the apex, ran wide in the exit, but nevertheless consolidated. So the lead AM car, don't get too greedy. You're doing a great job. You're running in top 20 in 20th position. If the position is offered up to you, then take it, but your race is to win your category.
So now Nastronardi tries to find a way up past Lawrence Frey. This, in the meantime, is the view from Andrea Caldarelli. They're both running wide, aren't they? The two leaders coming out of Copse.
Need to be careful, because if you run all four wheels right off the exit of Copse, that again is something that will be observed. It's easy to do because it allows you to free the car up on the exit and get better exit speed. So you want to maximise what you've got in Copse Corner, particularly if you're being pursued by a car which potentially, if it was able to get ahead of you. But it's the 84 Mercedes, Jimmy Eriksson. He's
up there, isn't he?
Yes, he's closed right up to the back of the 63 Lamborghini.
We're also getting a report that 86 is losing its bonnet. 86 being the Hunter Abbott Mike Skeen Mercedes that Damien Faulkner is behind. Let's catch up though on more AM news. Down to the pits in Dakota.
You're currently leading AM and 20th overall. Absolutely amazing.
Yes, we are doing very well, like we did in Monza, so hopefully the engine will stay.
Do you think you can keep this pace up?
Well, with Reno in the car, yes. When I go in, it's going to be a little slower again.
When do we expect you in the car?
In about 30 minutes.
Let's see what you got. Good luck.
Very experienced driver, Pierre. Been around for a long, long time. It's very self-effacing.
Well, I like that because he doesn't pretend to be a youngster, 55 kilograms wringing wet. He's just a regular guy who loves his motor racing, and he does it very, very well. So, he just accepts his ability and the restrictions, limitations. But it's great to see a car that you're going to step into. It is currently, by a country mile, 33rd is the next car in that category. That's the number 3 WRT Audi.
For the lead, to the outside line goes Caldarelli. Sorry, John, but that was his best chance yet. He had a real go on the outside line. Michael Meadows hangs on to it as across the timing line behind them. Third is Jimmy Eriksson. And now Michael Meadows does really have to go defensive down towards Copse. Was that more than one change?
Well, I wouldn't want to see any more, because if you start going defensive and making a blocking manoeuvre to prevent what might not have happened, but in the mind of Michael Meadows could have been a possibility. He didn't want to have it, but then he came back again to get onto the line he would like. But again, Jimmy Eriksson is the car that's sitting there waiting to pick up the pieces. And the 84 car right now, these three, looks to be the quickest. Now, if the Lambo can get past the lead Mercedes AMG, maybe that circumstance will change, but this is a three-way battle for the lead, and it is any one of these three cars at any point could find itself in the lead.
So Eriksson now applying pressure to Caldarelli. That's what Meadows needs, really, because if Caldarelli has to start defending, he might be able to build that lead. But Caldarelli doing a good job of attacking and defending at the same time. He's in this invidious position of doing two things at once. Coming now through Club Corner. Runs it a little bit wide up over the curb, but Michael Meadows has gapped him by another length or so, but it's still very tight between these three. The two Mercedes both into the mix now, whereas they weren't really in the first stint. The constant has been that Lamborghini.
So further down the field, just for those fans of Giancarlo Fisichella, he's in the car and he's making further progress up to 12th position in the 55 of Ferrari. We see coming out of the loop, and then the quick flick, it's just flat out. Again, you can use the outside, the AstroTurf, remaining stuck down. There's the 7 Bentley. Ollie Jarvis, he's involved in that battle. Jackerman just ahead of him. So he's not managed to do what the number 4, Lucas Stolz, Mercedes AMG, achieved a few laps earlier, and even the Ferrari looking, well, they got, this is Fisichella directly behind the Bentley, so that's going to be an interesting little battle between former Grand Prix star and a driver who would love to have achieved that accolade.
And then on the back of Fisichella is the badly delayed Ferrari number 11, which is, of course, the Pro-Am entry. It's Andrea Rizzoli at the wheel in 46th place, but it's got the pace to live with these cars.
Well, more than that, he's got the flashing headlights to say, I may be out of the game, but I want through, because I'm quicker than you. And you.
Right, Lucas Stolz, who was involved in the incident at Copse, is being given a 5-minute stop-go penalty for causing a collision. Remember Beniamino Caccia ended up in the gravel? Well, Stolz is deemed to be the guilty party. 5-minute stop-go penalty for number 4.
At this very part of the racetrack, Copse Corner, so the contact was in the entry to the corner, and that spun the one of the Mercedes AMGs into the gravel, and Lucas Stolz has been deemed to have been the guilty party, and that's a 5-minute stop-go, effectively just over 2 laps. That's going to have a little bearing on the battle for the top 6, because that, or top 8, because Stoltz is currently in 8th place. He's going to drop down minimum 2 laps.
Yeah. And Ollie Jarvis is about to gain a place, is he, at the expense of Gustavo Jackerman? He has a look to the inside, and he keeps on coming. Jackerman tries to close the door. The big Bentley right there behind him. Fisichella looking to try and squeeze away through as well, if he can.
Down into Vale. Have a look, Ollie. Oh, stick it down the inside, Ollie.
Now here are the leaders, and they are 3 for the lead. And Ericsson goes second up on the inside line. Job done.
No surprise about that, but the undercut, the Lamborghini's going to come back. And Ericsson dived on the inside. He had to run high on the exit of the loop. But this is our real battle. Michael Meadows has been absolutely peerless in managing to keep the Lamborghini behind him, but Jimmy Eriksson getting impatient now. You can see the reaction to being overtaken, albeit for one corner. Andrea Calderal, he's now decided, I've had enough of looking at the rear of number 90 Mercedes AMG. I need to get on with the program because I could be under threat. I've been overtaken momentarily, got it back again, but I don't need that distraction.
But 4th is Andy Soucek, and he's closing, because while these 3 are holding each other up by squabbling, or perhaps being held up by the Mercedes, discuss, Andy Soucek has got pretty much clear real estate ahead of him, so he's lapping in the 2-minute 2s quicker than the 3 ahead of him. So Bentley number 8, 4th, all of a sudden becomes a dark horse here.
Bentley number 8 started on the 14th row of the grid. I mean, it's...
Do what?
So
it
again,
shows how you can make the pit stops and the safety cars work for your advantage, doesn't it?
Exactly what Bentley have done. There is the number 4 place car. The Bentley comes into sight. An Audi behind it, and that is the 72.
So through Stowe, lap 43 they come, and Andy Soucek is closing up. We're going to have a 4-way fight for honours pretty soon as they work their way down through Vale. Number 5 Audi, Will Stevens, has been in the pits for a while, a clutch problem, we understand.
Well, that's a shame, because that was Dries van Thor started that car, so sort of really not a great day.
No, big frustration. Stuart Leonard still 9th, and he's about to be 8th, isn't he, upholding the honour of Audi, because ahead of him Lucas Stoltz will have to serve his penalty.
And Maxime Martin has made a further position up now to 6th place. So Pascal Lothoros drops down from 6th to 7th. He's had to come to the pressure from the BMW.
Now, we were sent a tweet a little while ago by Alan Prosser, who is watching the coverage, and he reckons, and we're going to try and see what Alan sees, that a wheel nut goes flying off Johnny Kane's car. Now, have a look to the right-hand side of the screen, because as they go through Beckett's, is it a wheel nut? Is it debris after the impact? Let's have a look. There's the moment of impact, and bits go flying.
No, I think that's bodywork. That's bodywork.
Is there a wheel nut in there?
No, that's bodywork, I would say. It looks like there was no wheel nut, to be honest, because that was a bit of bodywork. There's a nut there. There's the wheel nut. No, that's bodywork as well. There's something skipping and jumping and bumping. I don't know whether the wheel nut gone or whether it may still be attached. Just the rim has failed. Don't know.
Yeah.
The team undoubtedly would have a better idea when they get the car back into the garage.
But good thought, Alan. So we've had a look.
Well,
and you're right. Well, thank you for spotting the debris flying. But it was certainly an impact and certainly a big hit for Johnny Kane. But the photograph that Alan has sent is the screen grab, and he's highlighted all these little bits flying. So he was asking the question: is one of those a wheel nut? I think we've probably answered that for now.
Hopefully,
but good call.
Hopefully, it was bodywork. It had the look of bodywork.
Yeah.
A wheel nut would probably, its trajectory would have been slightly different. There's not a huge amount of energy in a piece. Oh, down the inside, he squeezes through. Michael Meadows makes the pass. He needed to do that. Jimmy Eriksson gets through as well. So now we've just got the Audi ahead. And again, look how close the Lamborghini is. Never really a possibility to pass up into Abbey, and Michael Meadows is going to have to be a bit defensive because he knows that this is a potential problem area. It's very tense indeed. Goes to the middle of the racetrack to deny the Lamborghini any opportunity. So again, Calderaldi were looking to place his car. It's where you position your car to get the best off the corner. And again, behind Jimmy Eriksson, he's thinking the same way. So these drivers are both racing close. This is going to be interesting coming down into Brooklyn. The Mercedes AMG of number 90 goes clearly to the middle of the racetrack. Audi is still there. Can the Lamborghini sweep round the outside and get track position into Luffield?
Not
Jimmy
quite.
Eriksson sits there and thinks, ooh, although at the inside. Well,
Wow. How about that? If there's no gap, make a gap.
absolutely, and I think the Bentley might have slipped through as well. I think Andy Soucek might have slipped up there. Hello, first time I've seen him smile all weekend. No, it wasn't.
Bentley still falls, but it's hunting him down. Right, so now, can Jimmy Eriksson do to Michael Meadows what Andrea Caldarelli couldn't? In other words, find a way past him.
That was always the issue that Caldarelli would have had. He was trying to get past the 90 Mercedes AMG, but he had the 84 Mercedes AMG directly behind him. And you get wrong-footed with traffic, and you're trying to find 3 cars going into Brooklands. You go one way, yeah, I've got it, and then suddenly you realise that option has been shut down, and you're being overtaken by the 84.
Mirko Bortolotti stands to have a drink of water. His car led. It's second. It's now third. I mean, it's not a mile back, is it? It's less than a second away from the leader. Soucek hunting down the 3 leading cars. Mercedes 1 and 2, but 2 different teams operate these cars. The ACA ASP car leading of Michael Meadows. Second is the HTP Motorsport car in the hands of Jimmy Eriksson, who goes to the outside line at the end of Vale. Is he going to be able to drive around the outside? No. Now, can he get up the inside coming through Club? Michael Meadows slows the pace right down. Caldarelli almost into the back of Eriksson. 3 for the lead after an hour and 40 minutes of racing. Fantastic stuff. And Andy Soucek is almost there. Here comes Caldarelli back up the inside. Has a look, pulls back in.
No way whatsoever into Abbey, but I thought there was almost contact between the lead Mercedes and the second place Mercedes. Jimmy Eriksson got so close. You can hear the brakes squealing in the Lamborghini as they break down into farm, then up into the loop. This is so a real no satisfaction corner. I don't know why, but it's a key corner to getting onto the straight through Aintree, flat out. Now, Eriksson, you've done the hard yards to get ahead of the Lamborghini. Did it very successfully indeed in Luffield corner, slipped up the inside. The door was opened up. It wasn't a mistake on the part of Caldarelli. He just opened the door. And beside him, before he could save Jimmy Eriksson, there was the 84 Mercedes AMG.
Well, the Eriksson family having a good spell at the moment. Jimmy has always been good in single-seaters and proving the point that he's still very quick in a GT car. His younger brother Joel, currently the championship leader in FIA Formula 3 European Championship races. He's had a couple of wins, one of which was here, in fact, a month ago. So the Eriksson family doing well, whether it's in a closed car or a single-seater. Out of Copse corner goes Eriksson. He's half a second back from Meadows. We're about 17 minutes away from the next round of pit stops. And Lukas Stoltz has just pitted in order to serve that stop-go penalty. Now, how is the Bentley getting on? Number 8, Andy Soucek, 2 seconds back. There is Andy Soucek, and coming onto the Hangar Straight. Look, he's almost with that leading group. Soucek is almost there, and Maxime Soulé to do the last stint. That's still a very well-placed car.
Oh, it is. I mean, Bentley have come alive, and ironically, it's the number 8 car that is in the position right now. And we know the Bentley won here 2 years ago. A great memorable day for the marque, and there was a great fight. In fact, Maxime Soulé was in a sense the star in that number 8 car on that day. Interestingly, the cars in 5th and 6th, the Ferrari in 5th and the BMW in 6th, are lapping quicker by the best part of over half a second.
Number 7 Bentley about to be tagged into a spin.
Yes, Fisichella.
Ooh. Now what happens there? Pro on pro.
Yeah, and that was probably, that was unpleasant. I think that'll be judged to be a racing incident. The Ferrari, I mean, okay, it wasn't fair and square alongside, but it was sufficiently up in my view that you have to allow a car working room.
Okay. So
but the stewards will look at it and make a judgment.
Indeed. Lukas Stoltz currently serving his 5 minutes stop-go penalty for putting number 32 in the gravel as you ride on board with the Lamborghini. Andrea Caldarelli still on the tail of Jimmy Eriksson, who's so busy defending he can't fully attack the Mercedes. And Andy Soucek 4th is almost there. There's more traffic up the road. Ahead of the leaders, there are 3 more back markers. So Michael Meadows in a moment will go, oh no, I've got to get through this lot as well as defend. He's almost on the traffic. The first back marker is Chris Harris, actually. And the 188 McLaren, he's going to have to negotiate him first of all as they go over the timing line. 46 laps in the book, 15 minutes to go really before we get to the next round of stops.
Yes, and the key to Michael Meadows is not catching, but where do I catch? And sometimes what you want to do, instead of catching somebody in a difficult part of the racetrack, is momentarily just breathe the engine a little bit earlier, don't quite brake so late as you would normally do, and focus on where your strengths are going to be and build to then achieve that. So it doesn't help to get under somebody's rear wing and then lose your momentum and hand that advantage over to your pursuers.
A flash of the lights from Michael Meadows to say, I'm the leader, get out of the way, please, give me the room. But Chris Harris has to turn into the corner eventually, so is Michael Meadows through? Not yet. So that brings the second and third place cars even closer as they drop down to the end of Vale. To the inside of the back marker goes Michael Meadows, he's gone through. Jimmy Eriksson follows suit, and Andy Soucek is almost on the back of Caldarelli now. The two Mercedes AMGs, 1 and 2, absolutely together.
Yeah, and they got through quickly and cleanly. The Lambo was very marginally compromised, but obviously Chris Harris has got to go somewhere, he just can't vanish.
And Giancarlo Fisichella, a drive-through penalty for causing that collision.
Yeah, it's a harsh judgment, but Eriksson up the outside, coming into Farm.
Can't do it there, but can he get up the inside, going into the loop? Michael Meadows fends him off. Caldarelli wants to try and dive bomb them as well if he can. Here comes Eriksson to the inside line in towards Aintree now. If he stays tight up behind, he might be able to make a move at Brooklands, but Michael Meadows also having to focus on the traffic up the road. He can't afford to be any hesitant at all with those back markers ahead of him, but equally he can't afford to commit and get himself in strife. To the outside line goes Eriksson, but look at Caldarelli up the inside. Eriksson's going to have the inside. Is he for Luffield? No, he's got to drop back in as Michael Meadows switches sides, gets through the traffic. Back marker on the outside. Caldarelli trying to buy into this as well.
Unbelievable. I mean, this is, you can't get closer motor racing. Absolutely stunning. Michael Meadows, calm under extreme pressure, and particularly that pressure from the traffic that he was having to negotiate through. Now he can momentarily catch his breath. Jimmy Eriksson's thought, oh, what have I got to do? I've done everything I can. And Caldarelli looking to find a way to regroup and get that 63 Lamborghini back to the front of the pack. 12 or so minutes before we anticipate pit stops. But remember, everybody stopped early.
Yeah.
So just thinking about fuel and how far they might be able to go. As we look at the back of the Eriksson Mercedes AMG, slight advantage coming onto the straight for the number 90. It's got it, and now it's the 84's under threat. And Andy Soucek directly and all over the shop, one side, back again, and you've still got the Lamborghini trying to get out of the way, the Pro-Am Lamborghini.
Down through Vale they go. Just to go back to John's point, they did stop early, but of course they carried on with safety car laps, so that will have
maybe
brought the pace down. It's
yeah.
offset it a bit, I would propose. Yeah, you're looking at second, third and fourth. Michael Meadows, whoa, he's got a gap for about the first time in, 40 minutes?
Yep, it's just the traffic management has worked favourably, and those pursuing have had to deal with it, and it got very messy. Coming out of Luffield, I thought we're never going to see all these three cars make it through Woodcote, but we did.
Oh, yeah, you've little faith.
Well, it gets so intense, the degree of concentration, almost you sort of explode in terms of there's only so much pressure, stress that you have got the capacity to deal with, and it's almost like you have a whiteout or something. Hard to explain the emotion that you feel, but that's where being ultra fit, not just fit, but ultra fit, pays dividends. It enables you to have that capacity, that mental capacity that you need to draw upon in those kind of situations.
And mentally fit as well. Now, Oliver Jarvis, after his spin in number 7, down in 17th place, so what was looking fairly promising, now I'm afraid he's looking a bit bleaker for number 7. So Bentley hopes are on Andy Soucek, who is almost there, creeping up onto the back of Caldarelli. So it's Christian Engelhardt who will take over the Lamborghini. It's going to be Maxime Soulet to take over the Bentley. It'll be Maxi Bouk in the 84 Mercedes and the number 90 Mercedes, Raffaele Marciello.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, Raf, yes.
So that is going to be a stellar lineup for the last stint.
Absolutely, you've got 3 great drivers going into the 3 leading cars, and I mean, hopefully, we'll not see the pit stops determining the outcome of this final hour of racing.
Katsumasa Chiyo in the Nissan is currently 12th. And this is traffic he's trying to find a way past. His next target is Andrew Watson, who is 11th. And we have warning of debris on the track at turn 2, but off the racing line. So the leading cars go by, and turning into Cops Corner, Katsumasa Chiyo, 14th he is.
The sister car, the 22 car, dropped way down to 30th position. Matthew Simmons behind the wheel of that car. I don't know why. It was at one point it was ahead of its sister 23 car.
But might all been to do with when they pitted and how the pit stops worked for them or worked against them, maybe. But there you've got Katsumasa Chiyo still pressing on to try and get himself up the order. His next target is going to be Michele Beretta, just ahead, in fact, in the red, white and blue Lamborghini. There, Andrew Watson in the McLaren running 11th, tries to make a move up on the inside. One of the McLarens that's lost out pretty badly in all of this, seemingly, is 58, which has gone way, way down the order. The Ron Balcombe, Ledegar and Van Barnicoat car.
So Andrew Watson did have a look into Stowe, but being on the inside, you have to back out of it a little bit earlier. And Jackman in the Lamborghini wouldn't be prepared to give that up particularly easily. So this group of cars, this is the 10th battle through to 15th. And it is no less intense than the battle we've been watching, pretty much fixated to, for the top position with the second and third places. Almost swapping by the lap, if not sometimes by the corner. So the McLaren, Andrew Watson comes out behind the Lamborghini. Lamborghini maybe a little bit more initial squirt. McLaren, still a great race car, but they never really found the sweet spot, and saying they can't quite get the sweet spot of the tire to work in their favour, particularly in qualifying when it is so important to gain the advantage of that new tire to get your grid position. They were out of position, like many teams were this weekend.
This is the fight for 10th then. 10th is Jackman in the orange Lamborghini. 11th is Andrew Watson. 12th, it is Raffaele Giammaria. And then 13th behind, as they work their way over the line, is Michele Beretta. 14th, Katsumasa Chiyo. So all in a line there, turning into Copse Corner. This is a genuine battle pack for position. And we are looking at about 8 more minutes before cars head for the pit lane. Now there's another incident under investigation. It is between Audi number 3 and Ferrari 53. Number 3 has at the wheel Nicky Mar Malmhoff, and 53, I need to try and find him.
Where's
it is Louis Machiels,
yeah,
in 39th place. Right, you're riding on board with Alex Bunker, no, you're not, Katsumasa Chiyo, forgive me, in the Nissan, and he's going to get up the inside of Michele Beretta in the Lamborghini. The Nissan's going to go through there.
Was that
one
a touch
place gained.
It looked like a minor touch between the McLaren and the Lamborghini.
Possibly so. Side by side out of Stowe they come. You're on board the Nissan, but the Lamborghini gets back up on the inside line there to the outside. There's traffic around them as well. Chiyo can't find a way past the Ombra Racing Lamborghini, which in turn tries to get up alongside the GRT car. So bear in mind, we've been racing for nearly 2 hours. This is for 10th place. This is fantastic stuff. There's no success ballast, there's no DRS, there's nothing like that. It's just pure racing, and what a fight it is turning out to be. Gustavo Jackman, sponge-like, soaking up the pressure. He's still 10th with the Northern Irish driver Andrew Watson right on his tail. Then it's Raffaele Giammaria, the man that won the first ever Blancpain endurance race for Porsche at Monza. Behind him is Michele Beretta, who was reloaded here in his quest to try and gain ground and fend off 14th place Katsumasa Chiyo. And now it's time for Christian Engelhardt to get ready to take over 63.
Yep. Well, it says on the lid, you're going to watch motor racing. This is motor racing. I mean, you can't get any more, in terms of, and Maxi Book just walking out of the HTP garage as well, you can't get any closer. We've had battles like this all the way from the front to the middle to the back. And we're just focusing on this one now for outside of the top 10 down to 15. And Andrew Watson looks to make a move, coming down pit straight. Hasn't got the speed where it counts. Has to draw back in again, get in behind the Lamborghini to get the optimum entry point into Copse Corner. And further back the 19, Giammaria Lamborghini sitting again, just holding station, watching his younger compatriots, contemporaries.
Now that is Stuart Leonard in, and he will give way to Jake Dennis. So that's the first of the next routine stops. And interestingly, 55 has not yet, I don't think, served that drive-through penalty, has he? Giancarlo Fisichello's penalty is still shown on the screen. Anyway, we look at 10th, and down towards Stowe Corner, Jackman fending off Watson, who's now got Giammaria tucked up behind him once again. There are the leaders. Michael Meadows hanging on to the advantage. Jimmy Eriksson behind him. This is going to be an amazing last stint, isn't it? We've got 4 cars still, all with the chance of winning the race. 5th, Miguel Molina is getting in touch as well, look, because he, in the background, is creeping into the mix. So make it a 5-way fight with just over an hour to go.
So who will be first in? I suspect it's the 63, because Christian Engelhardt looks like he is ready. Is the Lamborghini peeling off? They all peel off. All 3 leaders into the pits at the same time.
Or 5 leaders.
Oh, 5, of course.
In they come. So there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait for the Ferrari. 5. That is the battle. That's the race. So we'll see now in what order they leave, because if the order shuffles, you know that somebody has either made a bad pit stop or somebody has been under on the regulation time.
Andrea Calderati detaching all the cables, the radio, whatever else. He takes the seat insert out. He's slightly shorter than Mirko Bortolotti or Christian Engelhardt. So the Mercedes 84 comes up to its stop, and Jimmy Eriksson, who's had a great stint behind the wheel, he will get out. As you look at Engelhardt getting attached to the various, to the radio, and sometimes they have a drinks bottle, they've got other attachments in the car.
So this will put into the lead of the race now the number 42 Alvaro Parent McLaren, but only because he's yet to stop. It's not there on pure pace with respect. Passin Lathouris has come in as well, as has Maxime Martin. So 7 out of the top 8 in the pits. Gustavo Jackermann will be in as well, so he bails out of that 10th placed fight. Now, GRT, you're looking at, have to be careful when they release the Lamborghini, but go, go, go is the indication.
So he's rolling. Now the Mercedes getting its right side wheels fitted, the Lamborghini rolling down the pits, but they can't release it because 2 more cars are coming down. The Lamborghini is behind. Still, is it coming down? That's the Lamborghini now, and they're delaying it. Let it go. Oh, they've got to go. So the Mercedes 90 is behind the Lamborghini, and the 84 will be behind the 90.
So Lamborghini gets the lead on the pit stops. It came in third, and it's now leading.
That was key. They had to find a way. They couldn't. Is he adjusting the steering column? As he was moving, I wonder if it was an adjustable fore and aft steering column on the Lamborghini. It looked like he was actually adjusting it to bring it further forward.
So Christian Engelhardt in 63 leads. Raffaele Marciello is behind. So was that because it was a slow pit stop from ACA ASP, or was it slightly too quick from the GRT team? Well, the pit stop times will be analysed, and if it was under the regulation times, then a penalty will come. We'll wait and see if that pans out in a negative way for GRT. Now, what's happening behind Michael Meadows? It is in third place now, Maxi Buch. So third in and first out, number 63 Lamborghini. Where is the Bentley out of all of this? It's dropped a long way back, and it's lost a place, I think, as well. Is it 72
behind
ahead?
The Ferrari, we think.
So it looks like
the lead Lamborghini slides through some of the lap traffic.
Davide Rigon 4th, Maxime Soulet 5th. Yes, we've had that change. So the Mercedes, we understand.
So this is the 84 Mercedes.
Yes, was a stop of 1 minute and 26.
24.
The maximum time was 1 minute and 24.
Yeah.
So it was 2 seconds slower. So it was 1 minute and 26.
Yeah.
So those extra 2 seconds delayed it. But what about number 90? Because that has also been bugged. So it looks at the moment, on the evidence that we have, that it was a very good stop from GRT rather than it being under the regulation time. So there, look. That's where a couple of seconds are lost.
Yes. So he's waiting. But then he goes.
Yeah.
And of course that then is the reason why, and he's got 59 and again is the McLaren, which is a car that Maximilian Buch wants to get around at the quickest time. He's going into the pits anyway, so he's cleared it. But any time you lose behind a car, you can see there's more clear air between the first and second and third cars than probably at any point, almost in the last hour. As the pit lane gets very busy, as the field from further down the top 10, the top 20 makes their way in. So the 19 Lamborghini left side tires come off. So the gunman pulls the wheel off, the additional one puts them on. Run the car off the jacks, but look, you're going to have to push the car back, and he's stalled. Can he get clear or not? No, they should have pushed the car back in the first place. They shouldn't have let it roll forward. Now he's rolling, and that is one of the issues, one of the difficulties with such a large field, is that there's no pit lane big enough in the world to get everybody in with space around to work, so that's why you have to talk to your neighbours. There is the McLaren. So that was the car that Lamborghini, you can see the right rear bodywork is well and truly chewed away. I don't know what would have done that, whether that was contact or... I don't think that car had a tyre problem that would have shredded the rear of the car, but clearly part of it is just another ka-ching for the spares department at McLaren Automotive.
I've just been looking at pit stop times. The time that you have to hit is 1 minute and 24 seconds in the pit lane. That was achieved by number 63 at 1 minute 24. It was 1 minute 26 for number 84, as we'd seen, and it was 1 minute 27 for number 90. So that explains why the Mercedes have dropped back. They were slightly slower on the release than was the Lamborghini.
Yeah, the Lamborghini had almost the first pit box as you come in, so they were able to get in, lined up, and they didn't have anybody ahead of them, so they were able to do their work, and they did it really, really efficiently, as they have done really since the start of the season. The 63 car has been the winningest car this part of the season to date, either in sprint or in endurance.
So what we now have is a fight to the flag between Christian Engelhardt and the Lamborghini and Raffaele Marciello. As you see, the Nissan is in for Alex Buncombe to take over number 23, and then behind Marciello is Maxi Buch, behind him is Davide Rigon, and then Maxime Soule. So it's the 5 cars we had before the last pit stop in a shuffled order.
You get a really good indication of just what's involved in these pit stops. Choreographing it to ensure that and then on the right hand side has got to go on. Same principle, less room to work because you're closer to the, watch this, look at this.
Right,
shuffling going on back and forward.
Yeah, the Aston Martin has got Johnny Adam behind the wheel, so get ready to be amazed. But he's got work to do, Johnny, this time. He's 3rd in class, but let's see what he can do. In fact, he might already have got 2nd. Let me just double check what's behind him now, because yes, he's ahead there of 87, so the Aston Martin is 2nd. He's just got past the 87 Mercedes, which has now got Nico Bastian at the wheel. So there, Johnny Adam up to 2nd in Pro-Am, and he's got 58 minutes to try and catch now number 67 with Clément Mathieu at the wheel, the Attempto Lamborghini. You ready?
No, I mean, all I'm doing is thinking back to Monza when Johnny Adam got behind the wheel of that Aston Martin there, the 55 Ferrari, which had to suffer a penalty for the contact with Oliver Jarvis's number 7 Bentley a little earlier.
And that car now is down in 16th place, number 7 Bentley. Stephen Kane has got behind the wheel of it, so that's also going to be one to watch. So the race leaders currently are on lap number 54. More serve their next regulation stop. You have to make 2 pit stops in a 3-hour race like this. It's in the regulations, but you'd have to anyway for fuel.
Interestingly, the 88 car, the pole-sitting car, which then got the penalty, not because of Daniel Juncadella, but Juncadella's in the car currently as it comes into the pit lane, up to 2nd place. But of course, once the pit stops cycle through, it'll be further down the field. Disappointment for the 88 car, which Juncadella particularly was expecting great results from.
Indeed so, as the leaders then are currently on, as I say, lap 54. Now with some peeling off, it gives the lead back to Christian Engelhardt, and he is now 4/10 of a second ahead of Raffaele Marciello. Maxi Buch is a further 2 seconds back. And Maxi Buch's last lap quicker than the 2 ahead of him, so it's concertinaing up again. Number 50 Ferrari, Michele Rugolo at the wheel, is now where in the pack? 7th, if you take those that have pitted out of the way.
I take the, yes.
So
7th yes.
of those that have made their final pit stop.
Yeah.
Right, there's your leader in the green Lamborghini. That is Christian Engelhardt. Behind him, Raffaele Marciello. 88 has pitted then, so Danny Juncadella into the pit lane. Another of the quick ACCA ASP cars blasts away. It's good to see ACCA ASP now fighting for overall wins, not just class wins, isn't
Absolutely. I mean, it just indicates just the strength that Mercedes-AMG have with this car, that they've got 2 separate teams. Effectively, they're both quasi-factory teams, but they're both running and capable of competing against each other. The Mercedes-AMG has turned out to be one of those really outstanding, what I would call turnkey GT3 cars.
Go along with that.
You go along and buy it the factory, or maybe you can buy it through your local dealer, and get the spares package that goes along with it, and hey ho, you can go motor racing.
Absolutely. Now Davide Rigon there tries to get up the inside of the traffic. Treble 7, Mike Sturzberg at the wheel of it. Experienced VLN racer. We used to see Mike in the Haribo Porsche, if you remember, many years ago. Especially around the Nordschleife. Good to see him at Silverstone for a change, as the leading gap, I reckon he's opening up a little bit now. Engelhardt's getting away, isn't he, from Raffaele Marciello?
It'll not come easy to the 80 or the 90 Mercedes, if that's going to be the case. Marciello is a very feisty racer. As we see the 8 Bentley with Maxime Soule behind the wheel. So making up some time with the back runner, because there's the lead car, the 2nd place car. 3rd is actually just about to overtake the Ferrari, but can't get it done. Maximilian Buch. You can hardly see him, he's so small, sits so low in the car. but he will get up alongside and will take. Well, he didn't. I thought he was going to take the position away, and he'll be frustrated by that because he does not want to lose contact. If he lets the 90 Mercedes AMG get 3 or 4 seconds, it's going to be slightly more difficult to get back into contact, such as the closeness of these cars.
Now, number 90 Mercedes second. It was a great middle stint done by Michael Meadows in that car. Let's hear from him.
Now, Michael, unfortunately, the Lamborghini has overtaken you, but let's talk about that defending. You had some mega over-defending.
Yeah, it was tough. About halfway through, I was struggling with the tyres, and but it's Silverstone and I'm at home, so I wanted to at least give the car over in the lead. And but I don't think we really have the ultimate pace of the Lamborghini, so we had to be a bit robust. And especially when we got in traffic, it was difficult because once I was offline, I couldn't be quick where I needed to be. I was a bit of a sitting duck on the straights.
Now, Raffaele's in the car now. Do you think he can catch up?
I hope so. We've given him the best chance. We saved the new tyres for him and everything. So hopefully he can go out there and, hopefully he can get the win. But if not, it would be nice if we can get on the podium at my home race. Hopefully he'll do me a favour.
Good luck. Thank you.
I'll certainly during the course of his stint, but it is good to see Michael Meadows reminding people of his ability by fighting for outright wins.
Yes, and he had to drive what I would call an intelligent stint because he was always under threat. He didn't drive aggressively defensively. He used what he had to his maximum strengths, and it was a tough stint. You could see, looking at his face, the depth of concentration that he's been required to invest in. He's tired. Mentally, he's tired.
So now the pressure is on Maxi Bug, but he's not catching, is he, for the moment? He has dropped back a little bit on this lap, I fear, for Raffaele Marciello. We'll see what the gaps are. But 84 Mercedes, winning car here last year, is 2.5 seconds back. That was a slow lap. That was a 2 minutes 3. Where's the traffic that would have impeded him?
He's just got to let him settle down. He's not really, when he began this stint, he was always going to have to battle through some of the back markers. Now he's got, relatively speaking, clear air, and not a great prospect of catching up to any large group of cars that will be lapped. So maybe he can, but it's going to be tough because the 90 driven by Raffaele Marciello is a strong competitor, and he's shown that pretty much since the start of the year. Certainly I was impressed with his feistiness in Misano when he passed Dominic Baumann in the second of the sprint races, I think it was, on the Sunday.
A little while ago we talked about 85 Mercedes having a drive-through for taking its earlier drive-through when the safety car was out. Well, it's now been given another drive-through for going through a red light at pit out. The team manager of number 333 Ferrari, the Salikov, Matchell, Kylvitz Ferrari, is now being summoned to see the race director, and there is a drive-through penalty for number 86, which is the Hunter Abbott, Mike Skeen, Damien Faulkner Mercedes for causing a collision.
Oh, well, there's been so much action on track, we haven't had a chance to catch up with a lot of these incidents. There is the second place Mercedes AMG coming out of the loop, and Max Buch he's not, in my terms, making progress. The gap looks to be pretty static around that 2+ seconds between second and third. Whether the 90 Mercedes, as we heard from Michael Meadows, it doesn't have maybe the straight line performance, but it's a pretty effective race car, and of course it will maybe come down to the final where you catch the traffic. Well, Raffaele Marciello do the single-seater thing and be ultra aggressive, or they don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Marciello's last lap is a personal best, so he's brought the gap down to 1.4 seconds. That is the Attempto Lamborghini 66 at the end of Vale. So that car is now in 20th place. Marco Mappelli at the wheel. Marco, who has the fastest lap round the Nordschleife in a road car, a road-going Lamborghini. There is the Pro-Am leader. Now that is Patrick Kujala. He leads Pro-Am, and guess who's second in Pro-Am? It is Johnny Adam. So Kujala to Mappelli, 8 seconds. Mappelli to the next car is a further 4, and then it's 2 back to Johnny Adam. So he's got to make up round about, let's say, 12 seconds.
Well, he's got 50 minutes in which to do it, and what we saw at Monza was remarkable. One of those special events when a driver really outperforms his equipment, and whether that's going to be available to him today or not, different situation. Circuit strengths plays to that of the Aston, plays to that of the. So there is the Aston Martin, third of those 3 cars coming down the Wellington Straight. You can see the 02 on the top right-hand part of his windscreen indicating second in category. That's the Pro-Am category.
Trouble is, here he's chasing Patrick Kuyler, who is very quick as well, and they're both doing lap times in the 2-minute 2s. And also, bad news for Jonny Adam, he's stuck in traffic. You're on board with him now, the TF Sport Run car, Tom Ferrier's team. Jonny Adam, Aston Martin factory driver. He's got this programme, WEC, British GT. He's a busy boy.
Been doing 202s. In fact, there are a number of cars doing 202s in that 22nd position down to where Jonny Adams is. So they're running actually at the pace of the leading group of cars. Right. It's the bit from 10th down to about 20th that are outside of the pace of it's interesting just to read what's going on. We're not seeing it. There's the Aston Martin just going through the picture, followed by the 87, which of course is not in this particular race. It's a group of racing.
So Jonny Adam hunting down the traffic at the moment. The next target for him in terms of gaining a place is going to be number 59, Dean Stoneman, who is 21st. You'll see the orange McLaren head down through Vale in a moment, as there it is. The Aston Martin closes. Jonathan Hershey, meantime, has just gained a place. He's up to 14th in number 114, Emil Frey Jaguar. And there, number 97 accelerating its way, the Aston Martin out of Club Corner, but even with 48 minutes to go, it's going to be tough for Jonny Adam, yes, because Patrick Kuyler is a very quick driver as well.
But what he's got to watch is the 87 directly behind him, Nicky Bessian. So that will be something that he'll have to keep one eye on the mirror, because as he will come into traffic, he doesn't want to find himself getting wrong-footed. And you know, the pace of the Mercedes AMG in general today has been very strong indeed, all the way through Pro-Am and Am. But it's the Lamborghini that has the advantage over the second place 19 Mercedes AMG. It's less than a second, that gap, so this is not a done deal by any means.
So Nico Bastien, the German driver, turns his way out of Brooklands, and he's staying on the back of Jonny Adam here. And this is the other thing that Jonny doesn't really want to have to do, and that's start defending. He wants to concentrate on what's ahead. He doesn't want to have to start defending, but the Mercedes, which is a good car around here, giving energetic chase. It's Lamborghini, Aston Martin, and then Mercedes 1, 2, 3 in Pro-Am as they work their way now into Copse Corner. And Nico Bastien, he's creeping back up onto the tail of Jonny Adam.
Yeah, he was about a tenth or so of a second quicker on the last lap. So he's just bit by bit drawing himself up to the rear wing of the Aston Martin. And of course, Jonny Adam, 22nd position, looking forward to the Lamborghini 77 in 19th position, so there are 8 seconds, about 16 or so seconds behind the lead Pro-Am car.
The overall lead battle has just crept up again, but there is traffic to have to factor into all of this. Maxi Bouc, though, is being caught for his third place by Davide Rigon now. What are we looking at for the chances of number 19 Lamborghini? Well, it is now Norbert Siegler at the wheel of it, and behind, look, it is number 14 Albert Costa. So this is the fight for 16th and 17th places, both for big cats in the top 20.
Yeah, and they got Hirschman in 14th position, so Jaguar Emil Frey Racing happy to have a strong performance, and even showing its nose coming down into Brooklands, and you can't get closer than that, and squeezes his way through.
That's the position. That's 13th for Hershey.
Yeah, it doesn't run the Lamborghini off the track, gives it sufficient room, and that is a good clean overtake by Jonathan Hirschman.
So up one place goes Jonathan Hershey. Now, without looking, John, who has done the fastest of anybody in the first sector?
Don't tell me 911.
No, Matt Parry in the Nissan, who was down in 29th place. But Matt Parry was one of our little heroes at Monza. First time out in a GT car, and did a stonking job. Well, he's unlocked something in the Nissan. OK, he's a long way down, and it's only one sector, but Matt Parry on his toes, and he could be one to watch to gain a few places before the very end of the race, as there, number 14, Albert Costa, tries to get himself onto terms with Norbert Siegler.
We never really found out what happened to the 22 car. Why did it fall so far down the order? It was certainly comfortably inside the top 12, top 15 in the opening hour. There's a battle further down with the second of the Jaguars trying to find its way past. And can it go the long way around the outside? Not ideal, because the track comes back, so you've got to check and get in behind. But under brakes, you can see the Jaguar really moving around, trying to avoid running into the back of the 19 Lamborghini.
Alex Buncombe is about to get a drive-through penalty, a driving stint infringement. So I'm assuming Katsumasachio stayed in for a bit too long, and there's a drive-through penalty for number 333, the Kalvitz, Salikov, Matchell Ferrari for an unsafe release.
Yeah, it's down in 31st place at the minute, so maybe a little bit academic and certainly out of the podiums for the Pro-Ams, as we see the Jaguar looking to come the long way around the 19 Lamborghini. Can't really get it done at farm, but going to squeeze up the inside into the loop. He's forced it through. So again, in relative terms, a fairly easy overtake on the 19 Lamborghini. So Jaguar, one more position.
Laurens Frey looking on, pretty happy with all of this as the two Jaguars, again, showing reliability. Okay, they're not the fastest cars on the track, but haven't they moved on a pace over the last few years? From quite often you'd see them in the bronze test and never again, because there'd be a mechanical problem and that would be the end, but they have really moved the game forward. Michele Beretta then, heading up towards the line. Sorry, it is now Stefano Gattuso having replaced Michele Beretta in number 12, ahead of Fabrizio Crestani in the orange Lamborghini. And the Lamborghinis have kind of taken over from where the Audi R8s were, haven't they? As the go-to, you can argue, yes, it's an Audi R8 under a different name, I know, but they have become very popular and easy for private teams to run.
Yes, I mean, it is both within the Super Trofeo, which is the one-make formula that is so successful on a global basis, but in GT racing in general. And as I said, I think in one of the broadcasts earlier this weekend, maybe this is where the R8 V10 will ultimately become a mirror of the Lamborghini Huracan. Certainly the Audi's not having a good weekend here at all. In fact, looking further down the field, Maxime Soulet in 5th place. The 72 Ferrari of David Rigon has got through, and so that was the Bentley at one point in 4th, now down to 5th.
The race leader is still Christian Engelhardt. We're on lap 61 and we've got 43 minutes of the race to go. He leads by only 7/10. The lead gap has come down again against Raffaele Marciello. Maxi Bukki's a further 9/10 back, so 2.5 seconds are covering the leading 4 at the moment. There is Norbert Siedler, 17th as he turns his way through. Pro-Am is still Patrick Kujala. AM's still being headed by Pierre Arret from Jack Driver, and then Henry Valkenhorst is third of the AMs at the moment. So that's the leader, and look how close it is behind.
Well, this is about the quietest period we've seen in this already, just under 2.5 hours of motor racing at Silverstone.
What's happened to Maxime Soulet? Because he has dropped a whole heap of time, hasn't he?
He dropped back, he's dropped out of 4th place. The Ferrari 72 of David Rigon's got through. He's losing quite a lot of time. The last lap was about half a second, 3/4 of a second, but in 2 laps it's gone from just over 5 seconds to just 7 seconds. So this 8 Bentley clearly has lost pace in relation to the cars that it was battling with before the final round of pit stops occurred. So the 63 Lamborghini wants to get through coming into Abbey. It's going to be tight. But the 888 decides it's the 488, I beg your pardon. So again, look at now. How close are you going to get? Traffic is the cause.
So 3 for the lead at Village.
Yep.
Back marker Pierre Arret trying to keep out of the way. Christian Engelhardt still there. Davide Rigon is almost with them as well. Fantastic stuff, isn't it? As the leading 3 plus a back marker plus 4th now blast onto Wellington Straight. Here comes Rigon.
And we're sort of giving up on Maximilian Buch in 3rd place, but there he is, right back. Can't get any closer to 2nd place than he is.
Turning their way now round Brooklyn, so Raffaele Marciello has to start defending, and as he does defend, so that gives Engelhardt the chance to break away, but they're having to work for this, unlike Monza where it was a pretty comfortable run for GRT Grasser Racing Team. Now the fight's on for 2nd and 3rd. The 2 Mercedes boom past the pits. Davide Rigon 4th there, inching up onto the back of them as well. Buch thinks about the inside line, and Marciello dissuades him from that idea.
He ain't going to be a walk in the park to overtake.
No,
not by
never.
Sister car. And in the course of doing that, now driving in a defensive mode rather than an attack mode, that's going to give Christian Engelhardt all the clear air, takes the pressure off him. All he needs to do is just continue what he's done since he got behind the wheel of the 63, went back out after the round of pit stops, effectively took the lead. So the battle 2nd and 3rd, but it's the 4th place Ferrari that really is going to be the one that I think everybody's going to have to keep their eye on, because David Rigon has got momentum. He's been quick, his last lap beginning to sort of be checked by the pace of the two Mercedes AMGs directly ahead, and the gap between first and second on that lap was just a fraction under a second between the Lamborghini and the 90 Mercedes AMG.
So what can Buch do here about the second place Mercedes as they work their way now past the wing? It's still Engelhardt leading the way. It was 9/10 at the start of the lap. Davide Rigon there, fourth, closing in the SMP Racing entered Ferrari. Got those two Mercedes ahead of him, and of course Lamborghini leading the way. Maxime Soulet is still fifth, but having lost a huge amount of time, and it's Alexander Sims sixth, seventh Michele Rugolo in eighth place now. It's the number 42 Lewis Williamson driven McLaren. Ninth is Jake Dennis upholding Audi honour, and Stephen Kane is back into the top 10.
Yeah, well, Stephen Kane, we know when he gets into a car he'll deliver ultimate performance, maximum performance. Sister car Maxime Soulet has actually just given us his fastest first sector time on lap 63, so the number 8 Bentley, which has fallen away from the 72 Ferrari of Davide Rigon, he's not giving up. He's 7.2 seconds behind. Personal best in first sector, you can't do an awful lot better than that.
Through go the race leaders, the gap up again, 11/10 effectively between Engelhardt and Marchiello. Buch is next, but Davide Rigon is getting there, isn't he? He's just chipping away, lap by lap by lap by lap, and he's almost up with Buch. This is lap 64, 38 minutes and change still to run. Maxime Soulet fifth, and he has kind of responded, because on his last lap, Maxime Soulet, he did his personal best in the first sector.
Yeah, he's begun to pick up a little bit of pace. We don't know why, because sometimes when you make a driver change, you put on another set of tyres, the tyre, there's always a marginal amount of variation between sets, and some drivers are more sensitive to that than others, and if you don't feel what your body wants to feel compared to when the last time you were in the car, which may well have been this morning in qualification, again when ambient and track temperature is totally different.
Now Johnny Addo is still hard at work. He's second in Pro-Am, but is he going to be able to repeat that Monza victory? He's going to do his best, he can guarantee that. What are the thoughts of his co-driver, Ahmed Al-Harfi?
I'm currently running in P2 in Pro-Am, but you're catching. Do you think you can repeat the victory you had in Monza?
To be honest, coming out of the car and us being in P2 is great by the team. It was extremely difficult in our session, and it's a long race, 37 minutes to go, and anything can happen. We've seen it in the past, and Johnny is doing a really good job at the moment.
Well, let's see how you go. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Well, Johnny on board with him coming through Woodcote, but he's got the 87 Mercedes literally glued to the rear of the Aston Martin in 22nd place, just 0.6 of a second the difference between those two cars battling for the top 3 honours in Pro-Am. As we go back to the battle at the front, there is the 4th place Ferrari, Davide Rigon. There's the lead Lamborghini, there's the 2nd place Mercedes AMG, 3rd place AMG Mercedes, and there we go, the 4th place Ferrari, covered in total by 2.3 seconds. I mean, the difference is really, you get an awful lot closer. You just hope that at some point there's going to be probably a bit of traffic that might work favourably, might work for your advantage, but any one of the 3 cars following the lead 63 Lamborghini is going to be sort of trying to roll that dice whenever the opportunities arise, and they go back up into Beckett. Lamborghini, Mercedes AMG, the Ferrari 488. Amazing. All these cars completely different in concept and manufacture and design, balance of performance, producing. I mean, it's amazing the equality that we've now got with this BOP, enabling us to see different brands fighting for the top 3 places.
So lap 65, and it remains the Lamborghini up front. About a second and a half now is the margin that Engelhardt has over Raffaele Marchiello. And because Raf is having to defend, so that gap is going to increase, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So that's going to be the name of the game. And for Engelhardt, he is going to be sitting 1.5 seconds now, and that's gone up in the last lap. It was 0.9 of a second, so he's benefited by 0.6. His last lap was, well, just over half a second quicker than the 2nd place 90 Mercedes AMG. There we see Maximilian Buch bouncing his way through Farm Corner up into the loop. So top 4 cars, as they came across the line at the end of the last lap, was 2.7 seconds. It's probably going to be much the same, but Christian Engelhardt does have that benefit of being the lead car and not having to concern himself with anybody behind, pressurizing him, and nice situation to be in. He can pick and choose the part of racetrack he wants to place the Lamborghini Huracan in, and believe me, that makes a difference. And the interference that the second, third and fourth, the aerodynamics of these cars does have it's a small effect, but it's a frustrating effect because you won't maybe have quite the initial bite and turn in that you would like, and you're having to just hesitate because you're not quite sure if the grip is going to be with you when you make that turn.
Now Engelhardt creeping away, isn't he? We're almost into the last half an hour, and what was 10th has become 1.8. Black flag to number 33, Alexander Matschel, for not respecting the drive-through penalty. So 333 is going to be given a black flag. And so, remember we mentioned a while ago it was an unsafe release. It was on the screen for a number of laps, and Alexander Matschel did not take it. So it's going to be black flag. It's not exclusion. The black flag means come in, driver go and talk to the race director. It's up to Alain Adom to see whether he feels he can let him back into the race. But there is the guilty party.
Yeah, and in effect you're going to lose minimum 2, maybe 3, possibly 4 laps, depending where your car is in the pit lane before you get down to where the race director's office is, as we go back on board the 333 car, pulling well over and letting other traffic go through. He knows, in effect, that the penalty has spelt the end of any opportunity for that car to, currently it was in 30th position, but was well outside the top 3 in terms of the Pro-Am category, and just simply just getting out of the way.
Whereas the other car from Rinaldi is still leading the AM category. There it is, Pierre Arret in 29th now. Gradually the car has fallen back a little, not surprising given how many other fast Pro-Am combinations there are, but Pierre Arret is after a class win, and the self-effacing German driver was saying, wasn't he, that it's quick when Rino Mastronardi is behind the wheel, it's not as quick when I'm driving it, but he's well clear in the class ahead of Jack Dwyver. In fact, he's got a lap up on him, so as long as the engine holds together, unlike a Monza, Pierre Arret should be on for a class win.
Yeah, and he's got clear road ahead. He can just choose the part of racetrack he wants to drive on. He's got other cars coming up behind who are going to put him a lap down as well. So as long as he makes good use of those nice fluorescent mirrors on the 488 Ferrari, and of course the mirror internal, but which is not great rearward vision. You've got to look over the engine bay and try and look under or over the wing, mostly under the wing. But just being aware of what's going on around you, and knowing which cars you've got to compete with and other cars which you can let go. You don't need to get involved. You don't need to race every car that's on the racetrack. It's not in your race. There's the 333 coming into the pit lane.
And so he was black flagged, so he comes into the pit lane. Are there any officials to greet him?
No, he has to go to his garage, stop,
and then walk back.
Walk back. He can run if he wants. There's no regulation saying that unless he exceeds the 50-kilometre pit lane speed limit by running, which I think is probably unlikely. Go up, see the peak, get referred to the steward. Sorry.
And that's Albert Costa making a move for a place, and he's about to gain it, I think, because that gives him 14th ahead of Fabrizio Crestani coming out of Luffield. So another of the big cats making progress forward. We've seen Jonathan Hershey get up to 12, and now Costa is up to 14th as they head over the line.
Yep, good clean pass in Luffield. So once you've done all your, go up and get told off for what you did or didn't do, and then get back, you might decide, well, what's the point? Because you will have lost certainly 4 laps, if not more.
19 Norbert Siedler in the second of the GRT Lamborghinis, running in 16th spot. Of course, that car a long way down on the opening stint when Companc was driving it, but has made progress in the second and third parts of the race. As down towards Stoke Corner comes Stefano Gattuso in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini. I think I'm right in saying this is about the most solid run we've seen out of the Ombra Lamborghini. But bit by bit, the team has learnt and improved and made progress. And there it is, running in that leading gaggle. Under pressure, though, from the hard-charging Albert Costa behind, the Spanish driver, former Formula Renault Eurocup champion. Indeed, he was on the podium presenting trophies to the latest intake of Formula Renault drivers earlier on in the day. He comes out of Club Corner. Behind him, Fabrizio Crestani under attack from Norbert Siedler.
Yeah, runs very wide on the exit of Club Corner. Just keeping an eye on the number 8 Bentley, currently in 5th place. Still dropping back on the 4th place Ferrari, but still recording, for some reason, Sector 1, personal best time yet again for Maxime Soulet, but the lap time 2:03, well, it's in the ballpark with those that are around him, but the reality is hasn't got the out-and-out pace of the top 4.
Out of Aintree then comes Stefano Gattuso. Albert Costa is behind him. He's close enough to make a move at Brooklands. The Jaguar almost hidden. Does he commit to the inside? He thinks about it, but is there a gap? There's half a gap, but even if he takes it now, he's going to be on the outside for Luffield. So he needs the switchback, doesn't he, from the outside to the inside as they work their way through Luffield. But Stefano Gattuso hangs onto the place.
Yes, and couldn't get the nose of the Jaguar inside the Lamborghini at the critical part of the corner, but still very good exit. Still thinks about maybe having a look down the inside, thinks the better of it, decides to pull back in. Make your corner, get through Copse quickly and cleanly. Difficult to see how you would ever think of doing anything up into Beckett's. It's such a quick entry in here, and then the switched turn right, carrying so much speed, then a loss of speed back to the left, then the slowest part of that 3-corner complex. The exit, which then leads into Chapel Curve, and then back on. Then great, let's bring up the sandwiches, boys, having a lovely time. Stefano Otelli enjoying his motor racing. Yes, love it, Stefan.
Christian Kleen looking on as well. We've got 1 or 2 little spots of rain on our window, but I don't think that's going to come to anything, as there you see Gattuso turning into Stowe, still with Albert Costa right up behind him.
Why not a little spot of rain? They've had everything else.
True.
So if you want to really throw the dice and add confusion to a great motor race, 2.5 hours, this has been pretty much non-stop. We'd be unkind, really, but, as they say in the advertisement, one more take. Yes, let's do it.
That's right. Well, we did have rain at 2 or 3 corners in an earlier Lamborghini race this morning, but as the race leaders are on lap 69, the lead gaps come down a bit, down to 1.3 seconds. And on the last lap, Raffaele Marciello did a personal best in the first sector, as there Costa gets stuck in traffic a little bit, so Gattuso fends him off on the inside line. Crestani is keeping Seidler at bay. Albert Costa tries the inside line, needs to force the Lamborghini wide.
Got it, but he hasn't got the drive off the corner. He's a more acute exit, and you tend to spin up a wheel or certainly get into the traction control, depending how you've dialed that in. So again, looks to make a move down into Luffield, but covered by the Lamborghini. But this time, side by side, he's got the nose of the Jaguar in front. But can the Lamborghini run alongside as we cut back into the middle? And he's done it. And he's not only done it, he's made it stick. And that's what he's been trying to do. Look at the joy within the Jaguar garage. So clear. So one more position up to 13th place.
Race leaders then on to lap 69 now, and Alexander Sims hunting down Maxime Soulé. Albert Costa then up into 13th, and now that the Jaguars are going strongly, there's a very happy Lorenz Fry watching all of this in the pit lane. He's with Dakota.
Well, Lorenz, both of the Jaguars are looking very strong at Silverstone, and that's really good. All British.
Yeah, it's definitely good. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring out the performance at the beginning of the restart of the safety car period. My tire pressures in the front were definitely not there, so I lost a bit of position. At the end now, the cars are running near top 10. I really hope we will cross in the points the finish line. So we will see. We are now really crossing our fingers that we can bring some home, back home some points from Silverstone.
Good luck, thank you.
So the two Jaguars, 12th and 13th now, with Jonathan Hershey ahead of Albert Costa. We also have a report that Norbert Seidler has had a spin and rejoined. Remember, he was at the back of that little group behind Crestani, but he's had a spin and rejoined from turn 13. That's where he had the off.
Yeah, that's probably around the farm loop part of the racetrack, lower speed. As we see the 55 Ferrari, the car that got penalised for contact with Oliver Jarvis earlier in the session. James Collado behind the wheel, lapping the middle 2-3s, but down in 24th, so the disappointment for the 55, a car that again was always one that you had to put into the mix of being a potential podium, certainly top 10 finisher, but any penalty, and James Collado weaving around again, is that because he hasn't got what he wants from the temperature from his tyres, or something else we weren't aware of? And we're back to this leading group now. Once again, the lead, Christian Engelhard enjoyed evaporating with traffic, and he's going to have to be on his toes because it runs way wide, trying to maybe go round the long way round the Barwell Lamborghini, and makes an error which must have been absolute manna from heaven for Raffaele Marciello, and he now thinks, I've got an opportunity. If I keep my momentum up and pop it up, well, he went the The long way tries to make the undercut, coming back to Christian Engelhardt under real threat, and again the Lamborghini.
But Maxi Buch could be the beneficiary, couldn't he? Because he's up the inside this for second place. Buch versus Marciello. The two Mercedes absolutely side by side. Maxi Buch on the inside line as they come down Wellington Straight. The grey and orange Mercedes alongside the red car, but Marciello is just ahead as they brake, but Maxi Buch is on the tighter inside line. He's going to go second. He's done it. He's gone through, and he's right on the tail of the lapped Lamborghini now, which needs to get out of the way. So it is still just Engelhardt in the lead of the race. Now Buch is trapped in traffic, and here comes Marciello to fight back in the red Mercedes into Woodcote. Still, look, the Lamborghini is on the racing line. Maxi Buch up the curb. He's desperate to get past without any more loss of time. Through they come, down towards Copse Corner, and Buch still can't find a way past. So now Engelhardt is able to get away because second and third are trapped for the moment behind the number 78 Lamborghini, which has got Richard Abra at the wheel of it.
Indeed, and Richard Abra driving the wheels off the Lamborghini, but unaware that he's holding up a battle for the pole. And look above, goes up the inside, 90, tries to squeeze by Maximilian Buch, but Buch has got the advantage, just carried a little bit more speed in the exit, but nothing given between these two respective teams and drivers.
And then you've got Davide Rigon in the Ferrari right at the back of it, but look, they've been stuck behind Abra for over half a lap and still they can't find a way past him. Coming through Stowe Corner, looking to see a blue flag as well, because of course it's a back marker in 28th place who's certainly now affecting the lead battle because the lead gap is extending. It's great to watch what's going on second, third and fourth, but it's all triggered by a back marker in the way. Richard Abra trying to drive his own race, admittedly, but shouldn't somebody be saying, just let them go?
Well, I would have thought his pits should have said, look, there's the battle for second and third position, fourth position for that matter. These are not in your race. You don't need to race them. Just step aside, lift off a little early, let them go through, because it's always a shame when you see a car out of category or out of position trying to slip through.
So they're still stuck behind, just like we had a lap ago. Look, there are now two back markers between first and second, so the leader is getting away, and Maxi Buch, understandably, although he's gained second place, will be mightily frustrated that the back marker is not letting them through. Now, there's the blue flag, excellent, but Richard Abra carries on thinking, well, I'm doing my race, you've got to find a way past me.
Well, the only thing is if he continues to ignore the blue flag, which is being waved at him as he gets a wheel off the track, so now 84 gets through, the 90 might try and go the long way round, needs to be careful as they exit the Lamborghini, so he cuts back to the inside, but the Ferrari behind David Rigon, he's the one that thinks, I've got an opportunity, looks to go round the outside, and Woodcote, and he has gone round the outside, but can he make it stick? Because the Mercedes is on the inside, they're coming into Copse, he's got to back out of it.
But the lead gap, 2.78 seconds, while they were stuck behind Abra for nearly a lap, so that gap has really shot up. So Christian Engelhardt now has a golden chance. Now granted, it was traffic that brought the gap down a little in the first place. Richard Abra hugs the inside line, and now through, finally goes through Raffaele Marciello. Davide Rigon is the next one, and more news from the pits. The number 333 Ferrari, Alexander Matschel, disqualified for not respecting the drive-through signal. Now, look, the Lamborghini is almost defending there from the Ferrari. Richard Abra finally, I think, lets Rigon go. The Barwell team hopefully on the radio saying, just let them go, you're impeding, but they've gone through now.
I mean, sometimes it's hard to understand that there isn't better communication, maybe the reasons why, but there were waved blue flags, and you have to have a sense of awareness that when lead cars are catching you, and particularly if they're involved in this a titanic battle for victory, not just victory for the three podium positions, that you don't need to be a part of that battle.
Now, having been released, can Maxi Buch do anything about Christian Engelhardt? The answer seemingly is yes, because he's obviously all fired up. He's frustrated because of having lost the time, but also it's the first opportunity he's had in second place. So in the first sector, he's quicker.
Yes, but their last laps, 2 minutes 04 for Max Buch, 2 minutes 05 for Marciello. That's how much they lost, struggling to get past the Lamborghini, the Barwell Lamborghini. So that's given Christian Engelhardt breathing space just under 3 seconds, and he'll take that all day and say thank you very much.
So the gap up to 2.7 seconds, and now Maxi Buch has got 20 minutes of hard work to try and bring down that gap. Johnny Adam, by the way, is still pounding on to try and catch Patrick Kujala, but the gap is still around about 14, 15 seconds. I think it's going to be a Barwell Lamborghini to win in Pro-Am today, with all due deference. Johnny Adam a bit too far back when he started the stint today, unless Kujala has a problem. There, 14 is Albert Costa running in 13th place. So how can Maxi Book bring down this gap? It's 3.5 seconds. The last lap was slower again, even though the first sector was slightly better.
Well, hopefully he's got, in relative terms, he's just got the Audi just ahead to worry about, and let's hope that will be more compliant in terms of enabling this battle to continue. So there is the third place Mercedes running behind what is the 10th place Audi. 10th in category, I should say. Still not able to really make any progress as the two Jaguars having their own little private team battle for 12th and 13th position.
And about to swap over, aren't they? Costa up the inside of Hershey. Jonathan Hershey in 1-1-4. So as they come now up over the line together, to the inside line goes Albert Costa, on the outside line Jonathan Hershey, and Costa goes through. So the two Jaguars switch around, and Albert Costa potentially now to make a bit more progress up the order. So as they turn towards the Beckett's S's, lap 73, the race leaders are on.
Do you know what's been happening at the lead of the race? Christian Engelhardt is really getting the hammer down.
Yeah.
He's done the last lap 2:02, which is, again, over half a second quicker than the second place Maximilian Book, the gap up to 3.5 seconds. So he has used this clear air that he's enjoying to really consolidate the advantage that he's got and pulling away, and that'll be a frustration for Max Book because he can really not do much more than what he's doing.
To the end of Vale comes the Audi that was Stuart Leonard's car. Jake Dennis at the wheel of it now, 10th. Tristan Vautier is behind him, and then you've got the Jaguars, Albert Costa and Jonathan Hershey. So this is 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th we're looking at as they come now up towards Abbey. Still the lead gap hovering around the 3.5 second mark with 18 minutes to go, but yet again, fast circuit Silverstone, tight circuit Brands Hatch, sprint race or endurance race. The GLT 63 Lamborghini, the car to beat, is there. Costa has a go against Vautier. Albert Costa could yet get into the top 10 by the end, couldn't he? The way that he's going, he's got these two cars to pick off and 18 minutes in which to do it.
Well, I think he'll have a trouble getting past the 88 because that's the car that was the pole-sitting car. Tristan Vautier behind the wheel, currently in 12th place. Costa in 13th. But no, so it's a Hershey car in 12th place. Costa in 13th. Well,
so there's Costa up the inside. Tristan Vautier looks for a way past. Through they come. Remember, the Jaguars switched around at the start of the lap, and now that he's been released, Costa has got right onto the back of Vautier.
Would you ever imagine pole car and the Jaguar, they're battling out? Oh, look at the way he goes one side, back again. I mean, this has been one really feisty endurance race.
Yeah.
It's looking very grey. This is one of the pleasures of coming to Silverstone, as you get localised weather. Usually, if it's fine up here at the pit complex, it can be a little bit overcast and potentially rainy down at the far end down at Stowe. So as you're driving your car, it's always helpful, as best you can in an enclosed cockpit, to keep an eye, especially down this end of the track that we're coming to now.
As that, Albert Costa makes a move up the inside to try and get past Vautier. Jake Dennis only just up the road ahead, so 10th, 11th, 12th, Audi, Mercedes, Jaguar running together. To the end of Vale they will turn. They've got a back marker ahead, which is Pierre Arret, still leading the Am Cup, of course. Patrick Kujala still clear in Pro-Am in 77. So Barwell's yellow Lamborghini heads the Pro-Am category. Johnny Adam second, still fending off Nico Bastien. And in fact, Johnny Adam and Nico Bastien, when we last looked about half an hour ago, were almost nose to tail. They're still almost nose to tail, so there's big pressure on Johnny Adam to hang on to second place. There is Mirko Bortolotti watching on, and he sees Christian Engelhardt leading the way still by 3.6 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a real purple patch when he's had clear racetrack, and when he was catching back markers or cars that were going to be lapped, he was catching them individually, not as a group of cars, which is sometimes what you get in an endurance race. You get maybe 4 or 5 cars all driving around very closely together, and that's something that he's managed to avoid, and consequently he's used that to use his speed, the speed of the Lamborghini, consistently now lapping in the low 2 minute 2 seconds per lap. Buch's last lap virtually matched it, but at the same time the lead is extended out to 3.6 seconds. Currently a personal best for Maximilian Buch in Sector 1 on the lap that we're on, that's lap 75.
So Christian Engelhardt, the race leader, made his name in Porsches, but has adapted to Lamborghinis very impressively indeed. And former Carrera Cup champion in Germany, turning his way now through the loop with 15 minutes on the clock and a cushion of 3.6 seconds. So a few laps ago it was tense, and then he took full advantage, didn't he, while his opposition was stuck behind the traffic, to really push and build an advantage, and that he has done. There in the background is Maxi Buch, who took 2 tenths out in the first sector and 4 tenths out in the second sector. So Maxi Buch having a real go here. So Buch second, closing on Engelhardt. Let's just keep an eye to this. It was 3.6 seconds at the start of the lap. Let's see what it is coming over the timing line now.
Yeah, it was slightly strange because Engelhardt had stretched that advantage, but on this last sector 2, in this last lap, as you point out, for nearly half a second he gave up. We didn't see any obvious reason for that. So the gap as they come across the line, 3.1 seconds. So that's the half a second that was lost pretty much in sector 2. So Maximilian Buch back on a charge, again looking skyward, getting dark over the far end of the circuit. Probably not going to be a factor. We've only 14 minutes in this race to go. There's the young German pushing as he only knows. Can he get closer to this? More traffic up ahead for Christian Engelhardt to concern himself with, so it'll give Buch the switch over in terms of advantage, but eventually he will then catch those cars himself. Fastest first sector of anybody, number 90, this car here, purple. So
Raffaele Marciello in third place, closing on Maxi Buch, who is closing on Christian Engelhardt. So we are not done yet, are we? 5.5 seconds covers first to third, but that is going to come down.
And that's on lap 76. Okay, these tyres have not done 76 laps, but nevertheless, that's pretty impressive. See purple coming up at this stage with only, 13 minutes now to go before the checkered flag.
So through they turn, Marciello drifts it through Abbey, up through Farm. So he's the fastest man in the first sector. The second sector ends when they come out of the loop. Is Engelhardt going to be caught there by the charging Mercedes AMGs behind? Still got Davide Rigoni, fourth place as well, who's not totally out of the hunt. So the lead gap is down by, 7 tenths in the second sector alone. Buch is closing. Okay, there was a back marker that Engelhardt had to get past that time around. Marciello loses a little bit of time in that second sector, but it is still very close between the leading 3, just about 4. Rigoni is still just about in the mix.
And it's going to be closer at the end of lap 76, because the gap currently 3.1 seconds first to second. And as they come across the line, we wait to see what that gap is. It's 2 point something. 5. 2.5. And the gap second to third is 2.3 seconds, so it's pretty equidistant first to second, second to third.
So 3.6, 3.1, 2.5. If it carries on like this, then Buch will get close enough to challenge. The black clouds loom over Maggots and Beckett's, but I think we'll probably miss any rain they might have in store for us, with only now 12 minutes of the race remaining. So there is Buch, managed to get through the traffic. Raffaele Marciello is the next man to have to sort out the back markers, but there is Buch, and ahead of him is the race leader, and there's nothing better to spur you on than seeing the car that you're physically chasing. To Stowe Corner they come, another 2 tenths pullback in the first sector alone.
When you're catching somebody, it's very, very satisfying. That's what Maximilian Buch is doing right now. Indeed. On lap 77, just over 11 minutes of this race to go. There's the third place, Raffaele Marciello in the 90. He had that fastest overall first sector a lap or 2 ago. So he has not given up the charge, but probably going to struggle to run down certainly the 63 Lamborghini, but the 84 will be very much within his sights.
There's number 90 then. So through goes Raffaele Marciello, 11 minutes and counting. So sector 1, the lead gap was down again. There is 86, which is currently 4th in Pro-Am. That's Damien Faulkner in the Black Falcon team. HTP teams, Mercedes AMG. So a Pro-Am car, but they're going to miss out on a podium, sadly. There are the 2 leaders, and the gap is down by another 3 tenths in the middle sector. It was 2.5 at the start of the lap, so half a second has been pulled back in the first 2 sectors by Maxi Buk. Can he get close enough with 10 and a bit minutes to go to challenge for the race lead? They're coming out of Luffield now. Last year it was, of course, the Mercedes leading and being hunted down by charging Laurens Vanthoor in the Audi, but the Mercedes hung on to win. This year, Maxi Buk is the chaser, and 2 seconds, he's managed to gain half a second.
Momentum now swung towards the 84. Maximilian Buk on the charge. That last lap was just 0.4 of a second. There you can see on screen, last lap, 77 0.4 of a second, 0.6 the previous lap, half a second. That's a lot of time to take out in the closing laps. Wonder where's this pace come from? But Engelhard has, well, he's trying to respond, but whatever. May possibly the 84 car might have had a new set of rubber to, you know, so you have to sort of try and second guess what teams might have had, but there's obviously a clear reason behind it. But the pace is coming from the 84 Mercedes at the latter part of Maximilian Buk's stint. In the early part, he looked like he was being wrong-footed and he got shuffled back.
Now, for what Guy Smith was saying to me at lunchtime, the tyres have a good window to use, and then they start to lose their edge. And I just wonder whether Christian Engelhard, when he tried to attack and pull away, asked too much out of those tyres, and now he's suffering a little bit.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
The thing that Engelhard had was when he was making that big push, he was able to do it in relatively clear track conditions. So unlike the 2 Mercedes AMGs following, where they're having to battle through cars and having their own personal battle, as we go back to the battle further down through the field with the 19 down in 19th position, ironically.
And there ahead is the Pro-Am leading Lamborghini, Patrick Kuijala, ahead of Norbert Siedler. So this is the car that's the centre of Pro-Am attention today. For Barwell Motorsport, it's going to be another British team to win in Pro-Am. TF Sport at Monza, Barwell Motorsport here, if all stays according to plan for 8 minutes. Patrick Kuijala, along with Adrian Amstutz and Martin Kodrich as the driving force, and Johnny Adam is still there second, with Nico Bastian right on his tail. In fact, 0.6 apart, those two. It's a very, very tight fight, but Patrick Kuijala a long way up the road now in the charging Lamborghini. So Maxi Buk, we understand, on new tyres, but we were being told that the Grasser Racing team have kept a set in reserve as well. They only used 1 set in Q3, whereas lots of other teams used 2. So Maxi Buk's tyres are helping him. We'll get to the bottom of whether Engelhard got a new set for this stint, or whether they were a scrubbed set out of qualifying this morning. But there is the gap. It was down from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds at the end of the previous lap, so it's coming down half a second a lap. There is time for Buk to close, but then he's got to find a way by.
Correct. And closing is most satisfying, but overtaking and leading knocks that into a cocked hat. But as we have seen, when you get close to one of these 2 cars, either the Lamborghini or the Mercedes AMG, the difficult bit is then to translate your closing speed into a clean and effective overtake. So Max Buk is doing everything he can. He's dragged performance out of the 84 Mercedes and dropping the ACA ASP number 90. That's down 3.8 seconds. As we look at the lead car in AM.
So Johnny Adam there is the second AM. Third behind him is Nico Bastian. I told you they were close. There it is. Absolutely nose to tail. And they've been like this for the bulk of the hour, really. Last time we saw them, they were tight. And they are still together. But Johnny Adam is defending. But because he's had to defend, of course, he's never really been able to bring the gap down or do quicker lap times than Patrick Kuijala up the road. 6.5 minutes remain. The cars work their way through Copse. And the lead gap was 1.5 seconds last time. We'll see what it is this time through, as Engelhard then has the advantage over Maxi Buk for the moment. Meantime, Johnny Adam manages to put a slower car between himself and the class opposition, turning their way down through Beckett. And as I was saying earlier on, new tyres for the Lamborghini as well is confirmed from the pit lane, so they're both on the same amount of good rubber, if you like, both on fresh tyres, and now turning their way from Beckett's to Stowe, second and third in Pro-Am. So, lead gap is 1 second. Another 0.5 seconds has just been pulled back as they go over the timing line. Maxi Buk closing. It could be that the Lamborghini loses out right at the very last. There's traffic up the road as well they're going to have to sort out. 5.5 minutes to go. Maxi Buk is nearly there. So has he been a little bit kinder to his tyres in this stint? There's certainly something that has been unlocked late stint, and he's chipping away, inching up onto the back of the Lamborghini. At GRT, the faces are not full of smiles anymore. They might just survive, but it's going to be tight. We have seen, though, in previous races that you can catch, but finding a way through is not that easy because the balance of performance is such to equate the cars that you might be able to get through traffic, you might be able to storm on in clear track space, but then when you're running together, it's not an easy dart past the slower car or the car ahead of you. So nervous faces in the Lamborghini camp. Optimistic, expectant faces perhaps at Mercedes, as there Maxi Buk in the first sector, this time only pull back hundreds. Christian Engelhardt is trying to respond, but the two leaders are together now. They work their way out of Village, and as one, they work their way onto Wellington Straight. Wide goes the Lamborghini. Maxi Buk another 4/10 closer, so he's almost on the back, and there's traffic up the road as well, which he might be able to take advantage of. They turn their way now down through Brooklands to Luffield this time, lap 80, and the Lamborghini has the advantage, such as it is, but what was a 5-second cushion has disappeared, and it's going to be perhaps half a second even when they come to the line this lap through. Through goes Engelhardt, there behind him is Maxi Buk. 4/10 of a second, that's all, starting lap 81 and 4 minutes to go. It's going to be 2 more laps, isn't it, of the race, and the way that he's gone, Maxi Buk now should be on, could be on for a race win. Traffic up the road might help or hinder, we'll see. Engelhardt now tries to respond, he's on the limit through Maggots, up towards the Beckett's S's they go. Ahead of him you've got the Santilok Audi. Christopher Hasser at the wheel of it, another of the Pro-Am cars, down in 36th place as he comes onto the Hangar Straight. The two leaders, and then don't forget Raffaele Marciello, he's in touch just about 4 seconds back, and if these two were to really delay themselves, he might be able to close, but I do feel he's too far back to challenge for position now. Out of Stowe they come, down through Vale this time around. Is it going to be a further close of the gap, or can the leader get through the traffic? Well, for now, the gap comes down by another length or 2. There'll be another lap to wring out of it at the end of this, I reckon, as they come through Club Corner. Hard at work is Christian Engelhardt, who can only do his best now. Try and be smooth, consistent, not crack under the pressure, but he's got to be mindful of that traffic up the road and make sure that he doesn't get caught up behind it. Through they come then, now towards the right at Village, and he's found 3 back markers at exactly the wrong moment. He can't get through on this next corner either, and so Maxi Buk is almost there. Now he lags back a little bit. Which way does he go? To the tight inside, tries to go the Lamborghini. Maxi Buk goes wider, gets the power down, gets the momentum. 1 back marker drops back behind them, so Mike Stursberg falls back behind the 2 leaders who run down Wellington Straight now. They're not nose to tail. Engelhardt gets past Hasser on the inside line. The next car they need to sort out is Koen Ledegaard, last year's endurance champion, of course, but having a pretty lean time of it at the moment in the McLaren. As you go on board briefly with Engelhardt, and Maxi Buk is right on his tail. A flying lap at the moment is a 2 minutes 2. They might even get 2 more laps out of this. Let's see, because as they cross the timing line now, it's with, 2 minutes and 4 to go. It's going to be oh so close, this, for the last lap, but Maxi Buk right on the back. It is declared the final lap, though. We might be a second under the 3 hours, but it won't be much if we are. So through they go. It's the last lap of the race. Heading now up towards the Beckett's S's. Just up the road ahead is Koen Ledegaard. So are we going to have a change on the last lap? Maxi Buk has thrown everything at it in this stint. Christian Engelhardt has done his level best to try and withstand all the pressure. The HTP Motorsport team equally nervous now. GRT Lamborghini versus HTP Mercedes. Down they come with half a lap to go at Stowe Corner. That's an opportunity for Maxi Buk, but he's not able to take advantage. Is he going to be good enough, tight enough through Stowe to challenge through Vale? Still Koen Ledegaard is ahead. A flash of the lights from Engelhardt. The McLaren trying to drive its own race, but not yet bailing to one side. The 2 leaders behind, nose to tail, really only a handful of corners to go. Can Christian Engelhardt hang on in there? It's going to be a very, very close finish. There's no argument about that. Buk flashing the lights at Engelhardt to try to distract him. Engelhardt is still stuck behind the McLaren. This is what happened to the Mercedes earlier when they got caught in traffic. Now the shoe is on the other foot as Buk tries to come up round the outside of Engelhardt. He goes one way, he goes the other, side by side for the lead on the last lap of 3 hours of racing. Traffic in the way. Leader gets through. Engelhardt goes ahead of the McLaren. Now Maxi Buk goes through as well. He's got Wellington Straight and the stadium to go. Can he find a way through? Christian Engelhardt timed that well, able to hang on to the race lead. Maxi Buk right up behind him then. They've got Brooklands, Luffield and Woodcote to go. It is now or never for Maxi Buk. He's got to throw it up the inside if he can. He breaks desperately late. Now he can't do it there. The inside line at Luffield is perhaps the last chance, and then the run through Woodcote. Engelhardt covers the inside line. Buk right on his tail. It's going to be a winning margin of hundredths of a second this. Unlike Monza where it was about half a minute, because Engelhardt is still under attack, but it's going to be a win for the GRT Lamborghini as they come through Woodcote corner. Christian Engelhardt hangs on, he comes over the line and there's no checkered flag. No checkered flag shown, but the clock has hit 0 as they come across the timing line. Now there's no flag, so they go through. The clock has hit 0, but they're going to carry on racing, aren't they? Because no checkered flag was shown. It was very marginal, as I said at the start of the last lap, as to whether it would be the last lap or not. So both of them are going to carry on pushing. There's still no checkered flag, so whether this lap is going to count, we'll wait and see. Onto the Hangar Straight they come. The lead across the line at 2 hours, 59 minutes, 57.645 seconds. So I would propose that it shouldn't have been declared the last lap, and this one is going to count. The clock has hit 0 now, of course, because we've had the 3 hours elapsed. So Maxi Buk has got to keep on pushing, and has he got a chance? There's now consternation. The screen said final lap, but I don't think it should have done, because there was just, as you can now detect, 3 seconds to spare for one more lap, and this is that lap. Buk, however, is not actually as close. He's still pushing, so is Engelhardt, but the gap there you can see is a wide one. It had gone up a little bit in the first sector. They come now in towards Abbey. So the checkered flag not shown because there was time enough to start one more lap. Maxi Buk finds himself in a similar situation, close at Village, hard on the brakes as they turn now into Aintree, coming out of the loop. Now we're on the final lap, so here's one we prepared earlier, and Engelhardt accelerates through the traffic. Here is Maxi Buk getting himself up close as well as they head down towards Brooklands. So he had a go last time, this is the final opportunity. Lamborghini leads the way. Maxi Buk needs to try and get himself up the inside at Luffield if he can. Engelhardt will cover that line. The Mercedes tries to squeeze up the inside, wide through Luffield, and now Maxi Buk has got to sort of launch it towards Woodcote corner, but he still can't do it. So the extra lap completed, and it's going to be a win for Christian Engelhardt, Andrea Caldarelli and Mirko Bortolotti. Checkered flag is waved. Second across the line, Maxi Buk in the Mercedes after a great stint. And fair play to Christian Engelhardt for fending him off under huge pressure. What a race. The margin at the end, 0.344 of a second. That's all. Well done, Christian Engelhardt. Yet another win, but boy, did he deserve that. And the Grasser Racing team starts to celebrate. Gottfried Grasser and his merry men have yet again proved that the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 is the car to have. And Christian Engelhardt has proved how good a driver he is, fending off Maxi Buk. Raffaele Marciello coming home behind them for third spot. And then fourth, Davide Rigon, fifth, Maxime Soulet, and sixth over the line, Michele Rugolo. But, catch your breath, a superb end to the race. It's a shame that there was the confusion about what the final lap was. As I said at the time, it was going to be marginal, and the track officials, timing it with their stopwatches, reckon there was time for one more lap, hence they didn't wave, quite rightly, the checkered flag. And with 3 seconds to spare, there was that extra opportunity for the lap, and it was seized by Maxi Buk, but he still couldn't find a way by. Now in Pro-Am, it is going to be Adrian Amstutz, Martin Kodrich and Patrick Kujala that come through for the class win. Just being mindful of the traffic up the road though there, because as the cars dive down towards Brooklands, the back markers are still all busy battling, and as they turn their way through, you've got Johnny Adam behind, and all of a sudden he's got himself to within 1 second. So what was a pretty healthy advantage earlier on has been whittled away, and almost Maxi Buk-like, he needs another lap, but Johnny Adam is almost there. It's going to be Patrick Kujala who comes across the line. Barwell wins in Pro-Am, TF Sports second. Another excellent performance put in by Johnny Adam, and third behind is going to be Nico Bastian in 87 Mercedes after his excellent stint in the car as well. And by the way, on that last lap, there was the last warning to car 63 for a track limit abuse. So Christian Engelhardt got away with that, but he was on his last warning from the race director for exceeding track limits. What a race. One of the most enthralling races we've had in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup. and the drivers will in a few moments come to Parc Fermé and catch their breath. So will we before they all go to the podium. So number 63 Lamborghini wins, and of course the top, how many? 19 all in the Pro Cup. Pro-Am won by the Barwell Lamborghini 77, Aston Martin second, Mercedes third, and in the Am Cup, Pierre Eret and Renaud Mastronardi the winners, ahead of number 888 Ferrari and then the 36 BMW. So there, Christian Engelhardt, he was given a black and white driving standards flag for track limits, then a last warning, but the 3 hours was up before he needed to worry. 3 hours and 2 minutes in the end we got, so it was very close indeed, and that was how he came across the line to see the checkered flag, and relief as much as delight, I think, because that was a very demanding last stint to have to deal with all the traffic and deal with all the pressure from behind. If you're wondering why he's going off the track like that, it's so he picks more rubber up on the tyres and therefore adds to the weight of the car to make sure it gets through scrutineering okay. So he collects the pickup, brings the car nice and slowly. Again, why so slow on your in lap? To make sure you don't use any more fuel than you need to, because the car has to have at least 3 litres in it for fuel sampling at the end, so you don't want to come storming in and run out of fuel or not have the amount left for checking. So as the drivers now work their way to Parc Fermé, Christian Engelhardt responding to the applause from the marshals and the fans, and he's ready to turn his way to the Parc Fermé area. Maxime Soulet just going ahead of him, finishing in 5th place in the Bentley, the sister car of Stephen Kane, 9th at the end. Good job done by M Sport, turning around what was looking a bit bleak for number 8 early on, but clever use of the full course yellows and the safety car periods helping them out. That's all part and parcel of endurance racing, of course, these days. So as the drivers come to Parc Fermé, there is Maxi Buch. But a great reception for Christian Engelhardt, who takes the race win. Mirko Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli are there to welcome him home. Raffaele Marciello gets out of his Mercedes for 3rd place. We'll have the Pro-Am and the Am drivers there as well in a few moments, as the winners' caps are distributed. Out gets Christian Engelhardt. That's crazy, man, he says. Not wrong. What a race, what a stint. The car having dropped back to 3rd in Andrea Caldarelli's hands, but it comes home victorious in the end. And the GRT engineers very, very pleased with yet another win. They've had a great 10 days in the UK, haven't they, with wins in the Sprint Cup last week at Brands Hatch, the Endurance Cup here this weekend. It's 2 out of 2 in the Endurance Cup if you think back to this car winning at Monza as well. And Gottfried Grasser over the moon. Christian Engelhardt has certainly adapted well from Porsches to Lamborghinis and takes the congratulations of everybody that's there. But for years it used to be the Reiter engineering team that you linked to Lamborghini. Right now it's the Grasser racing team doing a fine job, helped admittedly by the advancement that the Lamborghini Huracan has had over the Elder Gallardo, and also some blessing from Lamborghini Squadra Corsa, but a great effort being done. Let's hear from the winners with Watty.
Christian Engelhardt, how tense was that last hour?
Yeah, it was incredibly tense. Not easy with the traffic here. Not easy to get by because they have nearly the same pace and you're not a lot quicker, and then you don't get through. So then you lose a lot and the guy behind you closes. So I had a lot of pressure at the end, but I must say a big thanks to the whole team. We are the guys that are allowed to sit behind the wheel, but they've done such an amazing job in the last test before the season. We were really struggling in the beginning, and then in the last test before the season we made such a great car. And yeah, it's awesome to drive.
I mean, a great team effort by everybody. Let's go first. Andrea, you did the middle stint. It was, from the lights going out, this was a hard race.
Yeah, it was a tough one. To be honest, it was with the 2 Mercedes, it was really difficult to fight. We had some also some overlap guys that didn't help, to be honest, but it was really tough. But to be honest, we deserved, because we were quick all weekend, and all the team deserved this great job.
Great job. Mirko, you took the start, you built up a lead, then you had the safety car intervention, all that hard work fell away, but you were able to pull away comfortably.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I did. Really happy about it. Again, we had a we took a really big gamble in qualifying. We saved all the sets of new tires for the race. We had each of us had a new set of tire for each of the stints, so that obviously helped us a lot. And so I managed to have a clean start, get the lead into the first corner, open up a gap. As you mentioned, the safety car didn't help at all, considering that when I went to the pit, we had the full course yellow, and then they switched to safety car. So the red Mercedes got a big advantage because of that, and we lost the lead. But at the end of the day, our crew did a massive job in the second pit stop again, and we took a fantastic win. So I'm really happy. I want to dedicate this win to our lead engineer, Wim Everards, who is not here because he has some troubles. But we are waiting for you, and hope you come back soon, man.
Well, congratulations. The green machine marches on.
So the next stop for the Endurance Cup is going to be Paul Ricard, another different form of race, 6 hours. They're the Pro-Am winning Lamborghini from Barwell Motorsport. Barwell has had a great weekend here, Mark Lemmer's team, because not only a class win in this race, but yesterday, John Minshaw in a Barwell Lamborghini won both of the Blancpain GT Sports Club races. So 3 out of 3 this weekend for Barwell. Great result for Mark Lemmer's team. And Patrick Kujala there is back to us, the guy without the cap. Now with the cap. Adrian Amstutz is the other side of that barrier in the bullpen. Martin Kodrich there, the other driver of the Pro-Am winning car. Now let's hear from the third-placed team. Raffaele Marciello brought the Mercedes home. Back to John.
Eduardo, you took the start. Tough race. However, top 3 cars never were separated by more than, well, you could tell me.
Well, I mean, yeah, we did the race in front, especially at the beginning. We did the right decision. We had the right decision to come in a little bit earlier than everybody when there was like full course yellow, and that paid. So we were running.
Edward, whose decision was that? Yours or the team's?
Both mine and the one of the engineers, and everything went like very well. And then it was like trying, to stay in the front. We were battling against, HTP and the Lamborghinis, and they were really quick. But we are very happy with P3.
Great job, Michael. You had a tough stint. You're under pressure all the way through. I mean, concentration. I could see at the end of the day when you got out of the car, it was hard.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was, to be honest, in clean air it was okay. I could maximise the first sector and then hold on for the rest of the lap. But if I got traffic, then it was a disaster because Lamborghini had too much straight lines. So then I was on the defensive and couldn't get an exit. So it is what it is. But it was good fun. It was all clean and made it interesting, at least to TV.
Made it fresh for sure. Now, Raffaele, you got a chance. There was a big battle between you and the 84 Mercedes AMG. Swap positions, but once he got ahead, once the 84 got ahead, nothing you could do.
Yeah, I tried to win the race with the Lambo. I said P2, P3 is quite similar, so I tried to overtook the Lambo, take a gamble, and didn't work, and so Mercedes passed me. The 84 then was just to wait if some lap car was blocking each other, because we were quite similar to the pace, so it was difficult to overtake, and we finished P3. I'm still happy, but when you're so close to win, a bit sad for missed victory, but it's okay.
Anyway, you should be happy. You entertained all 3 of you. Fantastic drive by you. Great, well done.
Great advert for GT Racing, wasn't it, that? Because it was in doubt as to the winner right the way to the end of 3 hours, and so the drivers are now making their way up the steps. Mark Lemmer there in the cap, with Ahmad Al-Harthi and Johnny Adam with their backs to us, but Mark will go up there, I suspect, as the representative of the winning team in Pro-Am of Barwell. Well done, Mark. And today, Johnny Adam missing out by, 1 second from Patrick Kujala. So close, but not quite. Another lap might have done it. Now, let's hear from Maxi Buch, Franck Pereira and Jimmy Eriksson next. Our second-placed drivers before they go to the podium. We've got hold of them.
Franck Pereira, you took the start. This is a nuts race. I've never seen such a competitive GT event.
Yeah, it's a really tough race, especially for the start. Was also very tough. I tried to keep in front and try to overtake the ACA car, but when you lap the driver was so difficult, really difficult to fight, to overtake, to also defend to the lap people. They were quite dangerous. So yeah, it was a really difficult race, but each driver made a perfect job, and the team did again a perfect job, and we are again in the good position. And the championship is long, so it's good to keep on that level and keep good points, and we will see on next one.
Jimmy, you had a great stint as well. Looked like you're back as a single-seater racing driver. It was that kind of race.
Yeah, it was quite tight. No, I mean, after the pit stop, I was P5 on track and had some good battles with some drivers, and I put the car in P2, close battles, and that was a really good stint.
Max Buch, you'd finished the stint. I mean, I can't. Just madness. The whole thing was madness. But halfway through your stint, suddenly the car seemed to come alive. Was that just us, or was that the reality of the car? Did it pick up performance?
I was struggling a bit in the beginning, to be honest. I was overdriving a bit. The tire pressure went a bit too high. But yeah, when I was a bit adapting the driving, the fuel was coming out more. The overall balance felt better, and it was much more consistent, so I could push more and close the gap.
So it wasn't anything to do with that 90 Mercedes giving you a hard time, was it?
Yeah, but this is racing. I was having a good time in the car. It was pretty tough to race with the other guys. They were pushing, and we all have been at the limit. But I enjoyed it really a lot. It was all fair, and yeah.
I think that's the big thing. It was a clean race between all three of you, and a great race to watch. Thank you very much.
So, fabulous race, won in the end by Christian Engelhardt, Marco Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli, with 0.3 of a second being the margin to number 84, which was the Jimmy Eriksson, Maxi Buch and Franck Pereira Mercedes, ahead of Michael Meadows, his first outright podium in the Endurance Cup, Edo Mortara and Raffaele Marciello behind. Victor Scheitar, Miguel Molina and Davide Rigon, fourth from Vincent Abril. Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulet fifth in the Bentley, ahead of Passin Lathouris, Michele Rugolo and Alessandro Pierguidi. Then the BMW of Alexander Sims, Maxime Martin and Philippe Eng. The best McLaren, 8th. Bentley number 7 coming home in 9th place. Jaguar 10th and 12th with Tristan Vautier between them. In the end, Stuart Leonard, Jamie Green and Jake Dennis fell to 13th ahead of Niki Polar's Lamborghini. Number 23 Nissan after a drive-through 16th. 20th, the winning Pro-Am car, but only just because it was just over a second between Lamborghini and Aston Martin, and then a further few tenths back came the Mercedes in the hands at the end of Nico Bastian. But number 78 Barwell Lamborghini ending up in 26th place. Number 59 McLaren, 29th of last year's winner Jasmine Jaffar. And looking further down the order, 35th is where you find the AM Cup winners Pierre Arret and Rino Mastronardi. 55 starters, 1 excluded, and 1 or 2 of them retiring to the pits, 1 or 2 retiring with damage as well. They had a clutch problem, for example, for number 5. The Black Falcon Mercedes had that lengthy stop-go penalty and was withdrawn. There was further drama for the Garage 59 McLaren after having been in the gravel earlier on. And then after the top 48 in the timing, Nathaniel Berton was another one badly delayed after a stop-go. Number 32 ended up in the gravel. 48 fell out of the reckoning. Number 75 disappeared relatively early, really, after a decent first stint by Frank Stippler. Johnny Kane had his big accident, and we're glad that he is okay. The number 16 Mercedes was a retirement, and 333 excluded for ignoring that black flag. And so it's going to be the AM Cup drivers that step forward first of all. Number 36, third in class for David Scheitz, Henry Valkenhorst, and the third driver of the car, Matthias Henkeler. Then for second place, the Kessel Racing Ferrari combination of Marco Zannottini, Jacques Duyver and David Perel. But with the winning drivers about to make their way forward in the AM Cup, it's a win for Rinaldi Racing, for Pierre Arret and Rino Mastronardi. The 2-driver combination defeats the 3 drivers, and Rinaldi Racing victorious in the AM Cup for Pierre Arret and Rino Mastronardi. So the winning drivers in the AM Cup on the podium, and Rino Mastronardi and Pierre Arret making up really for the disappointment of Monza, where it was an engine problem that cost them a chance of a finish. And so the trophies go to Henry Valkenhorst, to Matthias Henkeler, and to the third driver of the car, which is David Scheitz, after a good drive to get on the podium. Nice variety as well, having the BMW in the AM Cup rather than it just being Ferrari dominated. Then Jet Duyver gets his trophy the bespectacled Belgian driver, for third in the AM Cup. Great first stint by David Perel in that car, and Marco Zanettini will receive his trophy as well. And then you've got Rino Mastronardi and the stockier frame of Pierre Arret on the top step of the podium. Rino Mastronardi doing a very good job in that car to build up a healthy advantage early on. But first of all, there is the team's award that goes the way of Rinaldi Racing, and then the winning drivers will receive their trophies as well. And of course, there is also the money, the checks that go to the season-long entrants. There's the Blancpain clock to the winning team. And now the trophies go to Rino Mastronardi and then to Pierre Arret, the winners of the AM Cup in the second Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup race of the year. And after not being able to get to the end, having led for so long at Monza, this must be a very sweet result indeed. And so now the checks are presented by Sophie Perrin from SRO, and the checks will be held aloft. And 15,000 euros to one and 10,000 to another. As I say, season-long entrants get the money rather than the one-off entrants. And now, as befit gentlemen racers, they sprint away rather than soak each other with the champagne. Except if you're a BMW combination where you're on the podium perhaps unexpectedly and there is some fun to be had. So from the AM Cup, Pro-Am will be next. So the podium is now dressed ready for the Pro-Am drivers, and again British teams doing very well, just as they did at Monza, with a 1-2 for British teams. And very shortly there will be the AKA ASP Mercedes crew for third, the TF Sport Aston Martin crew for second, and the Barwell Lamborghini team for the top step, with the trophies being made ready and the engineers receiving their cars at the end of the race once they've been through scrutineering. I have nothing else to do at the moment, so they might as well go and stand at the foot of the podium and get ready. There, the Silverstone wing that looms over Club Corner, which is used, of course, for some events, including the Grand Prix, but the traditional start and finish area is preferred for Blancpain. As far as Pro-Am Championship is concerned, despite the exclusion today, Alexander Matschel and Daniel Karlvitz lead, taking into account the sprint and endurance races. Then you've got Jules Gounon ahead of Jean-Luc Bobelic and Mikhail Broniszewski. Piti Veronbachty and Carlo Van Dam that we see really in the Sprint Cup only. They're next ahead of Ahmad Al-Harfi and Johnny Adam, who we see in endurance only. Then Giacomo Piccini next from Jean-Philippe Belloc and Christophe Bourret. Different drivers, even though it's the same teams, but a number of different drivers for sprint compared to endurance. But disappointment today, Alexander Matschel, Daniel Karlvitz and Renat Salikov being excluded after ignoring that black flag for ignoring a drive-through penalty. So we have for the Pro-Am podium out first Nico Bastien in the ASP Mercedes, joined by Jean-Luc Bobelic and Jules Gounon. We have for second place Ahmad Al-Harfi and Johnny Adam, and we have Martin Kodrich there, Adrian Amstutz and Patrick Kujala, the winners in Pro-Am. Pro-Am honours Silverstone to Patrick Kujala, Martin Kodrich and Adrian Amstutz, as Mark Lemmer there representing the winning team. Barwell Motorsport stands on the far left of the podium. The trophies presented then to Jean-Luc Bobelic, Jules Gounon and Nico Bastien. Third in the end in Pro-Am. Jules Gounon, all smiles, very quick driver in German GT racing as well. And it is Nicolas de Wilton, the Blancpain brand manager of the UK, who hands over the trophies. Then Ahmad Al-Harfi and Johnny Adam take second this time out. Pro-Am winners, Patrick Kujala, Martin Kodrich and Adrian Amstutz. The Blancpain clock and team trophy goes to Mark Lemmer, and to the 3 winning drivers. The trophies are about to be brought forward, but an excellent job by Barwell today and yesterday. As I said earlier on, 2 race wins in the Blancpain GT Sports Club yesterday, so Barwell can go away from Silverstone very happy indeed with its weekend's work. Adrian Amstutz, who drove with Patrick Kujala last year in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, new to the championship this year. So too Martin Kodrich, who was one of the rivals to Adrian Amstutz last season. But it's all gelled very nicely as Patrick Kujala, part of Lamborghini Squadra Corsa's factory programme, installed in the car and takes the win. Now checks being presented. 15,000 goes to Acker ASP. Anybody else for any money? I think that's it for the season-long entries across both championships. You see, that's how you get the loot. And Ahmad Al-Hafi scarpers from the podium as the celebrations can begin. But what a race, John. So competitive across, well, not just every class, every position.
I mean, I think it's one of the most combative, exciting, and the traffic management really being key and trying to thread your way through the back markers, but just some of the close wheel-to-wheel racing. And bearing in mind, drivers are under the cosh this weekend to behave and understand that we can't just drive into cars, be them AMs, Pro-Ams or Pro cars. And I think everybody did an outstanding job. There were a couple of moments, but fundamentally, a great event. And anybody who was here this weekend at Silverstone has to say that was fantastic.
GT racing at its best. And Christian Engelhardt, Mirko Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli will shortly make their way to the podium. The flag flies atop the British Racing Drivers Club's clubhouse as we confirm how we stand in the championship now. If you take both endurance and sprint together, Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt having the advantage over Maxi Buch and Franck Pereira at the end of what has been another superb race in the Blancpain GT Series here at Silverstone. A win for Lamborghini at the end of 3 hours of non-stop action. So the drivers for the Pro Cup, or the overall podium, effectively, will be now making their way forward once everybody's in the right place. Regulation Pirelli caps adorn the heads. And so number 90 Mercedes for Raffaele Marciello, for Michael Meadows and for Eduardo Mortara. The drivers will step forward on cue. Out they come, led by Raffaele Marciello, Michael Meadows and then Eduardo Mortara. For second place overall, Jimmy Eriksson, Maxi Buch and Franck Pereira in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT3. And then yet again the top step of the podium. We've actually got a gold card account with it now from so many victories this year for GRC Grasser Racing Team, the Lamborghini Huracan drivers of Christian Engelhardt, Mirko Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli will step forward. Race winners overall at Silverstone. Out come the winning drivers. Christian Engelhardt richly deserves the big cheer that goes up, having withstood all of that pressure in that last stint. And so close was it. Maximilian Buch at the end of the race, 0.344 of a second behind.
I mean, I was down waiting in Parc Fermé and I heard over the radio they came across the line probably just maybe a couple of seconds, and there's one more lap.
It had been announced on the screen that it would be the final lap, but it was a bit previous that. There was time enough for one more, and Maxi Buch had another chance, but it was not quite enough to wrestle the lead away from those drivers, Andrea Caldarelli, Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt, winners at Silverstone. The Grasser Racing Team has done it once again, and Andrea Caldarelli doing a good middle stint. Mirko Bortolotti handed the car over in the lead, and Christian Engelhardt brought it home. Great teamwork from the 3 young drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the overall standard of GT3 racing in the Blancpain Sprint and Endurance Championships is just every season getting better and better. And you look at the podium, every one of those drivers is outstanding, and they all did a great job. I mean, pressure for all of them at every part of the 3-hour event, and I just really respect the level of commitment and the pace that they delivered throughout the day.
The trophies handed to the drivers, And the winning team representative as well for Grasser Racing Team. There's going to be the trophy, there's going to be the Blancpain clock, and lots of cheers for that from all of the GRT engineers in the pit lane. And then we'll get to the winning drivers. Victory at Silverstone to Andrea Caldarelli, to Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt. Trophies presented, and when Christian gets his trophy, now they can hold them in the air, receive the cheers. Winners of the second Endurance Cup race. 3 hours of non-stop drama. We've got 6 hours next, and then 24 because it's Paul Ricard and then Spa, the next 2 endurance rounds. Now Sophie Perrin arrives, having taken over check presenting duties from Elsa Camilleri, and the money goes to the third, the second, and the overall teams because they are registered for the whole season in both sprint and endurance, and that's how you get these bonus checks. So that'll just about sort out the mechanics bar bill at the end of the night, I think, after a staunch effort from the GRT engineers.
I mean, they've done a brilliant job. I mean, they are the dominant car team, driver pairings, and I mean, how long can they continue to do so? The next round will be a sprint round in Zolder, the beginning of June, and that's on a circuit, an old school circuit, not dissimilar in many respects to Brands Hatch. The next round for the Endurance Championship will be in June at the Paul Ricard circuit, and that's a day-nighttime race, charismatic, fantastic atmosphere, and of course, perfect preparation for then going into, at the end of July, the Spa 24 Hours, that unique GT challenge, toughest GT challenge event, in my view, in the world.
Can't wait for that. Paul Ricard's going to be good, and Zolder is a sprint venue looking forward to as well. Well, what a race it has been. 3 hours of non-stop drama. We don't promise you 3 hours of highlights, but there's an awful lot to leave out because so much happened. Let's look at the best bits. It all started with 55 cars pouring their way out of Copse Corner after an extra formation lap for a slightly untidy first attempt at the start, but the battles raged. Mercedes versus Ferrari. Drama early on, Michael Broniszewski being knocked into a spin by Stefan Richelme. Just getting through the middle was Giorgio Maggi, but that resulted in a 5-minute stop-go penalty for the Audi. And further drama, Alexander West, who started from the pit lane anyway, ended up in the gravel, and that brought out a full course yellow that was converted to a safety car. Battle rejoined after the green flag, with Mirko Bortolotti pulling away, but it wasn't long before we ended up with another interruption to the race. Another full course yellow came, but in the midst of all of the dramas, back markers had to get out of the way, faster cars pounding through, traffic everywhere, and some fabulous racing. Ahmed Al-Hafi, for example, getting caught a little bit at Copse, just wasn't room to turn into the corner. But then there was this drama going through the kink at Maggots towards Beckett's as Johnny Kane went off. There was contact with a Mercedes and a huge impact into the wall. The best news being that Johnny was okay. Full course yellow then became a safety car period, and depending on when you pitted, the race order shuffled greatly. When we got back to green flag conditions, in a big hurry was the charging Jimmy Eriksson. He'd taken over from Franck Pereira. He worked his way up past the Spirit of Race Ferrari and then set about Christian Engelhardt's Lamborghini, then at the time being driven by Andrea Caldarelli. He squeezed up the inside going through Luffield and set off in pursuit of the race-leading Mercedes of Michael Meadows, who was doing a fabulous job of withstanding the pressure no matter who threw it at him. The cars ran together, still picking their way through traffic, battles all the way through the field, and the leading 5 cars in one long line all came in to serve the last stop at the same time. But an excellent pit stop by the GRT team put the Lamborghini into the lead, and it dropped 84 Mercedes down to third place. They were a couple of seconds slower on that pit stop. So what could happen in the final part of the race? Well, one aspect was the Jaguars of the Lawrence Frey team working their way up the order. Another was Raffaele Marciello chasing down Christian Engelhardt. But then Maxi Buch got into his stride and found a way up past the red Mercedes diving into Brooklands. And having done so, he set off in pursuit of Engelhardt. They turned their way towards Luffield, but then Buch lost chunks of time stuck behind the second of the Barwell Lamborghinis. That gave Engelhardt breathing space, but it wasn't long before Buch chipped away and brought the gap right down as they worked their way up towards the timing line. The checkered flag flew with 0.3 of a second between them. Lamborghini victorious at Silverstone in the second Endurance Cup race of the season. A wonderful GT race here at the home of British motor racing. Thanks for your company for now. From John Watson and David Addison, bye-bye.